The fighting fanatic's life creed was to constantly challenge the strong, but from the moment he stepped into the ring, every battle ended with him knocking out his opponents. Until one day he actually crossed over into an extremely difficult game world. Here, knights and mages were two incompatible factions, and the body I possessed was originally the young master of the strongest mage family. But because he was born without magic power, he was abandoned by the family in this prison governed by knights. But when facing the warden instigating prisoners to gang up on me, I knocked everyone down with my bare fist using only my own strength. This feeling instantly ignited the desire to challenge within me, because in my previous life, I was called the undefeated legend of the fighting world, Jin Jin-ho Kim. Even in my 40s, when facing a championship contender in their prime, I still had absolute confidence in remaining undefeated. In recent matches, I deliberately didn't use my legs to fight. This led to rumors spreading outside that my legs were injured. So at the start of the match, my opponent pretended to use a grappling move, but his real goal was to make sure my legs could never move again. Just when he thought he was about to succeed, the next second he was knocked to the ground by my spinning kick. The referee quickly came forward to check his condition and announced that I won. Now they should understand why I didn't need to use my legs. After the match, I changed into my casual clothes. I asked my coach to handle the press conference directly for me and turned to leave, and told him to contact me only after the next match was confirmed. Faced with my unreasonable request, the coach could only agree helplessly and reminded me to take a car back, as it was pouring rain outside. I said that was perfect since the roads would be quite congested, and I'd just run home directly. The coach was stunned by my words, but when he looked up, the door had already been closed. He rushed out the door to remind me that it was 30 kilometers from here to my home, but he was immediately surrounded by reporters at the door. Some asked when the press conference would start, others asked if the rumor about my leg injury was planned fake news. The coach had been with me for many years. He understood my feelings very well and felt quite guilty toward me, because since my debut, I had never encountered an evenly matched opponent and was a world champion with a 100% KO rate. Regarding my leg issue, the coach answered the reporters that there was no leg injury, it was a restriction Jin-ho Kim imposed on himself. As a world champion, I naturally made a fortune and lived on the top floor of the most expensive building in country H. Soon I finished running the 30 kilometers and returned home. When the elevator door opened, what came into view were gifts filling the entrance. I was used to it and walked straight into my home. Soon I finished showering. Then I sat in front of the computer. My eyes lit up as I looked at the computer screen, because this was a computer game called Last Saber. The server had been open for 10 years, and it was such a difficult game that even country H players had given up on it. But I had been playing it every day for these 10 years, constantly training and improving, because my life's goal was to fight stronger enemies. But in reality, this goal had faded long ago. However, here I could once again feel the thrill of being a challenger. Just when I thought I wouldn't be able to clear it today either, I saw that the final boss's health bar was about to hit rock bottom. At this rate, I was about to win, but I didn't really want to end the game so quickly. I kept cheering for the Demon King in my heart, but every one of his moves was easily blocked by me. I didn't understand at all why this guy's moves were so monotonous today, because each of my attacks hit him so easily. Although I kept shouting encouragement with my mouth, my hands never stopped their magnificent maneuvers. Finally, I caught his opening and began charging my ultimate move. My aura evolved into a blue Lion King. The next second, I delivered the final blow to the Demon King. With a ding, the system notified me that the challenge was successful. At this moment, I became the champion of two worlds. After exiting the game, I closed my eyes and pondered for a while. Suddenly, I smashed the mouse hard against the screen, because now I didn't know who else I could fight. Should I go find a brown bear? At that moment, a golden lightning bolt suddenly lit up the sky. I quickly turned my head to see what was happening. That golden lightning seemed to have eyes and struck straight toward me. When I opened my eyes again, it was pouring rain. Everything around me was chaotic, and I didn't know why I was outside. At that moment, someone patted my shoulder and said, "Number 218, there's no time to space out now. We need to get out of here quickly. I've been calling you, what are you doing?" Just as I was wondering who he was and where this was, I saw that his clothes had 172 written on the chest. Not far away, a group of people wearing the same clothes rushed toward the gate. However, I seemed to have seen the pattern on the flag on the wall somewhere before. Number 172 kept shaking me and said, "Snap out of it. Do you want to be locked up here forever? This might be the last chance. The last chance to escape this disgusting carrion." Hearing the word carrion, I instantly widened my eyes. Although number 172 was pulling at my collar, I was still deep in thought, wondering if I was dreaming. But this feeling was very real, definitely not a dream. Had I really entered the game I was playing? And as a prisoner, no less. Just as I was being pulled along by number 172, I suddenly thought of something. I instantly stopped and told him to wait. I asked him if he didn't find it strange. If this was carrion, it couldn't be like this. The security was too lax. Number 172 explained that it was because Warden Clark wasn't here. He had rushed out just now, so this was the opportunity. But I grabbed his collar, pulling him back while ignoring the screaming protests. If what he said was correct, even if I could understand the situation, my champion's instinct told me that we absolutely must not go through that door, since number 172 earlier didn't just think of himself but wanted to bring me along too. Although I didn't know what relationship he had with the original owner of this body, I'd save his life anyway. At that moment, the gate was finally opened. The prisoners seemed to have already seen freedom and ran desperately outside. At that moment, a severed arm flew into the air. The man running in front suddenly fell to his knees, clutching his severed arm, and in front of him was Warden Clark. The warden contemptuously ordered to kill all these vermin. The soldiers behind him instantly launched their attack. The massacre, targeting all the prisoners who had just tried to escape, began. Number 172 still didn't understand why the warden appeared there, and I said it was a trap and told him to shut up and run. After a long while, the massacre finally ended. The warden ordered to gather the remaining ones. Thanks to my champion's instinct, both number 172 and I barely survived. Number 172 couldn't help but look down at the dead bodies on the ground. He suddenly felt nauseous, and a wave of vomit rushed up his throat. Finally unable to hold back, he bent over and vomited. At that moment, a guard walked up to number 172. He viciously gave number 172 a heavy kick, saying, "Didn't I already tell you not to move?" From the current situation, they showed no mercy even to children, and the atmosphere could turn into a massacre at any moment. In that case, I would have to stand up and fight. Then the warden stood in front of me and said, "Your luck is pretty good. Wait, no, you probably didn't even have the courage to escape. After all, you mages are all cowards, and fighting against you is truly shameful." Then he leaned close to me and continued, "You'll regret not dying today, Alarhan." After saying that, the warden turned and left. I looked down at the reflection in the puddle. So my name was Alarhan. A week in prison quickly passed. Here, there was only one thing to do, stacking rocks. This was simply torturing prisoners, a meaningless task. However, during this time living here, I began to understand this body somewhat. First, this body was very frail, about 15 years old, and just carrying one of these stones made me almost breathless. Second was the use of magic. I secretly tried at night but got nowhere. I was very puzzled about this. Alarhan was the strongest mage family. They shouldn't be unable to use magic. Then I finally realized that's exactly why he was thrown here. The Alarhan family had more than enough power to do this. At that moment, a guard ordered me to move the rocks to the other side. He sat not far behind me, supervising. But speaking of which, when would this get better? Soon it was dinner time. Since coming here, I exercised and trained my body every day, but all I ate was this kind of food. Then number 172 came over with his meal and asked if I wasn't eating bread today either. I handed my bread to number 172 because bread was low-quality carbs, so I basically didn't eat it. He quickly wolfed it down, while other prisoners were busy avoiding me. Only this guy was different from the others. The symbol of the strongest mage family, Alarhan, was those red eyes, and rumor had it that those red eyes were a curse from killing too many people. If you made eye contact with the red eyes, you couldn't escape death. Number 172 and I were about the same age and were roommates. And although I didn't have the memories from before the possession, I felt we had quite a connection. But why would such a young boy be in Keran prison? At that moment, number 172 reminded me to be careful lately, and I asked him what happened. He explained that recently, because I was moving stones too seriously, everyone's workload had increased, and other prisoners resented me. Then he told me to especially watch out for number 589. That guy was famous in the arena and came in after killing someone outside. After hearing this, I asked him in confusion, "Then isn't it dangerous for you to hang around with me?" Number 172 answered that after all, we had a bond. He couldn't just pretend not to know me. At that moment, I sensed something was wrong. Stood up and said in a low voice, "All right, but you might be in the way, go somewhere else for now." Footsteps sounded, and a group of people approached menacingly. I turned to number 172 and said, "The thing you were worried about seems to be happening." Number 172's face suddenly turned pale, because he clearly saw that the lead person's number was actually 589. Beside number 589 were a bunch of lackeys. He said with a vicious face, "Hey Alarhan, I heard the increased workload recently is because of you," just as I said disdainfully that I was just treating it as exercise. A huge fist was already in front of my face. The next second, I was knocked down hard by number 589. Number 172 on the side was immediately stunned and asked if I was okay. At that moment, my hand suddenly grabbed number 589's collar. He didn't expect that I still had the strength to fight back. I grabbed his head, leaped into the air, and delivered a fierce knee strike to his face. Number 172 and number 589's lackeys were all shocked by this scene. But at that moment, I also widened my eyes, because my attack had absolutely no effect on number 589. I couldn't help but complain about how terrible this body was. But number 589 grabbed my collar and lifted me up, then threw me hard. Just when everyone thought I was definitely dead today, a system voice sounded in my mind. Notification: data synchronization progress reached 100%. Synchronization complete. Seeing this, an imperceptible cold smile rose at the corner of my mouth. Then I slowly stood up. Blue aura wrapped around my body. The muscles of my arms and legs were noticeably thicker. Tremendous power erupted instantly. I clenched my fists, and after getting familiar with this new power, I raised both hands in a fighting stance. With a slight smile, I told number 589 to try again. Seeing me dare to provoke him, number 589 suddenly laughed. He clenched his fist, making cracking sounds, and said disdainfully, "Even your family doesn't want you. Where does this young master get the confidence to show off like this?" I told him to cut the crap and asked if he was afraid of me. "Fine, I'll kill you as you wish," number 589 said, and charged at me menacingly. I timed it right and kicked toward his thigh, but unexpectedly, he predicted my move and tightly grabbed my foot. Just as he opened his mouth to taunt me, I did a spinning kick to shake off his hand and kicked his head hard. He immediately clutched his head and began swaying, but I didn't give him a chance to catch his breath and kicked his chin again. Number 589 instantly lost consciousness and was about to fall to the ground. However, I kicked again, striking his face directly. He finally couldn't hold on and lay on the ground. Originally, I wasn't planning to use my legs, but we weren't in the same weight class, and using only fists was a bit difficult. Number 589's lackeys saw their boss knocked down and instantly became agitated, collectively pulling out weapons and rushing at me. But I calmly walked toward number 589 lying on the ground. Then I stepped on him and made a gesture of twisting his wrist, threatening his lackeys that if they dared to come one step closer, number 589 would have to be spoon-fed for the rest of his life, and ordered them to bring the guards. After hearing this, everyone stood in place glaring at me viciously. Seeing them unmoved, I began to threaten forcefully. Do I look like I'm joking? If you don't believe me, should I break one of his arms first to show you? At that moment, finally one lackey rushed out to find the guards. Afterwards, a few lackeys helped number 589 away, threatening before leaving that they definitely wouldn't let me off next time, but those should be my lines. After returning to the cell to rest, number 172 asked me with admiration when I learned those moves, but he suddenly changed the subject and asked if I was always this tall, as he remembered we should be about the same height. I brushed him off, saying that moving rocks seriously would make me taller, but actually after data synchronization, real-world stats were brought into the game, though compared to my real-world body, this was still just a kid. At that moment, an attribute panel appeared before me. From just now, I had been wanting to quickly check my attributes. Name, Jed Alarhan. Class, Mage. Growth speed reduction penalty effect activated. Magic power, 0. Seeing this, I couldn't help but frown. Is this right? Magic power was actually 0, although I kept complaining, internally. Wasn't I supposed to be a mage? Wasn't I an Alarhan? They actually made me possess a body with such terrible stats. I restarted the attributes in disbelief, but what appeared again was still 0. At that moment, number 172 asked what I was doing, and I covered my embarrassment with laughter. After accepting reality, I lay on the bed sorting out my thoughts. I finally understood why this half-baked person was abandoned by the family. The Alarhans were a bunch of emotionless people who would indeed do such things. Now I could only calm down and slowly confirm things. However, strength, agility, stamina, and perception were all at maximum value of 100, which was fortunate amidst the misfortune. Although there was a penalty for reduced growth speed, this skin and bones body couldn't display maximum stat effects anyway. The penalty part should be solvable by training the body well, but the food was really too terrible. However, there were many traits I was seeing for the first time, and they were all S rank. As far as I knew, poison immunity and immortal gambler were obtained through the game. If magic power wasn't 0, this could be considered a super strong character. But this was deliberately infuriating, wasn't it? After clarifying the situation, I sat up. After all, the rest would be known gradually, and there must be a way to solve the magic power problem. At that moment, the guard ordered the numbers that were called to go outside. Then prisoners were called, one after another, and walked out of their cells. They obediently lined up and walked out. I asked number 172 in confusion what was happening to those people, and he answered that they were death row inmates going to eat their last meal. I wasn't very clear about last meals, and number 172 explained that before dying, they could eat whatever they wanted. Hearing this, inspiration struck me, and a plan instantly formed in my mind. I asked what his name was, and he crossed his arms, saying that between us we only use numbers and forgot to ask names. Then he introduced himself as Ryu, born on the street so he had no family, and asked what my name was. I answered that my name was Jed Alarhan. Then I asked if he wanted to leave this place, and Ryu answered of course. He didn't plan to stay here forever, and he also had reasons why he must get out. Hearing this, I asked if he had thought about how to escape. Ryu thought for a moment and said the only door that could be used to get out was the main gate, and the warden had the key to it. I asked if we should defeat the warden first, and then take the key, but Ryu asked if I was joking. He said the warden was retired, but was at least a 5-circle knight. In my memory, Warden Clark was a typical knight who was extremely hostile toward mages. In Last Saber's worldview, knights and mages always despised each other. However, I wasn't sure if I could beat a retired 5-circle knight, so I asked Ryu if there was no other way. But at that moment, Ryu said stealing would work. He then explained that people born on the streets learned how to roll up their sleeves before learning how to say hello. But the warden always had people around him, making it difficult to find an opportunity to steal. After hearing Ryu's words, the corner of my mouth lifted, because I already had a general idea of how to escape from here. The next morning during assembly, the guard announced that starting today, the workload would increase again. The prisoners immediately expressed their dissatisfaction, but the guard only said, "Are you resisting the warden's orders?" Just as one prisoner was about to continue speaking, a sharp blade tip was already pressed against his throat. The guard said he was just conveying the warden's orders, and if there was any dissatisfaction, go find the warden. That prisoner asked tremblingly, "Isn't this too excessive? What's the reason for doing this?" Hearing his words, the guard's eyes glanced over, then said, "Don't you know who's responsible for this?" Those prisoners, of course, knew who the guard was talking about and turned their heads to stare at me. At that moment, The guard coughed lightly. He turned to leave, saying he'd go have a smoke and come back. Ryu said to me nervously that the atmosphere was a bit strange, but I just told him to stay away for now. I thought to myself that it seemed the warden was openly inciting a riot because he couldn't do it himself, so he wanted to use other prisoners to kill me. Could yesterday's incident have been arranged by him too? That guy, as an honorable knight, was actually playing such dirty tricks, but this time even the guards were on their side, so it couldn't be handled like yesterday. At this moment, Ryu only hoped that nothing would happen to me. Those prisoners had obviously reached a consensus and approached me in unison. I said easily that I could understand their position too, but this was also an unavoidable situation. However, this completely enraged those prisoners, and they swung their fists, rushing at me like a tidal wave. The next second, I leaped into the air and delivered a knee strike at the prisoner charging at the front. That prisoner instantly flew backward, slowing down the other prisoner's attack speed. They swarmed around me in a circle. I raised both fists and grinned, saying this was exactly the outlet I needed. Bring it all on. In an instant, all the prisoners charged from all directions. When I was competing in the octagon, I had thought, dealing with them one at a time was too troublesome. Why not just have everyone come at me at once? So I had always longed for a situation like now where I fought many at once. Then I said easily that they should be more aggressive. At that moment, my eyes darted. I ducked and dodged a sneak attack from a prisoner behind me. I backhanded an elbow strike into his chin. Then I cut through the crowd like lightning, and wherever my fists and feet reached, prisoners fell one after another, letting out cries of pain. At this moment, Ryu was hiding not far away, witnessing this one-sided crushing. He was shocked beyond belief. He never imagined that I, whom he spent day and night with, would be this strong. At that moment, number 589 appeared behind Ryu and told him to come with him. I didn't know what was happening on Ryu's side, completely immersed in my own fight. Seeing how fierce I was, the remaining prisoners all pulled out knives. But I wasn't afraid at all, that's right. The thrill of dodging attacks, the excitement of landing effective hits. It was because I was addicted to this feeling that I started fighting. More. But at that moment, someone called me from behind. Araan, you'd better not be so arrogant anymore. It'd be better if you just died quietly. You should treasure your friends. Behind him, number 589 was tightly gripping Ryu. Seeing this scene, I couldn't help but feel anger rising. But instead I grinned and said, "Hey, you trash. You just made a very serious mistake." The man standing with number 589 laughed and said, "You should feel honored to fight me. I'm a two-circle knight. You, an Alarhan without even magic power, have only one path, death." He leaped into the air and slashed down with his sword. I flashed to the side and dodged this strike. The man's strike hit nothing, but when he looked up, he saw that I had already knocked down number 589 and rescued Ryu. He said with a trembling voice, "This is impossible. What did you just do? You clearly can't use magic." I answered nonchalantly, "This isn't magic." Before I finished speaking, my body flickered and swept across the open space like a ghost. In the blink of an eye, I was in front of the man. Then my right leg drew a sharp arc and kicked heavily toward his neck. The man immediately flew backward several meters. At that moment, the warden walked over from the door behind me. Our gazes collided in the air. Tension instantly filled the atmosphere, and he told me to explain what happened. At that moment came Ryu's shout, "Wait, number 218 is the victim. Those guys took me hostage and wanted to kill number 218. He was acting in self-defense," Ryu said while running. After hearing this, the warden's brows knitted tightly together and he glanced with disgust at the fallen prisoners. "What a bunch of idiots," he cursed to himself. Suddenly, he asked me if I had unlocked my magic power. I brushed him off, saying, "Who the hell knows?" At that moment, purple aura emanated from around the warden's body. All the prisoners were oppressed by this aura and fell to their knees, trembling all over, and Ryu, still being a child, collapsed directly to the ground. However, blue aura emanated around my body again, completely unaffected by this 5-circle knight's aura. At that moment, a system window appeared before me. S-rank trait, Soul of a Champion, is resisting the subdue. I grinned. It seemed this was a mental immunity trait. This ability was too overpowered. However, in my world, my body had already reached its peak. Indeed, it was impossible to be suppressed by a mere 5-circle small fry. The warden was immediately shocked speechless. He didn't expect I could still stand properly. After all, I was just a half-baked person who hadn't even opened magic power. The warden took a deep breath. The next second, even more tremendous aura erupted from around his body. However, I still stood there safe and sound, thinking to myself, this is an S-rank trait. What else can you do? My performance exceeded his expectations and he froze in place. At that moment, the guard behind him finally couldn't hold on and begged him to stop. The warden had no choice but to stop and withdrew his aura. The corner of my mouth lifted as I thought. Fortunately, he stopped there. If he got angry and started swinging his sword, I might be done for. The warden glared at me as if he wanted to swallow me alive. In the end, he could only order us to continue working and turned to leave with a gloomy face, but I stopped him, saying I just happened to have something to tell him. The warden angrily turned back and asked what I wanted. I explained that I was tired of stacking rocks and had to keep my nerves on edge every day. Worrying about being attacked by other prisoners was very annoying, so I decided to die. Ryu on the side broke into a cold sweat after hearing this and asked what I was saying, but I ignored him and continued. As I said, I want to become a death row inmate, the warden said in surprise. You know what you're saying means, right? If you change your mind, I will never forgive you. I raised my chin nonchalantly and said, are you afraid I'll go back on my word? Want me to record it with a crystal ball for you? The warden's eyes immediately lit up. This suited him perfectly. He immediately turned and ordered his subordinates to quickly bring the crystal ball. I spoke unhurriedly. I heard the last meal can be whatever you want to eat. Let's decide on the food now. For my last meal, I want beef from Verti, and I want to eat until my stomach bursts. The guards standing behind the warden all showed shocked expressions, and someone said, how could such expensive food be given to a death row inmate? Beef from Verti was one of the most precious foods in Last Saber. Because it was so delicious, there were often descriptions of after eating this beef, even power that didn't exist before would emerge, or that this battle would definitely be won, and there were even quests to bribe NPCs with this beef. I said with my hands on my hips, I'm trading my life for this. This request shouldn't be too much, right? But I only want S rank, and if you try any tricks, it's all void. At that moment, Ryu spoke up again, asking if I was going to accept execution, and I finally remembered him. I pointed at him and said, he's coming too. You need to prepare enough for 2 people to eat until they burst. The warden ordered his subordinates to do as I said. After all, Alarhan was going to die anyway, so this request should be granted. Ryu immediately broke into a cold sweat and stammered, what about my opinion? A world where only Ryu was hurt was achieved. Obtaining the precious beef from Verti would take at least a week. During this time, I didn't go to work, just ate the guard rations they provided and focused on exercise. Ryu on the side was very puzzled why I still insisted on exercising when death was imminent. He didn't know that I did this precisely because in Last Saber there was a special system. That is, when one stat reached the maximum value of 100, experience points would transfer to other stats. All my stats except magic power were at 100, which meant that all the experience points I gained here would all be added to my magic power stat. At that moment, the guard came to call Ryu and me out. It seemed we had finally waited for it. I was full of joy, while Ryu held his head and wailed. A lavish beef from Verti feast filled the table. The sizzling grilled steak glistened with an enticing sheen. So delicious. I've never eaten anything this good in my life. Ryu wolfed it down with tears of emotion. I told him not to forget this was all thanks to me, however. For me, aside from the taste, the function of beef from Verti was most important. At that moment, the system kept notifying me that part of the penalty had been reduced. It felt like this time, all the blocked experience points from this period were added at once. The first goal was achieved, next was that one. Meanwhile, a guard was reporting to the warden that dinner had started, and the warden instructed him not to let anyone approach. After saying that, Clark fell into thought. He couldn't figure out what was going on. My expression that day didn't look like I was enduring, how to put it. It was as if it was completely impenetrable. Although retired, Clark was still a 5-circle knight, so he didn't believe a young mage who hadn't even opened magic power could possibly withstand his aura. He looked down at the bracelet on his wrist, swearing to repay me double for the humiliation he suffered. Soon Ryu and I swept the entire plate of beef from Verti clean. Ryu burped and said now he could die without regrets, and I laughed saying we can't die now. Then I clenched my fists. After eating and drinking my fill, I was now full of energy and wanted to quickly test this power. At that moment, the door was opened. Finally here, Ryu and I both turned our heads at the same time. The one who came in was none other than Clark, and I said, what should we do? We already ate everything. Clark said while walking toward us. Number 218. No wait, Jed Alarhan. I chuckled and said, what's wrong? Are you angry we didn't save you any? Clark stared at me with a gloomy face. To him, I was being arrogant, relying on my bloodline. At that moment, he reached out and grabbed my shoulder, saying, I'm going to make that annoying face of yours sink deep into agony. Alarhan was a top-tier family among magical dynasties. Precisely because of this, Clark had always targeted me, not only because I was a mage, but more so because I was a member of the Alarhan family. So he wanted to extract some secrets about Alarhan from me. As long as the secret was important enough, it could become his ticket out of this remote place. That's when I finally noticed something was wrong. He was actually wearing a magic tool on his hand. The next second, Clark released his aura again, pressing down on me, just as he said with complete confidence that I had no way out this time. He discovered that the corners of my mouth were lifted, looking at him perfectly unharmed. Ryu staggered over to Clark's side, but was quickly slapped to the ground by Clark. Having eaten too much earlier, Ryu collapsed on the ground and started vomiting. I spoke up, telling Clark to know when to stop, but he stubbornly raised his other hand as well. Pressing both hands on my shoulders, he intensified his aura. I finally couldn't stand his relentless harassment. I casually swatted his hands away and said, I already told you to stop. If you want to kill me, just execute me properly. Don't mess around like this. Clark stared at me blankly, unable to understand why even with the magic tool it still didn't work. Moreover, I hadn't even used any magic power yet, so he couldn't help but suspect I was at least 1 circle higher than him. But Clark still refused to believe it, thinking this power came from Alarhan bloodline. After all, the 5 circle was a realm he would need to train his entire life to reach. Even so, he had no way to make this young mage submit. At this point, I asked him if he was done with his tricks. He lowered his head and thought for a moment. Finally, he turned and left, reminding me that the execution would take place tomorrow morning. Even if you're from the Great Araan, you cannot disrespect the laws established by His Majesty the Emperor. Enjoy your last night. Much later, in the warden's office, Clark was recording everything that had just happened in his notebook, though he still couldn't fully investigate it. But he thought this might be valuable information for active knights. Suddenly, drowsiness hit him. Having pushed his magic power to the maximum and used the magic tool, his body was already extremely fatigued. Finally unable to hold on, he collapsed and fell asleep. The scene shifted to mine in Ryu's cell. Ryu finally opened his eyes. With Clark using his full power amplified by the magic tool, the burden on his body had been too great. I asked him how his body felt. He said he still felt a bit nauseous, like he was about to throw up. I praised his skills, and he finally grinned, proudly showing off the key he had just pickpocketed from Clark from his sleeve. I told him he'd worked hard. After all, for an ordinary person, doing this was actually very dangerous. This kid was really a man. At this point, Ryu sat up and said it was only because Clark's attention was on me that he was able to steal it. Then he asked with concern if I was okay. "I'm fine," I replied. He suddenly changed the topic, saying I was strange and must have some secret he didn't know about. I told him to go move some more rocks. After saying this, my eyes looked ahead. Now my strength, agility, and stamina had all increased by 10 points. Truly amazing results. Beef from Verdi was indeed as rumored, not only delicious but also highly nutritious. Of course, I'd also been exercising continuously. I could feel my body had undergone a qualitative leap after eating beef from Verdi. Though I wanted to quickly remove all the penalties, it would probably be difficult. Still, I made up my mind. I sat down and told Ryu we'd be leaving tonight. Once he recovered, we'd set out. Ryu asked, "Don't we need to get out right now? Clark should discover it soon." I told him confidently not to worry. Clark should be sleeping soundly now. Ryu asked in confusion how I knew. That's because I knew Clark's bracelet was a trash item that instantly increased magic power while also greatly accumulating fatigue. He should be sleeping unconscious somewhere right now. He came to find me bringing the dining room key himself, and unexpectedly used a magic tool. Thanks to him, my plan went even more smoothly. Now it was about time to leave. Ryu was still hesitant. I said, "If you're scared, you can stay behind." His voice trembling, he said, "You're my lifeline. Of course I'm coming with you." At this point, Ryu asked me what we'd do without the key to this room. I gestured for him to step back. Then I kicked the cell door open with one foot. Ryu was shocked by my strength, asking if I was really a mage. Suddenly, two guards not far away were attracted by the commotion and asked what I was doing. I said disdainfully, "What else? Breaking out of prison, of course." Immediately, Ryu and I took off running. At this point, Ryu reminded me to look ahead. Several guards were stationed at the main gate. I suddenly accelerated, reminding Ryu without looking back to absolutely not stop and keep running. One guard came toward me first, raising his sword. The moment I approached him, he swung his sword down, but I easily dodged it by twisting my body. Then I grabbed his face with my backhand and threw him hard. I threw him right toward the group of guards, slowing down their attack. The lead guard was dumbfounded. His face was filled with anger and disbelief, but I had already reached him and extended my palm, then struck his throat with one blow. His face instantly bulged with veins, but he could only make "ah" sounds, unable to speak. However, I didn't linger and quickly moved around him, charging toward the other guards behind him. Those guards were already intimidated by my strength and didn't dare fight back. I leapt up like hurtling and kicked that guard I had thrown earlier. When landing, I quickly bent down to dodge an attack from a guard. After an upward kick hit his head, I finally landed steadily. Another guard came at me with his sword raised. I still easily dodged by twisting my body. Then I supported myself with one hand and hit his head with a spinning kick, then leapt into the air, making him completely crash to the ground. After that, I looked back. Two guards simultaneously swung their swords at me. However, this only sparked my desire to challenge them. I grinned. In an instant, I raised my leg and simultaneously kicked both guards with lightning speed. Ryu, following behind me, was stunned by the scene. By the time Clark was awakened by the guards, he only saw injured people all over the ground. Ryu and I had already escaped through the main gate. He flew into a rage, his eyes immediately bloodshot with a fierce glint. He quickly ordered them to capture us back as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Moda village on the outskirts of Keran, and I was actually peeking through the gap of an inconspicuous wooden barrel, scanning back and forth for any movement around. After confirming we'd shaken off the guards chasing us, Ryu and I finally lifted the lid and poked our heads out. I asked Ryu where this was. He explained this was a small village called Mota, the only village near the prison. I asked if the guards would come here to search first. Ryu said there was no choice. Other cities were too far. As long as we blended into the crowd, it should be safe. I said I'd follow his lead for now, but asked what he was looking for. Ryu pulled out a piece of clothing from inside, saying this one was just right for me and to put it on. I asked if he had to pick clothes like a beggar for me. Ryu explained that beggars were everywhere here. Disguising as beggars was the safest. After getting fully dressed, Ryu told me to stay here while he went to get some needed things. I asked him how he'd get them without money. Ryu said smugly, "Why do you necessarily need money?" I thought to myself this kid's way of thinking was different from others. Then he reminded me again not to wander off. He'd be right back. He also said it was because I was his companion. I remained silent at this because I wasn't sure if he was trustworthy. An hour later, Ryu finally returned. I asked what he'd brought. Ryu took out color-changing lenses for me to put on. My pupils turned blue. It should be something like colored contacts. He explained that red pupils were an Alarhan characteristic and I had to be careful, and explained that the south was Bahal family territory, so blue lenses were most popular, because among those presumptuous nobles, eye color was also a kind of decoration. After hearing this, I fell into thought. Bahal was a family I was very familiar with because my main character was Torres Bahal, the character I used for the final ending. The magic family was Araan, the swordsman family was Bahal. Just like their mutually hateful worldview, even their eye colors were completely different. Afterward, Ryu led me to the resting place he'd already found on his way back. Lying in the stable, I kept thinking about why my situation had become like this. The moment I opened my eyes, I was suddenly in the game as a prisoner of all things, and now I was hiding in a stable to sleep. Moreover, I didn't understand why that guy Ryu kept following someone like me. He said I was his companion, but he should know very well that Clark's target was me. Following me would be dangerous. However, he was a pickpocket from the streets. I did need Ryu's help right now, which was why I was with him, but I wasn't sure if I could really trust him all along. At this moment, Ryu also had his eyes open, thinking about who knows what. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. I woke up. It had been too dark last night to see clearly. I hadn't expected to be sleeping in such a dirty, messy, and foul-smelling place. Ryu also sat up stretching and said, "You really are an elite noble. Does this kind of place make you uncomfortable?" I said, "Who would like this kind of place?" Ryu agreed with me, saying everyone just compromised to adapt to circumstances. I stood up and said, "No way. I need to go earn money first. No matter what, I have to fill my stomach first." Ryu asked how I'd earn it. Just avoiding the guard's notice was already difficult enough. Why not take this opportunity to learn pickpocketing? I said confidently, "Forget pickpocketing. Help me find a place," Ryu asked with a confused expression. "Where?" "The arena," I answered. Ryu quickly found out where the underground arena was. At this moment, two burly men were fighting intensely on the platform. The audience below roared, cheering them on. Ryu was so scared by the scene that cold sweat poured down, asking if we come to the wrong place. I said decisively, "No, this is the place." The dark-skinned man bit into the long-haired man's trapezius muscle with his teeth, but was countered by a fierce, heavy punch from the long-haired man. He quickly adjusted his state and engaged again, but was punched in the waist again by the long-haired man. Originally, I thought there were only some commoners fighting here, but the level was actually decent. Ryu beside me just wanted to leave this place as quickly as possible. On the platform, the long-haired man actively attacked. A punch blasted straight toward the dark-skinned man's face. Before the dark-skinned man could catch his breath, a barrage of punches had already poured down on him like cannonballs. Ryu was about to persuade me to leave quickly. Ikas on stage was much stronger than the prisoners in Keran, but when he turned his head, he couldn't see me. And at this moment, all the audience below were stunned by the scene before them, because I had easily blocked Ikas's fist with one hand, and we were obviously not in the same weight class. I said to Ikas, "Can't you see he's already passed out? Don't go too far." At this moment, Ikas was confused, unclear who would dare speak to him like this, and Ryu was already stunned by my actions, thinking why did that madman go up there? I turned and asked the referee if he'd been bribed. The outcome was already decided. Why let the match continue? This doesn't follow the rules. Just then, Ikas shook off my hand and asked what I wanted. He thought to himself it would be trouble if I was a noble, but I instead asked him if he couldn't tell. At this moment, the whole venue was silent enough to hear a pin drop. All eyes focused on me, waiting for my answer. But I explained I was just a beggar from the streets. The next second, I was drowned in a tsunami of angry curses from the entire audience. However, I said without care that I'd take responsibility. I'd fight that guy. Is that okay? Everyone look forward to it. I'll show you an interesting match. Just then, Ryu ran over in a panic. Words poured out like a machine gun, urging me not to fight Ikas, saying that guy was the strongest here, so he didn't believe I could win at all. My head was spinning. I scratched my head and ordered him to bet the farm on me. Just as he tried to talk me out of it, I directly cut him off. "Ryu, after this ends, let's go buy beef to eat. Eat until we're stuffed." Soon the match began, but not a single audience member supported me. Ikas concluded inwardly that this beggar was completely, irredeemably insane, but he suddenly sensed something unusual. Though this youth was only around 15 years old, his eyes showed no naivety, and his breathing was exceptionally calm. Most notably, his stance was clearly different from others, full of aggression yet very stable, with no openings. Ikas suddenly felt nervous. Could he actually be afraid of a beggar? He instantly became angry from embarrassment. His body shot forward as he attacked me first, but the next second, my fist had already struck his cheek. He bled from his nose, his face full of disbelief. I still maintained my fighting stance, muttering to myself, "When punching, you shouldn't put your hand behind your shoulder. The fist should face the opponent head-on from a defensive stance, attacking with the fastest straight line distance, light and concise. Then, attack quickly, occasionally adding body weight for a powerful strike." Ikas was blasted backward, blood and teeth flying from his mouth. In the audience seats, Ryu, who had been praying for me, heard the gasps from the crowd, and slowly opened his eyes, only to discover Ikas was covered in wounds and couldn't even stand steadily, while I was completely unharmed and at ease. Ryu was stunned. He had never imagined I could actually defeat Ikas. At this moment, Ikas's vision began to blur, everything before him hazy. He had never thought he would lose to a young punk. He threw a punch with all his strength, but I easily dodged it by lowering my body. He couldn't understand why he couldn't dodge those chaotic-looking punches. This was inevitable. After all, we were people from two different worlds. Finally, I punched toward his chest, and he flew backward again. This time, he could no longer get up. I looked at the referee on the side and asked what he was still doing. Did he want me to also not follow the rules? The referee's gaze shifted outside the ring, as if waiting for some instruction. After receiving the instruction, he raised my hand and declared my victory. But I didn't feel the joy of victory. I only felt it ended before I even warmed up. If I'd known, I would have gone even lighter. Leaving the ring, Ryu and I went to the arena's finance department to collect the prize money, but discovered the amount in the money bag was wrong. I directly asked the receptionist if they thought we were young and couldn't do such simple arithmetic. The receptionist quickly waved her hands, explaining to me, "How could that be? I gave you everything." But I still felt something was wrong. It couldn't be this little. Ryu beside me had shifty eyes and looked very guilty. I turned and asked him how much he bet. Unexpectedly, he hadn't bet everything. He explained he didn't like gambling and also needed to keep some money for dinner. As we were arguing, a woman interrupted our conversation. Behind her stood two tall bodyguards. She said coquettishly that she just wanted to chat with me. I recognized that the referee had been watching their faces earlier, so I asked who she was. Seeing I didn't know her, she understood I was here for the first time. So she introduced herself as Herna, the manager of this arena. Just as she was about to ask again if we could chat, Ryu and I walked straight away. Ryu seemed to know that woman and glanced back. Just then, those two bodyguards blocked my path. I asked indifferently if they also wanted to end up like that guy just now. I could make them lie down for a few days. However, they didn't move at all, seemed very loyal to that woman. At this point, Herna behind me spoke. "The ICAs you defeated today is a champion I scouted from the big city. You should know what I want to talk to you about. I'll let you go today. We'll definitely meet again anyway. We can have a more relaxed chat then." I really like strong people. I remained silent, uninterested in her words. Afterward, Ryu and I came to a barbecue restaurant. Ryu was already starving, but still reminded me that we absolutely couldn't upset that woman from earlier. Herna was ostensibly an arena manager, but was actually this city's hidden power holder. As long as we stayed here, we'd definitely encounter her. I said in my view, she was just a money-loving old fox. Ryu said yes. That was her nickname, Old Fox. I pondered for a moment. It seemed she was approaching me because she wanted to use me. It was the same when I first entered the combat sports world. When I first rose to prominence, many different agencies contacted me. Most wanted to use my talent as a means to make money, and I encountered scams several times. After all, back then I was just a country kid full of dreams. I was really lucky to meet my current manager. He was the one who made me a champion. Thanks to him, I was no longer just a country kid who could only be exploited. I was a battle-tested champion who climbed to the peak. If her nickname was Old Fox, then let's see who was more cunning. At this moment, the server brought up one portion of beef from Verdi. Ryu was already ready to eat, but I spoke up and interrupted him. I said this was fake, the color and marbling were far off, but Ryu couldn't tell the difference. I explained that thinking about it carefully, it was actually strange. The warden took a week to get it back then. If the neighboring city had it, it wouldn't have taken that long. Moreover, beef from Verdi was very precious, impossible to supply to so many customers. This seemed to be beef from Wage, one grade lower, though only one grade difference. The quality gap was huge, and of course the price was different too. But at this moment, Ryu's stomach was already growling with hunger, thinking wasn't it all the same once it was in the stomach? But I said paying Bell Estate prices yet eating fake beef. Wasn't that unfair? Besides, we had no money. Reporting such things was a consumer's right. After saying this, I waved over the server. The server said with an annoyed face, "I found you eyesores since earlier. Hurry up and leave after eating. You only ordered one portion of meat, and dare take up others' time here. This is fake meat. We ordered one portion of beef from Verdi. You should bring out the right thing first," I said coldly, thinking selling me fake goods already made me angry. And the attitude was so poor too. But the server said, "Do you have any idea where you are? Your street tricks don't work here?" I had no desire to argue further and demanded to see the manager. He glared and snarled, "You filthy beggar, have you lost your mind?" I scoffed. "Or would you prefer this bold as brass beggar to make a scene right here?" The other patrons turned to look, their murmurs spreading instantly. The waiter, left with no choice, signaled for me to follow him. Soon Ryu and I were brought to the boss's office. At the head was a pot-bellied, middle-aged man, obviously the boss. Beside him stood several burly men holding knives. The boss asked if we were those two unreasonable beggars. "The unreasonable one is you. You sold us fake goods," I replied. The boss laughed heartily, then said, "Young punk's got quite the spirit, but you should know how to read the room," he said, his finger pointing at us, seemingly ordering his subordinates to attack us. I raised my fist and chuckled. "I don't know what room to read, but it seems you're the ones who can't read the situation. If we fight, who do you think will die?" But his subordinates all thought I was bluffing and simultaneously swung their swords at me. However, I dealt with them one by one without breaking a sweat. Soon the last burly man was also taken down by me. The boss also went from his earlier composure to sweating profusely. He simply couldn't believe the scene before him. Ryu said proudly, "Serves you right. Do you know who he is?" Even Ikas was defeated by him. The boss had heard not long ago that Ikas lost to a beggar, but he had laughed it off at the time. He didn't expect it to all be true, so he stammered and asked what we wanted. I said without fuss, "Finally we can communicate. I just want to get the compensation I deserve. I'm a reasonable person." As I spoke, I raised two fingers. There are two conditions for compensation. First, hand over our money. Second, from now on when we eat beef here, you'll pay for us at Bell Estate prices. The boss was stunned by my demands, thinking how could there be such a bandit-like guy, but he could only agree. Soon it was evening. We'd earned quite a bit of money, so we decided to find a better inn to stay at. Ryu collapsed onto the soft bed, excitedly waving his limbs, saying this was the first time he'd lain on such a soft bed. Then he turned sideways to look at me and said, "You were amazing just now. That consumers' rights thing, truly worthy of a noble." I also laid down on the bed and explained, "Because if this gets out, his restaurant is finished," I added. "And negotiating when you're holding no cards is hell." It was the first time I saw someone's face turn that red. Ryu laughed. He kept thanking me. I told him to hurry up and sleep. Much later, the room was very quiet. Ryu slowly opened his eyes. He sat up and asked quietly if I was asleep. Seeing I didn't respond, he confirmed I was asleep. So he tiptoed down from the bed and got dressed, then slowly approached the door preparing to leave. Only then did I open my eyes, but I didn't get up to follow him. A few days later at noon, Ryu, who had just woken up, said he was hungry and asked when we'd eat, while I hadn't rested since waking up and had been exercising the whole time. He asked, "Don't mages usually super hate sweating? Are you training your body because you have no magic power?" "Something like that," I replied. After saying this, I looked ahead and summoned the system, thinking that no matter how many times a day I checked, the status bar was the same. I was even doubting if I was cursed. Maybe it was because going from 0 to 1 was like making something from nothing, relatively taking a long time. Once the 1 appeared, it should go more smoothly. Of course, this was just what I hoped. Seeing me in a daze, Ryu asked with a distressed expression what was wrong. I stood up and said the morning exercise was over. "Let's go eat." Ryu asked delightedly what we'd eat today. "Let's eat beef today." "Haven't had it in a while," I said with a light laugh. Ryu's face instantly filled with happiness. The reason we hadn't gone to eat beef for 3 days was simple. Even being unreasonable had limits to avoid problems. More importantly, on the first day we ate 10 portions, so we had plenty of money. I lowered my head and asked Ryu how many gold coins we had left. Ryu said not much. The city's prices were really high. I immediately fell silent, thinking, I'd played this game for 10 years. Would I not know the market? If you wanted to spend 50 gold coins in a few days, it was the same as throwing them directly on the ground. This guy seemed to think that because I was born a noble, I was completely naive about the ways of the world. Though I didn't know what he was hiding, he currently showed no signs of betrayal. Better to pretend I didn't know for now. Soon after, a subordinate pushed open the barbecue restaurant owner's office door, saying those two guys had arrived. The barbecue restaurant owner Zhangf. Compared to his belly, this man's pride was very strong. He couldn't tolerate being humiliated by a young punk like this. His expression became fierce as he asked his subordinates if they'd prepared everything as he said. By the time Ryu and I arrived at the private room, the table was already filled with beef. Even the servers were polite to us. After the server left, I said in confusion why these guys were so respectful. Ryu didn't take it to heart at all, saying maybe it was because we changed clothes. But I still felt this wasn't possible. I pondered for a moment. When coming in, I didn't see anyone who looked like an assassin, and the restaurant interior was the same as before. I wasn't sure what scheme they were plotting. At this point, Ryu asked if I wasn't hungry. He handed me the lettuce wrap he just made. However, the instant I took the lettuce wrap, a thought flashed through my mind. I quickly told Ryu to spit out this meat. Couldn't eat it. Ryu coughed violently. He said in terror, "Am I poisoned? Will I die?" I said a little bit was fine. So that's it. This was their scheme. They actually dared to poison the meat. A message appeared in my mind. Trait: Poison immunity S rank has resisted Prug's venom. I thought if I didn't have absolute poison immunity, I would have died unknowingly. All the suffering I endured to obtain this was worth it. Trait: Absolute poison immunity S rank. Acquisition condition: Ingest all poisons in the Empire by grade and repeatedly use antidotes. Ryu asked weakly how I knew the meat was poisonous when it was colorless and tasteless. I said, "I'm an Araan." Ryu said, looking at it this way, "Those elite nobles really are different, so what now? If they want to kill us, shouldn't we hurry and escape?" I stood up and said, "Why should we run? We're going to make them pay a painful price." The boss was annoyed. If those two beggars had just quietly eaten the meat, fine, but why did they have to boss him around? I spoke calmly. "I just want to clear up some misunderstandings." The boss sneered inwardly. These two beggars really could eat. Having eaten so much Prug's venom, the effect should kick in soon. The boss said hypocritically, "Misunderstanding? You're nothing but threatening, extorting thugs." I said, "See, you've completely misunderstood. Let's sit down and eat a meal together, talk it out, and resolve this peacefully." Ryu picked up a meat roll. "Come eat some." The boss looked stunned. "What is this? Meat roll? Why give it to me?" I explained, "This is a gesture of reconciliation. If you accept it, the second condition from last time will be cancelled." The boss thought to himself they weren't really bandits. He spoke, "All right, I didn't want to reconcile with you, but this is too strange. Do you really want to continue being extorted by me? Or do you have other reasons for not eating the meat, like this meat is poisoned?" The corners of my mouth lifted in a smile. Cold sweat seeped from the boss's forehead. "Nonsense," I said. "You seem to be having quite a good time." I suddenly flipped the table. The boss retreated in terror. "What are you doing?" The meat from the table scattered on the ground. The boss stared at that meat. He didn't eat the meat. Could he have discovered the poison? Damn it, this was impossible. I had planned to occasionally patronize here, but I didn't expect you to be such a vicious person. You actually dared to poison the meat. The boss feigned composure, thinking, calm down, they couldn't have discovered it. He loudly protested, starting to talk nonsense. "I told you there's no poison at all. Do you have evidence?" Where's the evidence? I looked at him coldly. Of course there's evidence. My pupils turned blood red. This is the evidence. You dared to deceive a member of the Alarhan family. You will pay with your life for this. The boss's eyes widened in fear. Red eyes, Alarhan. The boss's legs went weak and he fell to the ground. No, even if one person disappears here, no one would care. I'm going to die. He crawled to my feet, begging desperately. Please, I was blind and failed to recognize greatness. I truly beg you to forgive me this once. The boss's heart was filled with questions. Why would a Western Alarhan come to the southern countryside? Why didn't he reveal his identity from the start? Why pretend to be a destitute wanderer? He was consumed by fear and couldn't think about these questions. Please, as long as you forgive me, I'm willing to do anything. Looking at the boss crying and begging like a child, I once again realized the overwhelming power Alarhan possessed. It seemed this trump card came with inherent authority. I should use it more frequently. I spoke. You're willing to do anything? For the sake of your sincere repentance, I'll make an exception this once. The boss was overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you so much. I will never forget your great kindness. I gave the orders first. You are not permitted to reveal my identity to anyone. The boss immediately promised, of course. Until I'm in my grave. No, even in the afterlife, I won't leak a single word. Second, hand over half your wealth, then I'll act like nothing happened today. Yes, I'll give it to you right now. Please wait a moment. The boss was deeply moved by Alarhan's magnanimity. After all, what use was money if you were dead? Moreover, it was only half. I must hand over the money before he changes his mind. He wiped away tears emotionally. My eyes returned to blue. Ryu looked at him, truly worthy of Alarhan. After we get the money, we'll leave this city tonight. Herna blocked their path. In such a hurry to go where? Both were startled. Herna slowly walked toward us with her attendants. She looked at me. So you're quite a remarkable person. Could she know I'm an Alarhan? Did that bastard leak my identity so quickly? Impossible. He was truly terrified at the time. Then there was only one place that could know information about me. If it was discovered I was a fake Alarhan, I wouldn't get the money. I needed to change locations. Herna spoke. Let's talk privately. I responded. All right. The three sat around a table. I asked first, so what brings you here? Do you have business with me? Herna smiled. You've got it wrong. It's not that there's nothing going on. I'm here to see my client. Client? Zed looked at Ryu. No way, Ryu. Ryu lowered his head. I didn't mean to hide it from you, Herna said to Ryu. I looked into what you asked me to, but I'm going to need more money. Ryu jumped to his feet in agitation. What? This isn't what we agreed on. Do you know how much I've already paid? Herna's tone turned cold. That pittance wouldn't even cover a meal. You think finding a long-lost brother is easy? Especially one whose fate is unknown? Tears welled up in Ryu's eyes. How can you do this? That was my last hope. So that's what this is about, Zed interrupted them. Wait, how about this? You said you needed me for something, right? Let's tie that together with your commission. So if I agree to this client's request, you'll accept my commission too? Herna's eyes lit up. Of course. My request is quite simple. A smile curved Herna's lips. Fight Ikas again. It's that simple. Ryu quickly grabbed Zed. Wait, Zed, this is obviously a trap. But Zed answered without hesitation. All right, I accept the rematch. Zed turned to Herna. If I win, you continue the investigation as Ryu requested. Herna licked her lips. Of course. I always keep my promises. Night fell. The two walked through a dimly lit alley. Ryu carried a heavy money box, looking dejected. Zed asked, why do you look so down? Didn't you make a lot of money? Ryu didn't answer. He stopped walking. I'm really sorry. I never meant to deceive you from the start, Zed said calmly. I know, Ryu continued. I asked her for help in private. I know it was stupid, but I had no other choice. Zed said, I understand. I also knew you were skimming extra money. Ryu looked up. You knew? Zed said, yes, though I only realized today that you went to Herna. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I didn't mind. Your help was very valuable to me. Ryu's eyes widened. Zed turned back and continued, but I can't let this go on forever. From now on, don't hide things from me. Tell me everything. The most disgusting thing in the world is betraying someone's trust, no matter where you come from. Don't let yourself become trash. Ryu lowered his head in guilt. All right, I swear I won't do it again. Zed stopped. Ryu called out, don't go through with the rematch. Let's just take the money and run as planned. Zed asked, what about your brother then? You know what that woman is like? She'll betray us again. Ryu wasn't stupid. He wouldn't be easily deceived by someone like Herna, but he still sought her out, which showed just how desperate he was. In his desperation, he grasped at a rotting rope, even knowing it could break at any moment. And Herna was exactly the kind of adult who would betray a desperate child. Zed said, I was planning to leave, but now I've changed my mind. Ryu asked, what? You're really going to rematch? I believe in you, but Herna was definitely plotting something sinister. Zed said, that's exactly why I want to participate even more. Ryu asked, why? Because when I see trash, I want to clean it up. And isn't it exciting to defeat an opponent who's going all out? Meanwhile, at Keran prison, a guard came to report. Warden, all personnel have assembled. Clark ordered, we depart immediately. The vanguard will lead. Clark clenched his fist. Those filthy rats have been hiding right under our noses. This time, fury blazed in his eyes. Jed Alarhan. 3 days later, the crowd cheered in the arena as ICAs and Zed stood facing each other. I wonder why that guy is so confident. After everything that happened, he's completely unfazed. Something's fishy, Ryu called out to Zed from the stairs, his voice full of concern. Zed, if there's danger, promise me you'll stop immediately. Zed didn't look back. The announcer's voice echoed throughout. The revenge match between ICs and the beggar. Two fighters face off in the arena. The match began. A commotion rose from the crowd. The spectators were stunned. Wait, Ike's that stance. Ryu stared at the arena in shock. Everyone finally realized he's copying Zed's moves. Ike's took his stance, perfectly replicating Zed's opening form. He continued thinking, an Alarhan without magic power? That doesn't sound right. I heard rumors that guy was abandoned in prison, so maybe... Ike suddenly charged at Zed, throwing a punch. I need to see for myself. Zed focused. Keep punches tight, power from the chest. Ike showed a cold smile. And the kicks too? He kicked at Zed repeatedly, saying mockingly, surprised? You thought only you knew these moves? After I practiced them, I discovered how useful they are. Zed was hit. I admit, this is a bit unexpected. Zed's gaze fell on Ike's belt. The belt buckle was glinting faintly. Zed threw a punch, landing squarely on Ike's face. Ike didn't budge. Zed was pushed back half a step instead. He flexed his smoking fist. Ike touched his chin, smiling contemptuously. What was that? Are you serious? He burst out laughing. That didn't hurt at all. You really are a worthless, magicless waste. Zed's expression remained blank. Just as I thought, amazement erupted from the crowd. Ike suddenly got stronger. Worthy of being our champion. The crowd roared, Ike! Zed's gaze sharpened. That confirms it. The belt he's wearing is an ogre's belt. It negates 90% of physical damage. Ridiculous. My magic power is 0, making him my worst possible opponent. No wonder he's so smug. Ryu watched the arena nervously. What's going on? Zed's attacks are completely ineffective. He gripped the railing and shouted, Zed, I bet that woman rigged something. This match is too dangerous. Zed turned his head slightly, a hint of a smile at his lips. Ryu, it's fine. Just sit back and watch the show. Ryu froze. Ike shouted in the arena. What's wrong? Giving up? Zed replied, impossible. I'm just a bit surprised. Ike looked confused. Zed continued, but actually this is exactly the moment I've been waiting for. He changed his stance, his hands beginning to glow faintly. Zed planted his feet firmly and shouted at Ike, You think I'd back down? Ike glared at him. You were waiting for this opportunity? Zed launched a fierce assault. Glowing fists and feet rained down like a storm, hitting Ike. Ike staggered backward, his face covered in bruises. Ike thought, I'm being overwhelmed. He let out a muffled groan. Jin-ho Kim, Earth's strongest fighter, felt truly excited for the first time in this moment. In past rings, opponents had fallen at his feet. No one had ever lasted a minute, so he'd never had a chance to display his full strength. But look at this guy. He'd taken so many hits and was still standing. For Zed, or Jin-ho Kim, this was a first. He reset his stance, his eyes full of fighting spirit. Ike raised his arms to block. A high kick? That's not just a kick. Zed became a blur. Countless fists and feet instantly overwhelmed Ike. He couldn't even react. Ike stood frozen in place, covered in wounds. Cracks appeared on the ogre's belt. Damn it. I can't even predict his attacks, let alone block them. How is this guy a mage? Zed's eyes glowed red. He smiled contemptuously. Don't think about going down so quickly. It doesn't hurt at all, right? Ike's voice trembled. Please stop. I surrender. Zed's kick whooshed through the air, stopping abruptly right at Ike's nose. Ryu and the spectators were stunned. Zed kicked out. It struck the ogre's belt directly. The belt shattered. Ike screamed in agony. He collapsed to his knees, trembling all over. Zed looked down at him. What's wrong? Not getting up. Ike looked up in terror. You maniac! Ike shouted frantically. The belt's gone! Referee, call the match! Zed threw a punch, landing square on Ike's face. He said coldly, no, that's not enough. Zed looked down at the fallen Ike. Ending it like this would be a waste. Ike's pupils contracted with fear. Zed's eyes emitted a red glow. A blue light flashed in his pupils. His gaze became sharp. Ike struggled to speak. His eyelids trembled. His body went limp, and he collapsed unconscious on the ground. Zed looked at him. Did he pass out? A mass of blue light gathered in Zed's chest. Energy flowed throughout his body. What is this feeling? Strange and unfamiliar, like something's writhing inside me. A notification sound rang in his mind. Zed's eyes snapped open. A blue interface appeared before his eyes. Magic attribute increased. Magic power changed from 0 to 1. My whole body is filled with endorphins. Zed basked in the blue magic aura. This feels so much better than I imagined. Yes, exactly like this. A mage without magic power was a joke from the start. Zed's smile faded. He noticed the unusual silence around him and turned toward the crowd. The arena was deathly quiet. Ryu rushed toward Zed, shouting in panic. Zed, why did you take off your contact lenses? Zed touched his eyes in confusion. I didn't take them off. Wait, so my true appearance is showing now? Ryu pointed at his eyes. Of course, Zed thought. I didn't feel them fall out. Were they dissolved by magic power? Ryu stared at his eyes. And they seem even redder, and they're glowing. Someone in the crowd pointed, trembling at Zed's red eyes. A scream pierced the silence. Alarhan! A man shouted. Those are the eyes of Alarhan. No mistake, run. Making eye contact will kill you. The crowd instantly erupted in chaos, scattering in panic. Ryu looked at the chaotic scene. Damn it, this is bad. Guards will be here any moment. Zed pulled Ryu along as they fled. Run, Ryu! Ryu shouted in frustration. Damn it, I told you we should have left. Zed shouted back. Listen, I'll come find you later. Make sure to find Ryu's brother. In an empty room, Herna sat alone, her fingers trembling slightly. Maybe I should have listened to the warden from the start. She bit her lip. Damn those bastards. Herna shot to her feet, her face twisted with rage. She roared, I'm going to tear you apart, Jed Alarhan. Herna paced back and forth, calculating her losses. Ike was an A-rank fighter I paid a fortune for. 600 gold coins for the contract. Now he's completely ruined. The ogre's belt cost 200 gold coins. I still owe the warden 1,200 gold coins. Total loss, 2,000 gold coins. She let out a scream. She grabbed her own hair. Damn it, I should have listened to the warden. My precious 2,000 gold coins. Her face contorted with fury. That brat, I'm going to tear him to shreds right now. Zed thought, I need to hurry and get my contact lenses and money. But as soon as he went outside, the town was already full of guards. This is bad. We need to hide for a while. The two hid in barrels. Ryu poked his head out. Should be safe now, right? Ryu climbed out of the barrel. Stay here. I'll go find a carriage. A young man stopped them. He said, Herna sent us. She has information for you. We'll take you to see her. Besides, you won't find a carriage right now. Inside the carriage, Ryu whispered, Zed, this is too suspicious. Zed remained calm. Without a doubt, it's a trap. They probably have an entire squad waiting in ambush. Ryu panicked. Then why did we get in the carriage? Zed answered, we'll have to face them eventually. Running is useless now. Ryu looked despairing. Are we really going to die this time? The carriage stopped on a forest path. Guards emerged from the trees, surrounding them completely. Clark stood holding his sword, smiling contemptuously. Did you dodge? Ryu looked at Zed nervously. Zed, what do we do now? Herna stood beside Clark. She said stealing keys and escaping. That's exactly the kind of rat trick mages pull, Herna sneered. What a shame. If you had sided with me back then, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Zed looked at Herna. Even if time turned back, I would never make that choice. And I don't plan to surrender either. Clark raised his sword, pointing at Zed. He declared sternly, Jed Alarhan is to be executed on the spot. No one is to interfere. Zed said to Ryu, stand back. Ryu let out a whimper. Clark looked at Zed. You still want to fight in this situation? You've got guts for a mage? Zed answered. I still have a 50-50 chance. Against the strong, it keeps me from fear. Against the weak, it keeps me from underestimating them. No matter how strong a fifth circle knight is, if the odds are 50-50, there's no reason to be afraid. Clark spat in disdain. Still got a sharp tongue even with death at your door. Fine, I'll go all out from the very start. Purple magic power erupted around the warden. He charged at Zed. He swung his sword, stirring up an energy vortex. He roared, Die, Jed Alarhan! Energy surged at Zed. Zed's gaze was resolute. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. I don't ask for much. I just want to feel that rush again. In this moment, Zed recalled the rings of his past life. He became a challenger once more. A notification sounded. Trait activated, persistent challenger, all attributes temporarily increased by 10. Data streamed across his eyes. The warden's energy attack exploded violently before Zed. Purple light consumed everything. Ryu screamed in the energy aftermath. Zed! The smoke cleared. Zed stood in place completely unharmed. Clark froze. He looked around in disbelief. Zed was gone. Only a deep crack remained on the ground. A guard pointed at the sky. Captain Clark, look up! Golden lightning exploded in the air. Clark and the guards looked up in terror. That light, impossible. It's lightning energy. Zed hovered in the air, his entire body wrapped in golden lightning. An interface appeared before his eyes. Transform, child of thunder! Clark roared in disbelief. How does he have that? Zed looked down at Clark, his gaze cold. Clark felt a chill. Zed became a golden lightning bolt, appearing instantly before Clark. A punch struck his jaw. Clark let out a muffled grunt. Zed's attacks came like a violent storm. Clark had no power to fight back. He staggered backward. How is this possible? This can't be real. That's genuine lightning energy. Unlike the four basic elements of water, wind, earth, and fire, lightning energy ignores all elemental weaknesses. It's the energy mages desire most. Even the founder of the Alarhan family never obtained it, yet now this nobody possesses it. The guard stared at Zed in terror. Herna's expression was filled with shock. Ryu hid behind the bushes in amazement. Wow, Zed! Clark's feet trembled. This is the power of his bloodline, a power that was never granted to me. Clark gripped his sword tightly. He said through clenched teeth, I hate people like you. Those who only rely on their birth. He poured magic into his sword. A cross-shaped slash flew toward Zed. Zed calmly watched the slash approach. Clark swung his second strike. You can't dodge this time. A golden shield formed before Zed, blocking the attack. Clark's face showed shock. A shield? Zed threw a punch. Golden lightning instantly struck Clark. The golden lightning exploded instantly. Clark screamed in agony within the electrical current. Zed watched him expressionlessly. Energy exploded thunderously. Purple sword energy and golden lightning clashed violently, the impact shattering the ground. Clark wielded his sword wrapped in purple energy. Zed charged forward, his body surrounded by golden lightning. Clark struck down fiercely. The sword edge tore through the air. Zed neither dodged nor evaded. He threw a punch. Golden light and purple glow intersected. Zed's fist caught the blade forcibly. Clark looked utterly shocked. Just who is Zed? He's clearly a mage. Why is he fighting in close combat with his fists? Mages typically cast spells to restrain knights. Knights break through magic for close quarters combat. This is the world's law, an ironclad rule never broken. Yet this blonde youth before me, lightning burst from his entire body. Clark was sent flying by tremendous force. He steadied himself, his mind filled with confusion. Why is he doing this? The two energies clashed again. Clark stared intently at his opponent. I can't treat him like an ordinary mage. His expression became grave. In order to swing my sword, I'm forced to retreat instead. The blade was deflected. Zed became a golden afterimage, closing in instantly. Clark's pupils contracted. Zed grabbed Clark's sword-wielding wrist. A heavy punch struck Clark's abdomen viciously. Clark thought, I can't find any opening in Zed's defense. Clark clenched his teeth. Zed's fists became afterimages. Golden lightning poured down madly. Massive golden lightning burst forth. The shockwave swept across the battlefield. It sent all the soldiers flying. In the chaos, Clark's sword pierced through one of his subordinates. He looked down, his gaze blank. The surviving soldiers retreated in terror. Warden, sir! Don't come closer! Clark raised his head to look at Zed. Defeat written all over his face. Worthy of the Alarhan family. I've lost. Kill me. Zed looked down at him. Wanna know why you lost? Clark avoided his gaze. I don't care. Just do it, Zed said calmly. There's only one reason. I trained harder than you. I put in more effort than you. Clark smiled contemptuously. Effort? Training? Clark roared. Don't be ridiculous. You won because you're from Alarhan. You were born different. He gripped his sword, his body trembling. Do you know what it's like for those of us without talent? It's people like you who ruined my life. Zed listened silently, then spoke slowly. Right now, I'm weaker than you. But if you fought better, of course I would still win. Zed's gaze was cold. Your inferiority complex has blinded you. That's the reason you haven't progressed. Zed continued. Don't make any excuses for your failure. The reason lies only with yourself. Clark turned his face away. How ironic. I'm being reminded of a knight's code by a young mage. He raised his head. All right, do it. Zed thought. This is troublesome. If I kill someone here, the Empire will put a bounty on me. But I can't let him go either. A blue screen appeared. Trait deactivated. Persistent Challenger S skill has been disabled. The golden lightning surrounding Zed dissipated. Looks like that's as far as it goes. Herna's voice cut through the rainy night. What are you doing? Herna, surrounded by a group of soldiers, drew her sword and pointed forward. Hurry up and kill that Alarhan. That's your duty. Zed looked at the newly arrived crowd. This number isn't ideal. He frowned. A sudden gust of wind surrounded him. A violent storm swept in. What is this? Wind? Zed looked around warily. This is someone's magic. There's a mage nearby. This is bad. Where's the enemy? Damn it, I need to escape quickly. He struggled against the fierce wind. The storm stopped abruptly. Zed looked around in confusion. What's going on? Did the storm stop? Zed's pupils shrank sharply. Clark stood frozen in place. Before him was a massacre scene with corpses everywhere. He stared at it all. What is this? Herna and her soldiers lay in pools of blood. Zed thought, everyone's dead without even a scream. Did someone help me? Clark couldn't believe it. He shook his head. If this gets out, I'll bear all the blame. Zed looked around, calling out, Ryu! From the jungle, Ryu poked his head out. He saw Zed. He breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. Ryu walked over to Zed's side, looking at the bodies covering the ground. He turned to Zed. What was that? Did you do this, Zed? Zed shook his head. I think there's a high-rank mage nearby. In any case, we need to leave here quickly. Ryu suddenly stopped. Wait, he noticed something on the ground. Zed, look at this. There's a card. He picked up the pristine white card. It's too clean, like it was just dropped. Something feels off. In the depths of the dark forest, a hooded figure watched them leave. Deep in the night, the moonlight was bright. Zed sat alone by the campfire. He held a white paper in his hand. He channeled a wisp of magic into it. When I injected a bit of magic, the card emitted a soft glow. As expected, a symbol appeared on the card. The black flame of the Alarhan family. This is a magic card used by secret organizations to transmit messages. Alarhan's Black Mirror Unit. They offer absolute loyalty to the Patriarch. Their existence and missions are kept completely secret. They're the Empire's largest and most elite secret organization. Zed turned the card over. The back showed the number 4. Number 4? I remember 1 means agree, 2 means refuse, 3 means transaction, and 4 means observe or protect. Is Alarhan protecting me? They cast me out for having no magic power, yet now they're monitoring me. That's right, my magic power value. A blue interface unfolded before his eyes. Due to delayed development, penalty is in effect. Strength, agility, endurance, and perception are all 100, with a penalty of -30. Magic power is 3. After defeating the warden, the penalty decreased and magic power increased by 2 points, like an experience point system in a game. He examined his skills. Lightning form, a spell that greatly enhances physical abilities and generates a shield. As expected, it's currently disabled. My stats are probably too low. Maybe it requires at least 5 magic power to activate, or 10. Please, let it be just 5. Ryu turned around. Zed said, You're still up? Ryu looked at the campfire. I can't sleep. Zed, what do we do next? Zed answered, What else can we do? We keep moving forward to Freelad. That's where you last saw your brother, right? Ryu's expression became worried. But you said before that the coachman's body was gone. That means word has spread. The Empire might have already issued a bounty, and without a carriage, we can't get to Freelad. Zed showed a slight smile. Walking is too far, so here's what I'm thinking. We change our route slightly and go to Maya Village, southern front outpost. A solid stone wall stood in the night. A blue magic circle unfolded above the village, light cascading downward. A blue pillar of light descended from the magic circle, enveloping the entire village. Within the light, several armored knights appeared on war horses. The white-haired knight at the front had a resolute gaze. "Then I shall begin the search immediately," he declared solemnly. "I, Torres Bahal, will hunt down that Alarhan who has stained our family's honor and deliver righteous judgment." Torres Bahal knelt down, his armor clanking. He raised his head. "You summoned me, Lord Patriarch?" An elder sat on the throne, the patriarch of the Bahal family. The patriarch spoke. "Yes? I have a task for you." The patriarch handed the document to Torres. "A criminal who was imprisoned in the Keran detention center several years ago escaped a few days ago. After killing the warden and several citizens of Moda, he's now on the run." The patriarch's gaze was firm. "I entrust everything to you," he continued. "As the heir of Bahal, you must judge for yourself and uphold the family's honor." Torres Bahal received the document. "Yes, I will stake my life on fulfilling your command," Zed panted heavily. Ryu shouted behind him. "Zed, no matter how you look at it, this is insane," Zed said. "You've been saying the same thing for 5 days now. How much longer do we have to walk like this?" Zed felt irritated inside. "We must be the only fools who dare walk into the front lines on our own." Mist shrouded the forest. Bones littered the ground everywhere. Ryu explained. "The Empire established defense lines on the perimeter to block magical beasts." He pointed at the map. "Each family is assigned a region. The south belongs to the Bahal family." Ryu's finger landed on Tamaya. "We're heading there, a village close to the front lines. Magical beasts sometimes break through. The real reason we're going to that outpost village is because there's a portal there. A blue vortex spun in the air, radiating magical light." Zed thought, "It's extremely expensive. Even nobles are reluctant to use it. But we have money." Ryu looked at the surrounding bones. "Only after being attacked by magical beasts will you realize how stupid this is." Zed smiled. "You know this is still our best option." Ryu sighed. Night fell. The campfire crackled. Smoke rose toward the moon. Ryu handed Zed a piece of dried meat. Zed took it. "Thanks." Ryu gazed at the fire. "Eat more while you still can. You never know when you'll die," Zed replied. "You too." Suddenly Zed's eyes widened. "This tremor." I shot to my feet. "Ryu, something's coming!" Ryu jumped in fright, right after we just talked about it. Ryu stood up as well. "Don't tell me it's actually a beast." Zed's expression was grave. "Honestly, I wish it were. This isn't one or two, there are at least dozens of tremors. The Bahal family couldn't possibly let this many magical beasts through the southern defense line. This means..." The sound of hooves grew closer. 3 knights emerged from the darkness. A white horse's eyes emitted blue light. Ryu's heart tightened. "It's the Bahal Knight Order. Over 50 knights." Ryu hid behind the bushes, praying. "Please just leave. Just pass by like this." The lead knight raised his hand. A voice called out, "We found traces of a camp." Zed and Ryu hid in the shadows. Zed clenched his teeth. "Damn it. You need at least 5th circle to join the Knight Order. That means there are at least 50 Clark-level knights. Hiding is only a matter of time. If we run..." Ryu grabbed Zed's arm. "Zed, at least you need to escape. You absolutely can." Zed looked at him. "What?" Ryu continued. "Even if they let me go, they'll definitely kill you because you're an Alarhan." Ryu trembled all over. "Don't worry about me. They won't actually kill me, right?" Zed looked at the trembling Ryu. "Says someone shaking like a leaf." Ryu let out a whimper. Zed's gaze became resolute. "Don't worry. Abandoning a companion has never been an option for me." The knights surrounded their campsite completely. Torres looked down at them and shouted, "Why is it taking so long to find 2 people?" Zed recalled a document. They said observe or protect, right? He looked directly at the knights. "I am Jed Alarhan." Zed's mind was made up. "Let's give it a try. If I just sit here waiting for death, I'll die anyway. Might as well do something." Zed looked at the knights. "I want to talk to whoever in charge." Before he finished speaking, he'd already become a blur, passing by the knights. The knight was shocked. "This guy, he's faster than I imagined." He shouted, "Wait, let's talk." Red light flashed in Zed's eyes. A magic circle lit up beneath his feet. A blade of light condensed in his hand, and he swung it forward fiercely. The knight raised his sword to block. Sparks flew. The knight thought, why did he stop? The knight's light blade was blocked by an invisible wall. The knight realized it was a barrier. A dark figure emerged from the shadows. A deep voice rang out. "Stand back." An invisible force pushed the knight away. 3 knights clad in winged armor appeared. The lead knight shouted, "Who are you?" Zed looked at the newcomers. "I guessed someone was observing from the shadows, but I didn't expect them to be this close. Even with my perception attribute at 100, I didn't detect them at all. This is Alarhan's Black Mirror unit." The lead figure in black robes commanded, "Stand back." The Black Mirror unit leader looked at the Bahal Knight Order. "If you stand back, nothing will happen." Torres stepped out from among the knights. His sword emitted blue light. "Who dares block Bahal's path?" A knight behind him called out, "Heir!" The Black Mirror unit leader looked at him. "You must be Bahal's first heir, Torres Bahal." Zed's heart jolted. Torres Bahal. This aura is so familiar, as if it's a part of me. The character I played the longest, the one who stayed with me to the end. Zed looked at Torres's figure. "I know now isn't the time, but it feels so good to see him in person." Torres looked at Zed. "So you're Jed Alarhan." The Black Mirror unit leader stood between them. "Please leave. If you turn back now, nothing will happen." Zed looked at the leader's back. "They're obviously protecting me. Why would the Black Mirror unit go this far?" Torres raised his light sword. "So you're the infamous secret unit of Alarhan from the rumors. Knowing who I am and still daring to do this, The Alarhan family has truly overstepped, Torres roared. Then I'll use your heads as the price for defying Bahal, the Black Mirror unit leader said calmly. I'm afraid that won't work, Torres froze. A massive red magic circle lit up beneath the Black Mirror unit's feet. Torres was shocked. That's a magic circle! When did they— Zed thought that magic you can step on it or avoid it, but he set the trap by predicting movements before anything happened. This isn't 5th or 6th circle level. That guy is a 7th circle mage, the Black Mirror unit leader said. The moment you move, it will explode. Torres clenched his teeth. Does Alarhan really want to go to war with Bahal? The Black Mirror unit leader said. As I said, please leave. Even the patriarch of Bahal would want this. Torres was furious. You dare insult Bahal? Blue light erupted from Torres' entire body. Zed was shocked. If this is early in the game, Torres should only be 6th circle. The outcome of this battle is obvious. If an all-out war breaks out here, Torres and his knights will all be eliminated. Torres chanted Roar of the Lion, and the energy around him transformed into a blue lion, the first secret technique of Bahal. Roar of the Lion required at least a 7-ring mage to use it. Torres, stop, you'll really die. Zed turned to the Black Mirror squad leader and shouted, Black Mirror squad, dispel the magic circle. Didn't you hear me? I said dispel it. The Black Mirror squad leader answered that it was impossible. They only followed the previous head's orders. His mission was to protect the young master, and he hadn't received any orders to follow his instructions. Zed questioned him. Then protect me. Why kill Bahal's heir? That's going too far. With your level, you can complete the mission without killing him. He looked at both sides at a standstill and shouted again, dispel the magic circle now. And Torres, you stop too. Torres roared in anger. Shut up, Alarhan. You killed Warden Clark and innocent southern citizens. You'll pay the price you deserve. Zed tried to explain that it was a misunderstanding. Please, let's talk. He saw the firm killing intent in the other's eyes. Zed charged forward. Fine, then I'll beat you to your knees first before we talk. The blue lion roared, and Zed charged straight toward it. Torres shouted, fine, we'll talk, but after I beat you down. The blue lion lunged at Zed. Zed stood his ground. He thought to himself, no explosion? Did the Black Mirror squad listen to me? The lion crashed into an invisible wall. It was the Black Mirror squad's barrier. Ryu shouted, Zed! The energy blast dissipated. Zed thought, damn it, if not for the Black Mirror squad, I'd be dead right now. Cracks appeared in the purple barrier. Then it shattered. Zed watched the scene. He actually broke through a 7-ring mage's 6-layer wind barrier. The technique had such power even before completion. Torres coughed up blood. He collapsed to his knees. It was the backlash from forcibly using an incomplete secret technique. It would be my honor to witness the true roar of the lion with my own eyes. Zed walked up to him. Feeling better now? Zed looked at the kneeling Torres. Why did you use a secret technique when you weren't ready? Torres lifted his head. How do you know about our family's secret technique? He fell to the ground unconscious. The knights rushed over. Lord Torres! One knight knelt beside Torres. It's mana reflux. If we don't treat him immediately, he'll be in danger. Another knight shook Torres. Lord Torres, please wake up, Lord Torres. The knight said desperately, it's no use. If the caster's ring level is higher than yours, you can't treat mana reflux. Here, the only one with a higher ring level than Lord Torres is the Black Mirror squad leader. Zed looked at the Black Mirror squad leader. You treat him. The Black Mirror squad leader froze. Zed said, Torres is my friend of many years. The Black Mirror squad leader retorted, that's absurd. Knights are enemies, never friends. Zed questioned, then let me ask a practical mage, if Torres dies here, Alarhan will go to full-scale war with Bahal. What benefit does that bring us? Don't you realize his death could actually help Alarhan? The Black Mirror squad leader said coldly. Besides, he brought this upon himself. Treating him isn't my mission. Zed thought, damn it, we're running out of time. He looked at the Black Mirror squad leader. You caused all this, so now it's related to your mission. Zed drew a knight's sword. If you don't heal Torres right now, your mission to protect me ends here. He pressed the blade against his own neck. I always keep my promises. You've been monitoring me. You should know I'm not bluffing. The Black Mirror squad leader thought, if the head finds out about this, he'll be furious. Zed's eyes were resolute. That's my problem. Heal him now. The Black Mirror squad leader walked toward Torres. A knight stepped forward to stop him. Stop! How dare a mere mage lay hands on the heir? Zed looked coldly at the knight. Stand down. He's the only one who can save Torres right now. Or would you rather let the heir die? The knights hesitated, speechless. The Black Mirror squad leader placed his hand on Torres. Green healing magic surged, and Torres opened his eyes in pain. A knight breathed a sigh of relief. Lord Torres, thank goodness. His mana circuit has stabilized. Ryu looked at Zed. That guy disappeared right away. He continued asking, what's wrong? Zed answered, nothing. Just thinking about things. A glowing object remained on the ground before them. Outside Tamaya village, night enveloped the camp, and Ryu walked toward Zed. Zed held a card in his hand with the number 9 written on it. Magic card number 9, abandon or survive. Ryu looked up at him. Zed, were those people really the Black Mirror squad? And did they give you that previous card too? Zed looked at the card. Yes. Now they want me to act on my own. Zed looked thoughtful. Looks like I've lost my safety net. Zed asked curiously. Wait, how do you know about the Black Mirror squad? Ryu countered. Who doesn't? Even children know that name. I just don't know what they specifically do, Zed realized. I see. Ryu looked at the knights patrolling in the distance. Anyway, we should keep a low profile. Look how alert they are. If anything happens, we're dead. Zed looked nervously. If I were a knight and you were a mage, we'd already be dead. Ryu asked. What do you mean? Zed explained. Knights value honor above all else. Regardless of whether the other party is a wanted criminal, killing one's lifesaver is something they consider shameful and would never do. Zed thought knights lived for honor, while mages would even turn on friends if there was profit. Honestly, he felt both sides were too extreme. But this also meant he had mastered the trick of dealing with both. Give knights honor, offer mages profit. A knight approached. He said, "The heir is looking for you. Come with me." A steaming cup of tea. Torres lifted the teacup. "This is Manar tea grown on our estate. The aroma is excellent." Zed smelled it. "The aroma is really wonderful." He turned to Torres. "How's your body?" Torres answered, "Much better, thank you." Ryu looked down at the tea. Ryu took a sip of tea. Zed looked at Torres. "I hate formal occasions. Can we just chat casually?" Torres was flattered. Zed continued, "You're 17, right? Let's relax." Torres cleared his throat. "What about you?" Zed answered, "I'm about 15. Torres said, "So I'm 2 years older than you." Zed said, "Want me to call you Big Brother?" Torres laughed. "No way, and I couldn't call a mage Big Brother either." Zed laughed too. "Good. I wasn't planning to anyway." Ryu drank his tea, thinking, an Araan and a Bahal are having a friendly chat. Torres became serious. "Before we get to the main topic, let me thank you first. Thank you for saving my life." Zed thought, I can't believe I'm thanking a mage. Bahal heirs usually have their noses in the air. I already knew Torres had this kind of personality. I like it. Torres said, "All right, enough small talk. Let's get to the point. You said the murders, including Warden Clark's, were a misunderstanding."
"What do you mean by that?"
Zed said, "Just like I said, I'll explain everything." He explained everything in detail, from the prison to how he got here. Of course, he omitted the parts about unlocking the mana ring and gaining lightning energy. Zed summarized, "That's how it is. As you know, Arahans never back down. They came after me first, so I fought back." Torres listened. "If what you're saying is true, it could be considered self-defense, but that depends on whether you're telling the truth." Zed responded, "If I hadn't planned to clarify the truth, I would have let you die there. From my perspective, that was the most convincing action I could take." Torres pondered. "That makes sense. I believe you. It seems I misunderstood after all." He took out a bag. "Take this. It's Manar tea powder as an apology gift for my misunderstanding." Zed looked at the bag. "If you're going to apologize, I hope you'll do something else." Torres looked at Zed. "You have a request? If it's within my ability, I'll agree." Zed answered, "I want you to help find Ryu's missing sibling." Ryu looked at him in surprise. Torres was puzzled. "There's no benefit for you in this. That's not like a mage." Zed's eyes were firm. "That doesn't matter. I promised I'd help, so I will." The next morning, the camp awoke in the morning light. Ryu looked at Zed's back. He thought, I never expected anyone would use a favor from Bahal to ask about a street punk's missing sibling. He's really a strange person. Torres walked into the tent. Zed was exercising. Ryu said, "Zed, aren't you hungry? Do they have beef from Verdi here? I'll try to get some." Zed answered, "Let me finish this set first, then we'll go together." Torres watched Zed, thinking, what are you doing now? A mage is sweating. Mages are a race that mocks sweating as barbaric behavior. They said Zed had no magic. For a mage, having no magic was like a knight without a sword. Yet he didn't give up and kept working hard. Torres watched. What a glorious sight. If I were in his position, could I be as honorable as Zed? Torres made up his mind. He clenched his fists, wanting to befriend this mage who was more like a knight than any knight. No matter what, he would become his friend. Torres pointed at a large piece of meat. Ryu's eyes widened. "Is that the legendary beef from Verdi? You actually brought out something so rare." Torres smiled slightly. "After all, I'm dining with someone from Alarhan. This is the least I can do." Zed examined the meat. High protein content, very suitable for building muscle, Ryu repeated curiously. Building muscle? Torres gestured to everyone. "All right, everyone sit down." People sat around the round table. Torres spoke. "With good food before us, we shouldn't waste time." Torres smiled at Zed. Zed thought, a round table with no head seat. "The more I look at this man named Torres, the more I like him." Ryu leaned close to Zed and whispered, "But is it really safe to eat? What if it's poisoned?" Zed picked up a piece of meat. "It's fine. Trust me, try it." Zed put the meat in his mouth. "Much better than what we ate in prison." Ryu took a bite and his eyes lit up. "Wow, you're right. It's so delicious. It literally melts in your mouth." Torres turned to his knights. "What do you two think?" Zed's face showed delight. "It's really delicious. Can you eat things like this every day?" Ryu also sighed. "I'm so envious." Zed's expression became serious. "But there's no such thing as a free lunch. You're treating us to something so expensive, you must have some ulterior motive." A knight suddenly stood up. "Lord Torres, I apologize. This makes me very uncomfortable. I'll take my leave." Another knight also stood up. "Me too. I can't sit here anymore." One knight glared at Zed. "I can tolerate someone from Alarhan staying at the outpost, but this is too much." The two knights bowed to Torres. They turned and left. Only 3 people remained at the round table. Torres turned to Zed. "I apologize for my rude team members." Zed shook his head. "Don't worry about it. If you want to punish them, forget it. That won't do you any good either." Torres was somewhat surprised. "They insulted you, yet you're speaking up for them." Zed picked up his cup. They've been taught since childhood that mages are enemies. This reaction is normal. What they need now is understanding, not scolding. Torres looked thoughtful. Understanding. Another lesson learned. Zed changed the subject. More importantly, haven't you always had something you want to say to us? Torres frankly admitted. Ah, you noticed. Torres explained the situation. We're planning to go to Freelad to search for Ryu's sibling. Torres made a request. But could we delay the departure by one day? Ryu looked at Torres in confusion. Why? Torres looked at Zed. I want my team members to know you're a decent person. I only need one day. Zed fell into thought. Zed turned to Ryu. Ryu, do you think it's okay? Ryu nodded. I'm fine with it. We're not personally searching anyway. Besides, even if we went to Freelad now, they'd only pretend to help. Zed spoke. Then it's settled. Let's do it. Outside the southern frontline walls of Tamaya, two beasts roared. One beast fell to the ground. A knight reported to Torres. It's a low-level beast, Lord Torres. Torres nodded. Well done, Torres said to everyone. We continue sweeping forward. The knights responded in unison. Yes, sir. Zed followed behind the group. What is Torres thinking? Bringing me to such a distant place. I just came to get along well. Torres gathered 20 knights and formed a search party on the front line. Beasts ran rampant on the southern and western front lines. The search mission here was exceptionally difficult. Zed watched the marching group. Could it be for throwing a party? The Bahal family had a tradition of holding parties after missions to celebrate survival. Zed looked at Torres's back. Maybe he wants me to join that victory celebration moment. A 17-year-old kid being so sentimental, a knight reported loudly. Lord Torres, we found unknown tracks. Torres crouched down. Never seen this kind. Torres stood up and asked, does anyone recognize what creature's tracks these are? The knights looked at each other. A knight said, it seems to be a new beast not recorded in the guide, Lord Torres. According to the manual, we should report to headquarters. Torres pondered. But leaving immediately feels... He turned to everyone. We're in Zone 1, right? If it's an undiscovered beast, its level shouldn't be high. A knight raised an objection. Even so, the unknown is still dangerous. Torres sighed. All right, you're right. We'll go back. If we really don't know what it is, unless someone knows. Zed spoke calmly. Need help? Torres turned around in surprise. You know what this is? Zed looked at the traces on the ground. These are basilisk tracks, a mid-tier beast. But you're a 6-ring with 25-ring knights. It shouldn't be a problem. Torres was incredulous. Are you serious? A knight questioned. Lord Torres, are you really going to believe a mage's word? He's from the west. How would he know about southern beasts we've never seen? Zed responded calmly. Is there evidence it only appears in the south? Maybe Arahan's guide is more complete than Bahal's. The knight was furious. You insolent half-wit. A guy without magic dares to talk back. How dare an Arahan mock a Bahal? Zed's red eyes flashed with cold light. You're the ones mocking. A mere knight dares to be disrespectful to an Arahan descendant. Torres intervened. Enough, he said sternly to his subordinates. Knights, don't speak without orders. Torres turned to Zed. Zed, I apologize for my team members' behavior. Torres sighed. I had good intentions, but things didn't go according to plan. A roar came from behind. A massive beast appeared before everyone. Torres drew his sword. Everyone, battle positions. He commanded loudly, spread out. The basilisk's tail swept across, smashing a huge crater in the ground. Torres blocked the attack with his sword and was forced back by the tremendous force. Torres turned to Zed. Zed, are you okay? Zed shouted a warning. Torres, watch behind you. Get down. Massive jaws snapped shut behind Torres. He barely dodged. Torres steadied himself. He gazed ahead. Two basilisks watched menacingly. Blue energy surrounded Torres. His sword and armor emitted a dazzling glow. Torres radiated blue light all over. He ordered, concentrate fire on the right one. The knights responded in unison. Yes, sir. They charged together at the basilisk. Torres shouted, attack! The knight's blade struck the basilisk. Torres leaped high and slashed down with his sword. The sword tip pierced the basilisk's eye, but the attack had no effect. The blue energy dissipated against the hard scales. Torres showed a shocked expression. It didn't work? Zed thought. The knights are well trained, but that beast hide 5-ring or 6-ring sword energy can't penetrate it. Red spikes rose on the other basilisk's back. Zed shouted, now it's their turn! Everyone, get down! Torres immediately reacted. Follow Zed's command! Get down! The knights immediately dropped to the ground. A knight looked at Zed in confusion. Why should we listen to a mage? Zed roared. I said, get down, you fool! The spikes on the basilisk's body shot out instantly. The spikes fired in all directions. They hit its companion. A knight's leg armor was pierced by a poisoned needle. Countless poison needles flew over their heads. Torres lifted his head. It shot poison needles in all directions, but not a single one landed on the ground. Zed lay on top of a knight. He spoke. If you'd been hit, you'd be seriously injured. I saved your life. The knight was still shaken. Zed stood up and turned to Torres. Torres, its next attack will aim low. It'll be almost impossible to dodge, so we must take it down before it attacks again. Zed proposed a plan. Torres, can you and your knights handle the left one? Torres was shocked. What? You're gonna face one alone? Do you really know? Zed's tone was urgent. There's no time. Just tell me if you can do it. Torres gritted his teeth. All right, we'll make it quick. Don't you die. Zed's lips curved slightly upward. Now who's worried about whom? He's really a cool guy. Zed responded. Then I'll leave it to you. Torres turned and shouted to his subordinates. Everyone, follow me. We'll handle the left one. I'll lead. The persistent challenger trait was activated. My favorite character is going all out. I can't just stand by. Zed clenched his fists. Golden lightning flickered on his hands. All attributes temporarily increased by 10 points. Lightning form activated. Golden lightning enveloped Zed's entire body. Zed spoke to the right basilisk. Where are you looking? Zed, his body crackling with lightning, charged at the beast. Your opponent is me. Zed's fist struck the basilisk's face. He smiled slightly. Encountering a basilisk on my first beast hunt. Looks like I'm lucky. He dodged the basilisk's bite. He launched into a lightning-quick combination. The basilisk was forced back. Zed gathered lightning in his fist. That thing has only one weakness. If it were human, the weakness would be the top of the head. He leaped up. Time to smash it. Zed's lightning fist slammed heavily on the basilisk's head. He landed smoothly, lightning crackling around him. The basilisk's head drooped to the ground, smoking black. Zed turned his gaze back. A red orb appeared above the basilisk's corpse. Zed silently prayed, "Please, please." It dropped. Breath of the demon. This was the core material for crafting elixirs. Watering it with holy water gave a chance to obtain an elixir. Zed held the orb. Usually elixirs randomly boost attributes, but I only have magic attributes. Excellent. Thank you for this magic attribute bonus. Zed walked toward the other basilisk. Alright, now to get the second one. Torres swung his sword at the other basilisk. The basilisk's tail struck a knight. The knights cried out, "Lord Torres!" Torres was forced back. I'm falling too far behind the knights. No time to waste. The basilisk opened its bloody maw and lunged at Torres. Torres looked up. A yellow lightning bolt struck the basilisk. Torres watched in shock. Zed stood before Torres, lightning crackling around him. Torres asked, "Are you okay?" Torres was greatly shocked. Zed was standing on the basilisk's head. Torres looked up at Zed. What is that energy? The knights were also stunned. The knights looked confused. How did he get here? Wait, that light is lightning power. Torres looked at Zed. Zed, is that energy really lightning power? Zed countered, yeah, what else would it be? Torres was incredulous. How is that possible? I heard you had no magic, Zed answered. I just recently unlocked it. Torres asked in shock, what? You unlocked your magic? The mana ring around the heart formed at birth. Sometimes the circuit connected later, but it always unlocked before age 6. Zed was already 15. This meant he was born without a mana ring. It was like being born with only 9 fingers and suddenly growing a 10th. This had never happened in the continent's 1,000-year history. Torres thought, perhaps Zed's willpower moved the heavens. Zed held up the red orb. Torres, I assume I can keep this? Torres nodded. Of course. You killed the beast. The spoils are all yours. Zed picked up the basilisk's hide. This is enough. Selling this hide should at least get some beef money. Zed smiled contentedly. Playing the game for 10 years, I've never gotten 2 drops at once. Today is crazy. This excitement alone fills me up. In the outpost, knights were discussing. Did you hear about that Alarhan kid who went on patrol? They say he defeated an unknown beast with his bare hands. They say he unlocked lightning power. So that power isn't a myth. A mage without magic suddenly has lightning power. Could it be a mistake? Everyone on the patrol saw it. Even Lord Torres acknowledged it. It can't be a mistake. That Alarhan person is different from other mages. In any case, he even gave up the beast hide. I also heard he exercises and rests. A mage giving up things and sweating, the more you learn about him, the more genuine he seems. I want to talk with him too. Should have volunteered today. A knight approached Zed. Lord Zed, thank you for saving me earlier. Zed was sitting with Ryu. Of course. You're not injured, are you? The knight lowered his head in shame. No, sir. I hesitated on the battlefield. As a knight, this is shameful. I'll seriously reflect on it. Ryu felt incredulous. What exactly happened outside? How did everyone's opinion change within a day? Zed smiled slightly. Looks like I made a good impression. I think they'll genuinely help you find your sibling tomorrow. Torres walked over. Zed, Ryu, can you come out for a moment? Outside, Torres said to Zed. You worked hard today. It seems everyone's opinion of you really changed. The patrol people all said they'll help search for Lod tomorrow. Zed nodded. Everyone's tired. Thank you, Torres continued. As knights, we owe him a life. It's only right. I need to return to the main house tomorrow. The head was shocked to hear about what happened today. Zed looked at Torres. Are you in trouble because you got close to someone from Alarhan? Torres smiled. I expected it. Torres turned to Ryu. After reporting to the head, I'll also go directly to Freelad. Ryu, I'll do everything I can to find your sibling. Zed patted Ryu's shoulder. This is good news, Ryu. Bahal's heir personally helping. That must feel reassuring. Ryu's cheeks flushed. He said quietly, thank you both. Zed answered, no need to be polite between friends. The next morning, the southern trade hub port city, Freelad. Ryu described to everyone, her name is Lisa, a girl, 13 years old this year. She has waist-length blonde hair. Ryu gestured the height. Maybe she grew taller. Zed pressed, that's all? Ryu added, she's pretty cute. Ryu was somewhat helpless. That's all I know. She should be somewhere in Freelad. Zed turned to the knights. Go check the slave records of the small families in the city. This kind of intelligence gathering shouldn't be difficult, right? The knights responded in unison. Yes, sir. Zed said to Ryu, we'll start with the merchant group where you worked. Ryu pointed ahead. Okay, it's not far ahead. Zed suddenly asked, got it. Are there clothing stores nearby? Ryu felt strange. Ryu pointed to a building. That's where I last worked, the Hamel merchant group. They falsely accused me of theft and kicked me out. Zed proposed, I understand. If they recognize you, it'll be troublesome. I'll go alone. Zed adjusted a splendid noble outfit. Ryu stared dumbfounded. Okay, sorry, but you really look like a noble in those clothes. Zed answered calmly, I am a noble. He walked toward the shop. A burly shop owner stood at the entrance. He saw Zed and immediately put on a big smile. Welcome. Thank you for coming. May I ask what special item you're looking for? Zed looked around the shop. This is the Hamel Merchant Group, right? The shop owner laughed. Young master, you must be mistaken. This is a slave shop. Zed was somewhat surprised. A slave shop? Didn't you just ask me what merchandise I was looking for? The shop owner's smile disappeared. He leaned close to Zed, his tone unfriendly. Hey kid, you're not a noble, are you? A brat like you trying to put on airs. Zed's face was expressionless. Dead wrong, Zed countered. What if I am a noble? The shop owner laughed contemptuously. Think you can fool a merchant? Kid, merchants survive on instinct. To nobles, slaves are just property, just property. The shop owner continued. Nobles never travel alone. You've been suspicious from the start. Such a small guy daring to be so bold, did DeVito send you? Zed's face was expressionless. Are you perceptive or stupid? He spoke and asked. DeVito, the shop owner said angrily. This little punk looks like you need to be taught a lesson. He raised his fist. The shop owner lay on the ground with a bruised and swollen face. Zed looked down at him. If you don't want to get hurt again, answer my questions clearly. Zed slapped him. I said answer clearly. The shop owner nodded hurriedly. Zed began interrogating. This building used to be the Hamel Merchant Group, right? Why are you here? The shop owner knelt on the ground and answered. The previous owner went bankrupt, so Zed continued asking. Then who is DeVito? Is he also a slave trader? The shop owner said hastily. Yes, he's the biggest slave trader in the entire South. Then he's our next stop. Zed asked again, one more thing. Where are all the people here? The shop owner answered hesitantly. Every person? You mean the displayed inventory? Zed's eyes turned cold. Inventory? He slapped him. Watch your words, bastard. The shop owner was frightened and stuttered. Zed slapped again. Say it again. The shop owner trembled. Inven. Zed swung his hand again. Say it again. Inventory. Zed's slap landed again. Zed withdrew his hand. Slaves are people too. You think you can treat them as things? The shop owner touched his swollen face. Zed said coldly, at least live with some dignity. That's not hard, is it? The shop owner shook his head in terror. No, sir, Zed commanded. Lead the way now. The shop owner immediately got up. I'll take you right away. The shop owner pulled open a curtain. This way, young master. Zed looked at the scene behind the iron bars. Many people were locked in the warehouse. Zed looked at the scene. Keeping people in a place like this. Seeing this makes me angry again. Zed asked the shop owner, are there more people locked up? The shop owner answered, no, these are all the people. No blonde slaves, no young slaves. Young slaves are expensive. Lisa may have already been sold. Next, we need to track down that slave trader called DeVito. But before that, Zed stared at the shop owner. I'm giving you one last chance. Act like a human being. The shop owner was confused. Zed commanded, give me the keys to the vault and the prison. Zed locked the shop owner in the prison. Stay here for a while. You need to experience it too. The rescued people said gratefully to Zed, you will be blessed, sir. I distributed all the slave traders' property to the rescued slaves. The knights guided them to suitable dwellings. For someone like me, this kind of kindness is unimaginable. Zed comforted an old man. No need to thank me. Rest well. While eating with them, I listened to their life stories. Talking with people who have experienced many things yields unexpected information. An old man introduced himself, saying his name was Gordon. I used to be an assistant to the Cherville family. After the family fell, I somehow ended up here. Zed was surprised. You served the Cherville family. I thought they were wiped out. It's so good that you survived. Gordon answered. Pure luck. The Cherville family. If Araan is famous among mages, then Cherville is highly respected among blacksmiths. In their heyday, people flocked in droves just to obtain a Cherville artifact, but later they were destroyed by the Empire for treason. Now their name is barely mentioned in history. Not only in history, but also in the game I know. With no heir to inherit their legendary craftsmanship, this was a huge loss for the Empire still fighting beasts. Gordon sighed. The glorious days are all past. Zed also echoed. Such a shame. If Cherville's craftsmanship had continued, how many miraculous items would exist today? It's also a huge loss for me. Gordon suddenly leaned close to Zed. Actually, there's something I only want to tell you. Sir, can you guarantee secrecy? Zed nodded. Of course. You can trust me. Gordon looked around. Can we move to a more private place? In the woods, Zed said. It's fine now. Gordon lowered his voice. Cherville's true heir, Lord Lacto, is still alive. Zed was shocked. What? Gordon hurriedly covered his mouth. Shh. Keep it down. Zed asked in a low voice, where is he now? Gordon explained. His chief assistant died in his place. They exchanged clothes and burned the body to ensure no one could recognize it. If everything went according to plan, he's now hiding in Myers. My god, this is nuclear-level intelligence. But his fugitive status also makes him nearly impossible to find. Zed said to Gordon, thank you for telling me. I hope to meet him someday. Gordon pleaded, I told you because you seem trustworthy. Sir, please don't let him come to harm. Zed answered solemnly, don't worry. I fully understand his situation. Let's head back now. Staying out too long would raise suspicion. Back at the table, Ryu sighed. He poked at his food. Not hungry? Ryu looked up. Zed comforted him. Don't be too upset. Today's slave trader was just a small fry. Tomorrow we'll find more leads at DeVito's. Ryu nodded. Gordon suddenly interrupted. Wait, sir, did you just say DeVito? Zed looked at Gordon. Yes, why? Gordon said excitedly. Absolutely not. His place is on a completely different level from where we were held. Don't you know who's backing him? Zed replied calmly. No matter how high his backer status is, I have the Knights of Bahal. Gordon retorted. Sir, DeVito's network spans the entire empire. There are even rumors that his biggest client is Araan. Zed's expression changed. Araan. Zed's pupils contracted. Araan? Impossible, Gordon answered. There's a clear reason. The enemy's loss is my gain. Taking away all the slaves would harm the noble families of the south, including Bahal. If it was Araan, that sounded quite reasonable. Then the Black Mirror Squad wouldn't protect DeVito anymore. This could trigger a silent war between Bahal and Araan. Ryu looked at Zed with concern. Zed, if what he's saying is true, he was worried I would put myself in danger. Zed said to Ryu, don't worry too much. This is for you, but also because it's the right thing to do. Ryu looked puzzled. The right thing? Zed's gaze was firm. Yes, I'm simply following my beliefs. No matter what, we must deal with DeVito. The next day, at DeVito's slave market, Zed climbed the steps. Zed walked straight ahead. A burly man blocked Zed's path. He shouted, Hey, what do you think you're doing, kid? Zed asked coldly. Where's DeVito? A bearded man stepped forward. Don't you even know where you are? Even nobles get their heads bashed in here. Zed snorted disdainfully. Doing business with Alarhan has really ruined you all. He brushed his gloved hand across his cheek. His eyes glowed red. The two men's faces changed drastically. Alarhan. They immediately dropped to their knees. We're sorry. We didn't recognize the young master of Alarhan. Zed thought, is this person DeVito? No, judging from his clothes, he's just a lackey. But to have that kind of reaction, he must be from the Black Mirror Squad. I hope it's not true. A hooded figure sat at a table. Someone upstairs clicked their tongue. He showed a sinister smile. What wind blew such an esteemed guest to such a filthy place? He continued, I heard you destroyed the slave market at the port yesterday. Zed thought, this guy isn't intimidated by the Alarhan name. DeVito toyed with the scroll in his hand. I thought you wouldn't dare show your face. Earlier than I expected, or perhaps just ignorant, Zed announced. As of today, Alarhan cuts all ties with you. I'm taking all the remaining slaves. Cooperate. DeVito suddenly burst into laughter. He stopped laughing. DeVito asked contemptuously, don't you know any manners? Staring down someone from Alarhan. And you're wondering how long you can live. By the way, when exactly do you plan to kill me? DeVito slapped the table. All right. Enough small talk. DeVito raised his wine glass. Since you're an honored guest, I won't kill you. Just consider this a life lesson. DeVito's subordinates surrounded them. They drew their weapons. Zed's eyes sharpened. No choice now. Fortunately, there's only one Black Mirror Squad here. I don't know how strong he is. If he's around the fifth ring, I should be able to handle it. If I strike first and take him out, a voice came from outside. Surround this building. Zed was startled. This voice, Torres's voice rang out again. Teams 1 and 2, storm the building. Kill them all! Torres and his knights charged in. Blue sword aura overflowed. The knights engaged DeVito's men. A sword beam flashed past Zed. The hooded Black Mirror Squad was also struck. Torres unfurled the scroll. This is an imperial decree. Torres roared, kill them all! DeVito retreated in horror. Why is Bahal's vice captain here? A sword beam flashed. DeVito collapsed to the ground in fear. He sensed something was wrong. He looked up in terror. What? The hooded Black Mirror Squad had already been beheaded. Torres stood beside the corpse. Slave trader DeVito? DeVito asked in confusion. Why? Torres announced his crimes. For illegally kidnapping and imprisoning the powerless, committing such filthy acts in the Southern Territory and staining Bahal's honor. As Bahal's vice captain, I will sever your limbs as a warning to others. Zed thought. DeVito's eyes, which should have been glaring in rage, are now all on me. He begged in terror. This can't be. Please spare me. A sword beam grazed past his cheek. DeVito froze. Torres coldly raised his sword. The blade flashed. DeVito's arm was severed. DeVito let out a heart-wrenching scream. Wait, please spare my life. Torres raised his sword again. Torres's sword came down. DeVito now lay on the ground. Torres ran his sword through the last thug and withdrew it. First floor cleared. Zed walked toward Torres. That timing was perfect. But wait, what did you mean by the imperial decree? Torres explained. Exactly what it sounds like. The emperor issued a decree to eliminate all slave traders. Truly a benevolent ruler. Zed was surprised. The emperor? Then the other slave traders have already been dealt with too? Torres answered. Knights were dispatched to other locations. This was the largest stronghold, so I came personally. He turned to Zed. Speaking of which, why did you come here? Don't tell me you plan to take down DeVito alone. Zed nodded. Yes, I needed to confirm some things, Torres said. You unlocking lightning aura is truly shocking, but you're not even at the first ring yet. Don't push yourself too hard, Zed said. Are you showing off that you're a sixth ring knight? Torres continued. In any case, thanks to the Emperor's decree, we now have the perfect excuse to act. He turned to the knights. Search the slave market. Report immediately if you find any slaves. The knights responded in unison. Yes, sir. Even so, I doubt Alarhan will let this go. Zed looked at the Black Mirror Squad's corpse. Unlike the others, this guy seemed to completely give up resistance. Was he unable to resist? Or did he choose not to? If the latter, that's extraordinary loyalty. A knight ran over to report. Commander Torres, we found slaves in the basement. Zed and Torres immediately turned around. Slaves in tattered clothes emerged from the basement. Ryu stood beside Zed and Torres watching the crowd. A knight reported, Commander Torres, approximately 600 people. Torres ordered, I understand. If there's a blonde girl among them, bring her to Ryu. The knight acknowledged. Yes, sir. Ryu whispered softly. Lisa. He searched through the crowd. A blonde girl's figure came into view. Ryu shouted, Lisa! Ryu grabbed the blonde woman's shoulder. The woman turned around. After seeing her face clearly, Ryu said, "Sorry, wrong person. We may have brought out nearly 500 people, and she's not here either. Little girls are expensive and in high demand. She might have already been sold." Zed placed his hand on Ryu's shoulder. "Ryu, don't give up," Ryu answered quietly. "Yeah." A knight came to report. "Unfortunately, Commander Torres, that was the last batch of slaves." Ryu's expression darkened. Torres said, "I understand." He looked toward Ryu and Zed. Knight fell. A knight came to report. "Commander Torres, according to the decree, will escort the rescued slaves to the imperial capital." Torres nodded. "Please proceed." Torres turned to Zed and Ryu. "You both did very well today. Tomorrow we'll continue striking against slave traders." "Don't lose hope," Zed replied. "Thank you for your concern." A girl suddenly rushed toward Torres's horse. The horse startled and stepped back. Torres shouted, "You shouldn't startle it like that!" He looked at Lisa. "Are you all right?" Lisa froze. Torres said, "A blonde girl." Lisa stood stunned. Zed asked Ryu, "Was there a girl like this before?" Ryu answered, "What?" The girl turned around. Ryu froze. The girl asked, "Is that Ryu?" Ryu trembled. Lisa?" Ryu rushed forward. Lisa recognized him too. The two embraced tightly. The siblings held each other and wept. Torres watched the scene. "I guess the hood covered her face. We almost missed her. Thank God for the white horse." Zed looked at Torres. "Wait, why are you crying?" Torres wiped his eyes. "I'm not crying," Zed said. "Then what's this, morning dew?" Zed looked at him speechlessly. "How can a heartless guy like you not cry?" He was crying his eyes out. Torres denied it. "No, I'm not." Torres raised his glass. "Today's on me, eat all you want." Everyone cheered. Mountains of meat were brought to the table. Lisa was stunned. Torres said to Lisa, "Don't hold back. Eat to your heart's content." Lisa lowered her head. "Thank you." Torres smiled and said, "Ryu is my friend, so his sister is welcome too." Torres continued, "You can also think of Zed as your brother. He might be blunt, but he's a good person." Zed thought, a 40-year-old man, a 15-year-old friend, and a 13-year-old sister. Zed felt strange. Torres said to Lisa, "If you want more, tell me. I'll get it for you. My friends are all quite wealthy, you know." Lisa's eyes lit up. Ryu said proudly, "Other than me, who else could be friends with both Bahal and Alarhan? This might be the first perfect day since I came to this world." A knight burst in. "Lord Torres." Torres looked up. Zed's eyes narrowed. "That man is Bahal's vice captain, Philip Robert." Torres asked, "Vice captain, what brings you here?" Philip Robert answered, "I came urgently on the Lord's orders." Torres felt confused. "Orders? I didn't receive any notification. What are his instructions?" Philip Robert drew his sword. The sword tip pointed directly at Zed, stopping at his throat. Zed thought, "I really hope today could end perfectly, but it seems that's impossible." Philip Robert looked down at Zed. "The Lord orders this person brought to him immediately." A carriage passed through the dark forest. Knights escorted it front and back. Inside the carriage, Zed sat with his arms crossed. Philip Robert the knight watched him. Philip Robert spoke. "Let me explain the rules first. First, never make eye contact with the Lord. Second, you must kneel before the Lord. Third, do not question." Zed interrupted him. Philip Robert frowned. Zed looked up at him. "Who do you think you are? Daring to order me around?" Philip Robert's expression became serious. "Don't forget where you are. This is Bahal territory." Philip Robert clenched his teeth. "Show some respect or I'll take your head." Zed's red pupils flickered. "You're the one who should show respect." Zed stared directly at Philip Robert. "Don't forget I'm from Alarhan." Philip Robert looked away. "This is Bahal territory." The Bahal banner fluttered in the wind. The contest had begun. Philip Robert rode on his horse. Zed thought, "I wonder what the lord of the Bahal family, Fernando, is scheming, but as Alarhan's heir, I must conduct myself properly. Somehow, I feel this is the only way to leave alive." Zed in the carriage was deep in thought. "Just as I thought. If my posture is too low, they'll look down on me. Two powerful forces colliding. If I stand too straight, I'll anger them. It's like walking a tightrope. I hope my judgment is correct." The carriage stopped in front of a magnificent mansion. Philip Robert said to Zed, "Please wait here." Zed entered the foyer. A guard was waiting. The guard bowed. "This is the reception room on the 5th floor." Zed looked toward the empty throne hall. Exactly like in the game. Not the office on the 7th floor, but the reception room. This means he's summoning me as a guest. Unexpectedly not bad, a powerful presence appeared out of nowhere. A voice said, "You're the first person from Alarhan to set foot in the Bahal mansion." Zed's pupils contracted. "What is that?" "He's here. Behind me. The lord of the Bahal family. Just being in the same space is enough to make me unable to concentrate." Zed's hands trembled slightly. "I can't even turn around. He's not using battle aura. Otherwise my trait would activate. This is pure presence. This is the realm of a swordsman who has transcended the 10th stage and ascended to Sword Saint." A tall figure passed by Zed. Fernando sat down on the throne. He looked down at Zed. Powerful blue battle aura surrounded him. Fernando's gaze was sharp. Zed stood alone in the center of the empty hall. Cold sweat slid down Zed's forehead. Zed clenched his teeth. Fernando looked thoughtful. He spoke. "I'll admit this much, you have courage, man of Alarhan." But he continued, "But this is the Bahal mansion. Your conduct must be proper." Zed's entire body tensed. "I can't kneel here. Kneeling to the strong is a disgrace. The moment I show even a hint of submission, he'll never look at me properly again." Zed bowed slightly. "Thank you for your invitation," Fernando questioned. "Invitation?" Zed answered. "Yes. I came by carriage and was escorted to the reception room." "Isn't that how you treat a guest?" "I came as a guest," Zed continued. "But if kneeling and bowing is the Bahal way, then I'll do as the locals do." Fernando's eyes widened. Zed raised his head and looked directly at the throne. Fernando burst into laughter. "You truly are a bold fellow," he continued. "Very well. Sit. I can't have a guest standing the whole time. Zed sat down at a table. A cup of tea sat on the table. Zed thought, Manar tea. Thank God he really is treating me as a guest. For now, Fernando looked at him. Your mind is quite busy, Fernando explained. I summoned you here purely out of personal curiosity. Don't overthink it. Zed was startled. Fernando spoke. I heard you went to the slave trader DeVito's place. Was it because of the Emperor's decree? I only heard about the decree after the matter was resolved. So you went to deal with the slave trader before receiving orders. Why? Zed thought. There are many answers that could win Fernando's trust, but here I'll only speak the truth, Zed answered. Selling slaves violates human dignity. I simply acted according to my conscience. Lying in front of a sword master is useless. Fernando snorted. Did you really not know that DeVito was connected to your family? Zed said. I thought it was just a rumor, but the moment I saw him, I knew it was true. I only care about right and wrong. Family has nothing to do with it. Fernando continued. Alarhan won't let this go, Zed said. But that's fine. I did the right thing. I don't regret it, Fernando thought. Truly impressive. He clearly knows what going against his own family means, especially as a member of Araan. Fernando's gaze became sharp. Now, because of my curiosity, he may have made his situation even worse. Zed thought. Torres said, I'm a mage who understands honor. He wasn't wrong. Fernando said, very well. It's getting late. Stay the night. If you don't mind, join us for breakfast tomorrow. Zed stood. Thank you for your generosity. He placed his right hand on his chest. This was a knight's salute. Fernando showed a surprised expression. I didn't expect to receive a knight's salute from a mage. Today is truly full of surprises. The mansion under the night sky. Inside the guest room, Zed slumped in a chair. He let out a long breath. Thank God. I succeeded. He drained all my energy. If Fernando had been different from the game, my head would have rolled long ago. It seems honesty works better than bravado. After climbing over that mountain, I'm starting to feel a bit hungry. A table of feast suddenly appeared before him. A servant stood quietly. The servant spoke. Please enjoy. Zed looked at the food. They really went to great lengths. His gaze froze. A card was stuck in a bloody steak. No way. The servant disappeared. Zed shot to his feet. He looked around the empty room. He was just here, yet completely vanished. How did the shadow guard follow me all the way here? The door slammed shut. Zed sat down. He picked up the card. A black number 0 appeared on the card. Magic card number 0. Return or terminate. Zed's gaze became resolute. His red pupils burned. A silhouette emerged from the darkness. A red eye flickered in the shadows. Now it's the Lord of Arahan's turn. A menacing shadow loomed over Zed holding the card. The Bahal estate in the morning. Sunlight illuminated a tower. Zed sat in the room with his hands on his head. I can't believe it. I actually saw a magic card from the Alarhan family's shadow guard. Just how far does Arahan's sphere of influence extend? A knock came from outside the door. A voice called out, Zed, are you in there? Zed opened the door. Torres stood there. Torres smiled. What happened with Ryu and Lisa? Did you come alone? Zed answered. They're taken care of. I didn't know if you were safe. I couldn't sit still. I heard some scattered news. I'm glad to see you're safe. I also heard you were invited to breakfast. Zed said. The word safe doesn't quite fit my situation. Torres smiled and said, the Lord has seen your character. He's even planning to cancel the bounty on you. Zed frowned. What bounty? I never expected this. If that magic card hadn't appeared, everything would have been perfect. A card burning with red flames. A vision of a hooded figure extending a hand. No matter where I go, I can't escape Alarhan. Then the only answer is to face it head on. After dining at the estate, Torres took me on a tour showing me the entire grounds. Torres said, here are the knight's quarters. Torres pointed into the distance. Over there is the training ground. Zed pondered. Maybe my mind is too cluttered, but seeing it in person rather than in the game doesn't feel particularly special. Zed's gaze fell on an enclosure. What's that? Torres explained. That place is a bit special. You may have heard the story. Bahal's white horses choose their own masters. White horses that haven't met their masters yet are kept there. Zed looked at the only white horse in the stable. Just one? Torres extended his hand. The white horse let out a long neigh and turned its head away from his hand. Torres said, usually they make their choice within 3 months, but this one has been waiting for 2 years. Its temperament is really picky. It's the only one that even rejected the Lord. Zed was shocked. How is that possible? I thought they chose the strongest, Torres said from the stable, not always. It seems they each have their own standards. Zed said, this is actually quite interesting. Torres continued, you only care about that white horse that caught your attention. Nothing else matters, does it? Zed smiled. Bahal's white horses are always cool, Torres added. That's right. They're called divine beasts for a reason. Torres looked at the horse. Bahal's white horses aren't just someone's property. They're companions, comrades in arms. The white horse let out a low whinny. That's why we respect its choice. Zed looked at the white horse. The white horse's blue eyes gleamed. The white horse rested its head on Zed's hand. A voice called out, isn't this the heir of Alarhan? That voice was Philip Robert. Philip Robert and 2 other knights approached. Philip Robert said, I saw Lord Torres during training and came to say hello, but it looks like you're with someone from Alarhan. Torres blocked Zed. He's a guest invited by the Lord. Show some respect. Philip Robert covered his chest and bowed. Of course. Lord Torres, would you like to train with us? Torres asked. Train? Philip Robert continued. There's no comfortable meditation room here. That's asking too much. How about a sparring match? Would you be willing to show us a few moves? Torres frowned. What do you think you're doing? Have you forgotten he's the Lord's guest? Philip Robert answered. Lord Torres, a friendly match isn't disrespectful, is it? It would be a good experience for the squad. I think for Zed too, Torres said. Zed isn't ready yet. We'll practice another day, Philip Robert persisted. Just one light sparring match. If you're worried about the power gap, we have a recruit who just joined a few days ago. If that's still not enough, the recruit can hold back? Zed spoke up. Forget it. I'll do it, he murmured to Philip Robert. This is what you wanted, right? Zed pointed at the knight and said, all right, let's spar. The white horse snorted. On the training ground, a knight held a wooden sword. He spoke. It's just a sparring match. I'll use a wooden sword. Zed flexed his wrists. You'll regret that. Better go all out. I hope you're not all talk. Torres watched anxiously from the side. Zed, what are you thinking? Even if you awaken lightning power, you're not even at the first ring yet. There's no way you can fight a fifth ring knight. The knight asked, you really think you have a chance? Zed answered, about 50-50. The knight scoffed. 50%? You're really optimistic. Blue battle aura erupted around him. I just hope you can last a bit longer so I can warm up. Zed was surrounded by golden lightning. He responded, it won't be fun if it ends too quickly. Philip Robert watched from the side. So that's the lightning power I've heard about? Truly worthy of being called the ideal attribute. It feels more intense and unstable than any other attribute, Philip Robert sneered. But the mana on him isn't even at the first ring. This duel will end quickly, a voice rang out. Begin! Zed and the knight faced off. Energy crackled between them. The knight charged toward Zed. The wooden sword came down with battle aura. Zed dodged easily. The knight thought, what is he doing? He's a mage, but he's not creating distance. He's not even chanting. Am I too fast for him to react? This is too boring. The knight relaxed his grip on the sword. But I can't kill a guest. I guess I'll hold back a bit. Torres and Philip Robert, watching from the side, showed surprise. The white horse's eyes widened too. Zed stuck the wooden sword in the ground. I'll say it one last time. Use your full strength. The knight clenched his teeth. Zed's body erupted with even more powerful lightning. The knight was pushed back. He looked at Zed in shock. What kind of power is this? Zed rushed toward him. He kicked the knight's ankle. The knight's body lost balance. Zed's fist was wrapped in lightning. A strike hit the knight's chest. The knight flew backward. Zed's lightning wrapped around his leg. He kicked the knight's sword. His other hand gathered power. Golden lightning converged in his palm. The lightning exploded violently, striking the recruit knight's chest. The knight cried out in pain. The wooden sword flew from his hand. Zed rushed forward and punched his abdomen, knocking him to the ground. Torres and Philip Robert were stunned speechless. Zed assumed a combat stance. Lightning crackled around him. The knight lay on the ground unconscious. The white horse's blue eyes were wide open. Philip Robert slapped the fallen knight's face. He looks like he passed out. Get a healer! The lightning around him slowly dissipated. Philip Robert's companion drew his sword. How dare you, you bastard! This time I'll face you, Alarhan. Torres blocked between them. What are you doing now? The sparring is over. Go back. Philip Robert's companion shouted. Lord Torres, please step aside. I must fight that mage. Zed thought. Are you crazy? Fighting another round here? Torres shouted. Does everyone here want to spar or do they want to fight? They've already abandoned the training pretense and will respond accordingly. Whether it's Clark or the young knight, they both lost because of preconceived notions, falling into the illusion created by skill differences. Objectively speaking, a fifth ring knight is clearly stronger. It seems this won't settle down. More knights are gathering too. This can't continue. Zed walked to Torres' side. One match is enough, right? I heard accepting defeat is part of the knight's spirit. The knights roared, how dare you talk about the knight's spirit, a mage who doesn't even know what honor is. Zed answered calmly. I sparred according to your request, and in the heart of Bahal territory at that. Don't you understand what that means? Could you spar with a mage in the heart of Araan territory? Fernando's voice rang out. Impressive! Fernando appeared on the training ground, emanating powerful battle aura. The knights exclaimed, Lord! They all knelt down. Fernando commanded, sheathe your swords. The knights answered in unison, yes. Zed thought, perception attribute at 100. I didn't notice him approaching at all. This is the true realm of sword saint, Fernando said. A man of Araan sparring on Bahal's training ground. This is worthy of the history books. Zed bowed. I apologize. I know this was impolite, but I couldn't refuse their sparring request. Of course, Araan never backs down from a fight that comes to them, Fernando shouted to the knights. Did you all see clearly? This is why you must never neglect training. More important than your rank is accumulating vast experience and making the lessons you learn your own. Understand? The knights answered in unison, yes. Zed thought, there's an edge to your words. What are you thinking? Fernando looked at Zed. You taught the members a good lesson. I'll remember well what happened today. This is just a warning. It's like sitting on pins and needles. Zed answered, yes. A commotion arose. Fernando and Zed turned around. The white horse was charging toward them. The horse's head slammed into Zed. He was knocked to the ground. The white horse ran around the training ground. Dust flew. Torres exclaimed, no way! Zed was also confused. What's going on? Why is it doing this? Torres explained, that's a ritual. Just as the white horse chooses a master, it displays its skills so the master can choose it. This means the white horse's master is here. Philip Robert watched in shock. No way. The white horse stopped. The white horse buried its head in Zed's embrace. Torres shouted, no way! Zed, the white horse chose you as its master. Fernando said, this will shock generations of lords. Zed said, choose me as its master? Fernando looked at them. It finally found its master. That's fortunate. But why the heir of Alarhan? Torres thought. Respect the comrade or respect the precedent. The answer may already be clear, Fernando said to Jed Alarhan. Do you acknowledge Pearl as your comrade in arms and companion for life? Jed asked in confusion. Pearl? That's its name? Jed said. You're suddenly saying this. The white horse let out a low whinny. Jed looked at it. You want me to choose? The white horse whinnied again. Jed hesitated. Jed placed his hand on its shoulder. Yes, I do. The white horse let out a joyful neigh. Jed thought, your expression is too serious. Philip Robert shouted. My lord, this is unacceptable, Philip Robert roared. In the family's history, no outsider has ever ridden a white horse. You absolutely cannot set such a terrible precedent, Fernando countered. That's right. Until now, white horses only chose within the family because they were never given any other choice. Philip Robert continued roaring. Have you forgotten the atrocities Alarhan committed against Bahal's white horses? They devoured white horses like pork. How can you entrust our comrade to such a person? Fernando answered. That's why we had Jed Alarhan make a promise. Philip Robert shouted. Mages lie as easily as breathing. How can you trust that promise? Fernando's gaze turned cold. If Jed Alarhan doesn't treat our white horse as a comrade, I will take his life with my own hands. Both Torres and Jed were shocked. Fernando said to Philip Robert, but Philip Robert, I have never doubted your loyalty. However, on this matter, I will not hear any more advice. Philip Robert lowered his head. Yes. Night had fallen. Jed rode Pearl through the forest at full gallop. I felt staying longer would be dangerous, so I left first. This is so much fun. I really like you. You've exceeded my expectations. Keep running. We'll run all the way to Firlad in one go. Ryu and Lisa watched him. Lisa exclaimed. Ryu thought, what am I even seeing? Alarhan not only came back alive from Bahal territory, but also brought back a white horse. Ryu looked at Jed. You can do anything you want. I'm proud to be your friend. Jed smiled. Let's go inside and talk. There's a lot to discuss. I told Ryu everything that happened, from the Black Mirror Squad magic card to the breath of the demon, and even the matter of Lacto Sherville. Jed said, I have to go to Alarhan now. There's no help for it. There's no other choice. Ryu said, if you're going to Alarhan, I'll go with you. Jed, last time you said you'd never abandon your companions. Jed answered, I'm grateful. But that, Ryu interrupted him. I'll be your servant. Ryu continued. Think about it. You've been exiled for so long, you probably don't have many retainers around. And the competition between Alarhan's siblings is fierce. Are there even trustworthy people in the family? Jed answered, that's true. Ryu said Lisa could handle a lot of housework and be very helpful. If they were hired as servants, they would definitely come in handy. Jed fell into thought. Considering the danger ahead, he had originally thought it was right to part ways with Ryu here. Jed spoke up. All right, thank you. We'll go to Alarhan together. Although he had decided to go, he couldn't just barge in recklessly. He needed a foothold. Right now, the only possibility was the blacksmith family that had been wiped out. Lacto was the last surviving member of the Sherville family, and the breath of the demon obtained from the basilisk. They needed holy water to convert it into elixirs. These two problems had to be solved. They had no choice but to go to Myers. The question was, how long would the head of Alarhan wait? The next morning, Jed made up his mind. All right, let's go. Jed rode the white horse Pearl, with Ryu and Lisa following behind him. The three set out on their journey together. Ryu looked at the gold bars on the table and exclaimed, what? All the gold bars? That's 500 gold coins. What are you buying that needs this much money? Jed said it might not even be enough. The elixir he wanted to make required injecting holy water into breath of the demon. The success rate depended on the sacred power of the holy water used. No matter how many bottles of ordinary holy water he used, it would be useless. The average price of holy water was about 10 gold coins, so that was roughly 50 bottles. It would be tight. If he spent all the money and got nothing, he might cry. This was why he came to Myers. He could trust that priest. Ryu asked, are you really taking it all? Can't we keep one gold bar for emergencies? Jed answered no, and besides, they still had some silver coins. Jed said to Ryu, I need to go out for a bit. Can you help me find someone? Ryu asked. Who? Jed explained. That old man mentioned yesterday. Lacto. Just look for a white-haired, one-eyed old man. Ryu said there should be many one-eyed old men like that here. Tell them you'll introduce them to someone who will pay in full upfront. Ryu looked at the silver coins on the table. In that case, it should be easy to find him, but we don't have much money, Jed said. Since he was a fugitive, he wouldn't show his face easily. Ryu asked, then how do we find him? Jed answered, so you need to figure out who doesn't show up. Ryu had a sudden realization. I get it. Jed added, he also won't use his real name, so inquire about him as Lacto. Ryu said, okay, I'll do my best to find him. Jed said, thank you, I'm counting on you. Jed picked up the box containing the gold bars. Originally, he had planned to use this money to buy magic tools, but after hearing Lacto Sherville's story, he changed his plan. He would use this money to make elixirs. Keeping Lacto by his side and commissioning him to make magic tools would be the best outcome. At least that's what he hoped. If this worked, it could also make up for his low magic attribute. He heard the commotion outside. A voice shouted, all right, everyone line up. Who's cutting in line in front of the cathedral? Whether you're a noble, commoner, or peasant, form one line. I said no cutting. Jed thought to himself, wait, isn't this the cathedral? Why are there so many people? Don't tell me Johan's sacred power has already become famous. It's still too early to do that thing. Jed asked the person next to him. Excuse me, what's happening at the cathedral? The person answered, they're selling holy water at half price, so the priests are all here. Jed asked in shock, what? Half price? The person looked at Jed. You look like a noble kid. Why not take this opportunity to buy more? Zed thought to himself, what a great opportunity. This means I can turn Breath of the Demon into elixirs. He narrowed his eyes. But there was a problem. Holy water was made by infusing sacred power, and only one bottle could be made per day. With Johan's popularity, he might indeed sell at half price, but how could they have this much holy water? It took an entire day to make one bottle. Something wasn't right. A voice called out, "Next!" A priest stood in the church. "Welcome, brother," Zed thought to himself. "I've only seen him in the game screen, so I can't judge just by appearance." If that's the case, Zed spoke up. "Hello, Father Johan." The priest answered, "Yes, brother. How many bottles do you need?" Zed's gaze became sharp. "You must be busy acting all day long." The priest's smile froze. "What are you talking about?" Zed suddenly grabbed his wrist. "There's only one Father Johan Chris at Myers Cathedral, you fraud. Where is the real Father Johan?" The priest said with a smile. "I don't know what you're talking about. I am Johan. If there's nothing else, please leave. There are many people waiting behind you." Someone in the crowd shouted, "The line is very long. What are you doing? If you're done, move along. My child is sick and I'm in a hurry. Please hurry up." Zed said to the priest, "Do you think you can just cause trouble in the cathedral? I'm reporting this to the local guard forces right now." The priest said, "The guard forces? I have no objection. If I did something wrong, I'll accept punishments. So if you don't want to die, get lost." Zed leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Don't block the busy people." The priest took a step back. At night, Zed sat in his room. He wasn't even afraid of the Imperial Army. Could the garrison forces be supporting these people behind the scenes? The Central Army protected the Empire, but local garrison forces in small towns were often deeply mired in corruption. Zed began writing a letter. This matter might not be as simple as it appeared. He knew nothing about this, so they should go take a look. He rode Pearl through the night. There should be a garrison force fortress here. The guards saw him. Isn't that Bahal's white horse? Zed thought to himself, seems like it. A guard opened the door. "What is it?" Zed said. "I have something to report." "Is the general inside?" The guard blocked him. "Do you have an appointment?" Zed answered no. The guard said, "You need an appointment to come." Zed asked, "Is he really that busy?" The guard answered, "No. This is the general's rule. He never sees people without appointments." Zed said, "Isn't the garrison force's job to protect the region? If there's an important report, shouldn't you let people in rather than tell them to come back another day?" The guard answered, "Sorry, we're just following orders." Zed thought to himself arguing with these low-ranking soldiers was useless, but this didn't feel right. A general on horseback appeared with a squad of soldiers. "Sir," Zed thought to himself, "is that person the general?" He didn't look like a knight at all. The general asked, "Who are you?" Zed answered, "I have something to report." The general said, "You don't look like a member of Bahal. Why are you riding Bahal's white horse? Did you steal it?" Zed answered, "It's a gift." He didn't care about my report at all. If it weren't for Pearl, he wouldn't even look at me. The general laughed. "A gift? I've never heard of anyone giving away a white horse." Pearl snorted. "Which family are you from?" "You don't look like a knight," Zed answered. "I'm just a mage from a minor family." Pullman burst out laughing. "Not even a knight. And you receive Bahal's white horse as a gift? I am General Pullman of the Myers Garrison Forces. Do you know where you are? How dare you lie to me?" Zed thought to himself, the situation is unusual, but shouldn't he listen to the report first? Zed said, "There's a fake priest at Myers Cathedral selling fake holy water. As you know, holy water is extremely precious." Pullman interrupted him. "Arrest him immediately!" The guards surrounded him. Zed was shocked. "What? I just started talking." Pullman ordered lock him up and confiscate the white horse. Zed thought to himself, so they're in on it together. "My bad feeling was right," Pullman sneered. "You'll regret being so arrogant, boy," Pullman shouted. "What are you waiting for? Take him away." "Yes, sir." A soldier grabbed Zed's shoulder. Zed murmured, "You're the one who's mistaken." Pullman sneered. "Let's see if you can still talk like this after you're tortured until your bones break." Zed's gaze turned cold. Meanwhile, at Bahal's mansion, a messenger knelt before Fernando. The messenger said, "The Emperor expresses appreciation for your great honor. Did our family rescue the most people?" The messenger answered, "Yes. Bahal family's regular forces rescued 5,000 imperial citizens from the clutches of slave traders. Next was Araan, who rescued 2,500 people. An emperor who usually sought balance and harmony between knights and mages was now openly displaying rankings and inciting competition like this. He must be very interested in this matter." Fernando thought to himself that it was very meaningful for Bahal to make the greatest contribution. Fernando said to Torres, "You will represent me in accepting the Empire's reward. The journey is long, so prepare early." Torres suddenly stopped. Fernando asked, "What's wrong?" A knight knocked on the door. "My lord, there's a boy waiting outside the manor requesting to see you." The knight continued, "I was going to turn him away, but he said he was a friend of Torres and Jed Alarhan, so I came to confirm." Torres asked, "Is his name Ryu?" The knight confirmed, "Yes." "Does he really know Lord Torres?" Torres said, "Yes, but what brought him here?" Fernando's gaze became sharp. Torres said, "My lord, I'll go see him myself. You don't need to worry." Fernando said, "Bring him in." "It must be Jed Alarhan who sent him." Torres asked in surprise, "What? Zed did?" Fernando said, "He said he has something to tell me." "I should listen, Torres. As Emperor, I commend Alarhan for ignoring status and rescuing imperial citizens. All nobles should follow this example and lead by example." Ryu knelt before Fernando. "How dare someone as lowly as me have an audience with the great lord of the Bahal family?" Fernando asked. "Then what do you want with me?" Ryu answered. "I thank you for your heavenly grace." Zed left this note. He said if he doesn't return before dark, to give this note to the lord of Bahal. Ryu handed the letter to Torres. Fernando took the letter. The emperor's official document ended with Arahan's name. Bahal won the battle but lost the war, and this letter came from Jed Alarhan, whom the emperor praised. Even if it wasn't anything important, he should read it personally. Fernando opened the letter. His expression became serious. The priests at Myers Cathedral were using the cathedral's authority to sell fake holy water, committing fraud through faith. Even when I said I would report them to the garrison forces, they remained calm. I suspect they are colluding with the local garrison forces. This content was specifically written for me to see. Was this the insight of a 15-year-old boy? The letter stated the recipient, "If I don't return before dark, please deliver this letter to the Lord of Bahal." Now he understood why he wrote it this way. Ryu said, "That's right. I'm worried something might have happened to Zed. I know I overstepped, but I still came. I'm very sorry." Fernando said, "You must have been very afraid, but you mustered courage for your friend. This is truly noble conduct." Ryu was stunned. Fernando ordered, "It's getting late. Bring him something to eat. I'll write a letter in the meantime. Eat without worry." Ryu said gratefully, "Thank you." Ryu thought to himself, just now he called me a commoner, noble. He truly was a remarkable person. A maid brought food. Please enjoy without worry. Ryu picked up the bread. "Thank you." He wolfed it down, tears streaming from his eyes. This tasted even better than beef from Verdi. In the dark dungeon, rats and cockroaches crawled on the ground. Zed was hanging upside down. He gasped for air. A guard looked at him. "That lunatic. He's been like this for over 2 hours. We hung him up to prepare to torture him, but what the hell is he doing? I feel like I'm going crazy." Another guard said, "This smell makes me sick." General Pullman walked in. "Sir!" General Pullman covered his nose and asked, "Why is he like that?" The guard answered, "I'm not sure, but he's been like this the whole time." The previous guard said he heard the same thing from the guard before him. Pullman asked, "So he's been repeating this for hours?" The guard answered, "Pretty much." Pullman looked at Zed. "He's really a tough one." 2 guards took Zed down and made him kneel on the ground. Pullman said, "From now on, depending on your answers, I might let you go or give you even harsher torture." Pullman asked, "The white horse won't listen to me. Did you cast some spell on it?" Zed answered, "Nonsense. White horses only listen to the master they choose." Pullman snorted. "You expect me to believe the nonsense that a knight's warhorse chose a mage?" Zed smiled. "You'll know soon enough." Pullman roared. "You bastard." Pullman gritted his teeth. "Seems like the torture was too light. From now on, I'll do it myself. No one can last 30 minutes under my torture. Keep smiling. I want to see how long you can stay arrogant." Pullman picked up a dagger. "I've never seen anyone endure this dagger. Scraping from the knee to the bone doesn't feel good." Pullman pressed the dagger against Zed's leg. "If you want to talk, now is your only chance." Zed said coldly, "Get lost." Pullman roared, "You?" He raised the dagger, preparing to stab down. A guard rushed in. "General, we have trouble. A letter came from Bahal." The dagger slipped from Pullman's hand. He grabbed the prison bars. "What's this commotion about? Didn't I tell you not to disturb me during torture?" The guard stammered. "Sorry, this is urgent." "A letter came from the Lord of Bahal," Pullman roared. "If it's not something important, you're dead." "What does the letter say?" He unfolded the letter. "The person you arrested is the master of the White Horse, and also the heir of Araan, a friend of Bahal. You are suspected of involvement in the Myers Cathedral corruption case. Resign from your position immediately and await investigation by the Central Army. If you refuse to comply, you will face Bahal's judgment." Pullman's face turned bright red. "What the hell? What? Investigation? Judgment?" He was furious. "How dare they threaten a general appointed by the emperor?" Zed smiled. Pullman shouted, "You did this. You've been smiling all along, waiting for this moment." Pullman said, "You look confused, but even the Lord of Bahal cannot treat an imperial general casually." Zed answered, "Wrong. There's a clear reason, isn't there?" Pullman grabbed Zed's hair. "Reason, my ass. If I kill you and that fake priest, there won't be any evidence left. A bastard like you will only wake up after getting beaten." Lightning exploded from Zed's entire body, repelling Pullman and his men. "What? Lightning aura!" Pullman was knocked back. "What the hell is this?" Lightning surrounded Zed's entire body. Pullman was knocked down by an invisible force. "How dare you!" Zed looked on in surprise. A figure in a red robe appeared before him. The Black Mirror Legion among soldiers. Just how far had this organization infiltrated? A hooded figure said, "Young master, the Lord orders you to return immediately. We will escort you. Please hurry." Zed thought to himself, when did they arrive? Where does this organization end? Zed asked, "Why issue the order to return?" The hooded figure answered, "We don't ask why. We follow the Lord's orders. Please hurry." Zed thought, "No, I still need elixirs and I need to find Lacto Sherville." Zed said, "Wait, give me a few more days. I'll go back on my own." The hooded figure said, "Impossible. We only follow the Lord's orders. I need to buy time." Zed said, "You're the Black Mirror Legion but don't understand Alarhan? If I go back like this, it's a dead end anyway. The Lord must know that, right?" The hooded figure fell silent. Zed said, "Relay my words to the Lord. Please give me some time to prepare so I can survive in the family. If he still orders me to return, I'll comply without complaint." The hooded figure answered, "Please wait." He turned and left. Zed thought to himself, the Lord of Alarhan must be monitoring my every move through the Black Mirror Legion. The problems are killing slave trader DeVito and going to the Bahal family. They'll definitely question this, so I need to prepare. The hooded figure returned. "The Lord says he will give you time. Return to the family within 14 days. Zed's gaze became resolute. No room for extension. 14 days. A castle shrouded in red lightning. The countdown had begun. Fortunately, he got a grace period, 14 days. He needed to act quickly. The hooded figure knelt before Jed. The Lord says he will leave the Myers Cathedral matter to you to handle, young master. The investigator will arrive soon. Just hand it over, that's his message, Jed asked. The investigator has already arrived? I thought it would take at least a day, the hooded figure said. The Black Mirror Legion also made efforts for this matter. Jed thought to himself. The more I learn about them, the more impressive this organization becomes. The hooded figure said, there's one more thing. Jed asked, what else? The hooded figure said, the Lord wishes you not to hide the fact that you are of Alarhan bloodline. Jed asked in confusion, what does that mean? Don't tell me you're saying I shouldn't wear this? The hooded figure answered, correct. Jed asked, why? When have they ever cared about me, someone driven out of the family? Why bring this up now? The hooded figure said, I have conveyed all of the Lord's messages. Then we take our leave. They vanished into the shadows. Jed looked at where they left. These people, they said whatever they wanted and then just disappeared. 2 hours later, a white-haired old man stood there. A young boy achieved great things. I am Cox, Imperial investigator, here to expose corruption in the Imperial military. Which family's heir are you? The Emperor will commend your achievements. Jed thought to himself. He told me not to hide my identity. Jed bowed. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am the 7th heir of Alarhan. My name is Jed Alarhan. Cox asked in surprise, Jed, are you really Jed Alarhan? Jed answered, yes, that's correct. Cox laughed. What a coincidence. So you're the Alarhan mentioned in the official document? Jed asked. Official document? What's that? Cox said. You still don't know? Cox held up a letter. Your name is in an official document written by the Emperor himself. At the end, he highly praised Jed Alarhan's achievements in helping Imperial citizens. All nobles should lead by example and display such character. They also praised you highly at the palace. I really wanted to meet you. It was fate that brought us together, Jed asked. But how would the Emperor know about me? Cox answered. His Majesty the Emperor enjoys conversing with people regardless of social status. Among those who were repatriated this time, some mentioned you, Jed thought to himself. Could it be Gordon? He said he would repay my kindness, but I never thought it would be repaid in this way. Cox said, the Emperor will be pleased to learn of this. It's also good news for your family. Family? Jed spoke up. Mr. Cox, I have a request. Can I personally resolve the Myers Cathedral matter to the very end? Cox nodded. I understand what you mean. You want to finish what you started. Go ahead, Jed thought to himself, as expected of a Central Army investigator. To some extent, he gave up his own credit. He didn't hesitate. Jed bowed in gratitude. Cox laughed. To receive thanks from an Alarhan, have I lived too long? Cox said to Jed. Take the Central Army soldiers who came with me. They are criminals who violated Imperial law. So for the rest, you can execute them on the spot. If any problems arise, I'll take responsibility. Jed answered. I can only thank you for your consideration. Cox patted Jed's shoulder. For an Alarhan, you're really courteous. Very refreshing. I like it. Jed felt confused. Are there really only villains in Alarhan? The Central Army's banner fluttered in the wind. Soldiers assembled in front of the cathedral. People murmured among themselves. What is the Central Army doing in Myers? Haven't you heard the rumors? General Pullman was arrested. They say he had shady dealings with the church. There are also rumors the priests are fake. No way, those scumbags. Jed stepped forward. He announced loudly, listen, you frauds who deceived Imperial citizens for ill-gotten gains. I'll count to 3. If you don't come out, you'll surely die. The cathedral doors remained tightly shut. A soldier asked, should we forcibly drag them out? Jed answered, isn't the use of weapons and magic prohibited inside Imperial cathedrals? It's dangerous. Another soldier said, that's right, but there's no other way. How about we wait for the authorization documents to come through? Jed said, I'll handle it. The soldier asked in surprise. What? Jed said, I don't have much time. I'll handle it myself. Please wait here. The soldier said anxiously. If something happens, Jed answered, it'll be fine. A soldier said, but what can he do? Shouldn't we follow him? Cox held a document. Mr. Cox, is that the authorization document? Great. Since we have the authorization document, there's no reason to hesitate anymore. Go in immediately and arrest the criminals. Cox said, wait, what? Cox explained, I gave the command badge to Jed so he could settle this case. A soldier asked, but there's an armed organization in the cathedral. You still won't help? If problems arise, we'll also be held accountable. Please issue the order to enter. Cox said, you don't seem to understand Alarhan well. Do you know why Alarhan is a top-tier family? Why do people fear Alarhan? A soldier answered, isn't it just because they're stronger than other families? Cox said, just because of their strength? No, there's something more important. Alarhan always does what they say, no matter what they'll use, any means necessary. That's exactly what makes them terrifying, the soldiers exclaimed. Jed said, you said I'm not safe, right? Watch carefully, you frauds. Cox said, today's protagonist is that Alarhan? Jed walked in. Fighting sounds came from inside the church. A soldier said, it's gone quiet. Is it over? That's why I said going alone wasn't a good idea. Another soldier shouted, someone's coming out! Prepare for battle! The door opened. The soldiers shouted, it's the fake priests and their subordinates. They were tied together and thrown out of the church. Jed walked out. The crowd erupted in cheers. Cox thought to himself, as expected. The soldiers murmured among themselves, you really took them down without magic? How did you handle them without using magic? Jed answered, It wasn't that hard. The soldier said, worthy of Alarhan. I have to express my respect once again. Truly remarkable, Jed said to Cox. Mr. Cox, these people must have been selling fake holy water. There must be many victims. I hope you can handle them properly, Cox answered. Of course. As an investigator, I will uncover the truth and resolve this matter, Jed said. Then you can come out now, Father. A priest in white robes walked out of the church. People exclaimed, who is that? It's Father Johann. The father is alive. The crowd cheered. Thank the Lord. Father Johann walked up to an injured fake priest. He extended his hand, and green light enveloped the fake priest. The fake priest looked in shock at his wounds healing. He stammered, Father. Father Johann placed his hand on his head. That was sacred power. Father Johann said, repent your sins and follow. Then the Lord will be with you forever. He healed all the fake priests. They repented. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I will never again go against the Lord's will. The church bells rang. An even louder cheer erupted from the crowd. Father Johann has returned. Father Johann said to Jed, let me reintroduce myself. I am Johann Chris, the 49th Imperial Priest of the Empire. I offer infinite gratitude to the Araan who carried out the Lord's will. I'd like to invite you for tea. Do you have time? Jed answered. Yes, of course. Cox called out to him. Jed Alarhan, come here for a moment. Jed asked, what is it? Cox handed him a badge. If you don't mind, I'd like to give this to you as a gift. Jed asked in surprise. Isn't this an investigator's badge? Cox answered. That's right. Show this badge anywhere in the Empire and they will help you. Jed asked, why are you giving me this? How do you know I'll use it correctly? Cox said, at least you won't do anything that damages my reputation. As long as you promise to use this badge only for the Empire. The moment you use it for personal gain, you'll be repaying my kindness with betrayal. Jed gripped the badge tightly. I'll remember that. That will never happen. Cox laughed. You're really different from the Alarhans I know. Living this long has truly opened my eyes. He waved to Jed. Now that everything is resolved, we'll head back. I hope we can meet again. Cox and his soldiers departed. Jed bowed in farewell. He watched the departing procession thoughtfully. Father Johann said, thank you for saving us. I heard all the victims of this incident will receive compensation. Mr. Jed, your merit is truly immeasurable. Jed answered, you're too kind. Father Johann asked, is there anything you need my help with? You're truly a wise and insightful person. You know I'm not here purely out of faith. I'll be honest with you, Father. I need your holy water. Father Johann said, holy water should only be used to heal the sick and combat evil. Mr. Jed, what do you plan to use it for? Jed answered, I need holy water to make magic items. I don't know if this counts as combating evil, but at least it can save my life. Father Johann asked, your life? Jed answered, yes, I'm an Alarhan who was abandoned for being unable to wield magic, but now I've received orders to return to the family. Do you understand what this means? Father Johann's expression became serious. Although the infighting between siblings is intense, can magic items alone stop your brother's infighting and save your life, Mr. Jed? Jed answered, I'm just preparing everything I can to the best of my ability. Right now, the maximum attribute value obtainable through making elixirs is 2. If a skill requires 5 points in magic attribute, then for me with a current magic attribute of 3, it has enormous value. There's a world of difference between something that can only be used by activating fighting spirit and something that can be used at any time. Father Johann said, actually, I've heard rumors about you before, Mr. Jed. You dealt with that notorious slave trader managed by Alarhan. I think it was the Lord's will that let those rumors reach Myers and protected the Lord's sanctuary. Perhaps helping you like this is also part of the Lord's plan. He took out a box. I've been keeping this, wanting to give it to someone who truly needs it. The effectiveness of holy water depends on the sacred power it contains. I spent a long time making these, pouring all my efforts into them. I hope they can help you, Mr. Jed. Jed opened the box. Inside were 3 bottles of glowing holy water, such precious holy water. Jed said, thank you so much. Father Johann smiled. This is my personal gift. May the Lord's blessing be with you always. Jed returned to his room, looking at what was in his hands. Am I dreaming? I never thought the things I wanted so much in the game were now in his hands. The priest's mark, in other words, a priest's guarantee. You might wonder what significance a priest's guarantee has. But in the world of LS, it held immense power. The reason the cathedral had its current authority was because the emperor was committed to building an empire that upheld morality and conscience. In other words, a priest's guarantee was indirectly the emperor's guarantee. With the priest's mark, he wouldn't be wanted, couldn't be arrested on the spot, and more importantly, they couldn't easily kill him. This one small mark made him much safer in the infighting. Johann must have given it to him knowing this. The investigator's badge and the priest's mark, this might be the best result he could achieve before returning to the family. Anyone who wanted to kill him would have to take considerable risk. Wherever he went, he could get help from the Imperial Army. Just looking at them was reassuring. So next, in the game, Johann's holy water had a success rate of about 20%, but this was called holy water made with the greatest care. 3 bottles of holy water, 2 portions of breath of the demon. If only the first attempt could succeed. Let's try it. If the holy water runs out, I can get more. Jed poured the holy water onto the breath of the demon. He watched intently. The red breath of the demon was enveloped in green light. The breath of the demon transformed into a blue elixir. Success! I can't believe I succeeded on the first try. No need to hesitate. Jed drank the elixir. Magic attribute increased by 1. Magic 4. As expected, his magic attribute increased as he anticipated. If the next one also succeeded, his magic attribute would be 5. 2 bottles of holy water and 1 portion of breath of the demon remained. If I succeed one more time, I'll only have 1 bottle of holy water left. Please, please. The elixir was successfully made again. This is insane. I succeeded again. Isn't the success rate like 80%? I guess with this level of sacred power, it's almost like having an extra life. I should save it. Magic attribute increased by 1. Magic 5. Additional magic available. Lightning transformation greatly enhances the caster's physical abilities, gains a shield effect proportional to magic power. Zed's entire body was enveloped in lightning. He moved his body around. He lay on the bed and let out a long breath. The tension completely disappeared. I was really nervous. If lightning transformation required 10 magic points, Zed burst out laughing. This is way more fun than playing the game. Ryu came back. He held a stack of documents. I've been looking for the one-eyed, white-haired people you mentioned. There were 40 in total, fewer than I imagined. Zed and Lisa approached him. Yes, that's right. Ryu said, as you said, I gathered them in one place and offered money. 34 people showed up. So the person you're looking for is among the remaining 6 people. Zed asked, did you find all 6 of those people? Ryu answered, of course. Just in case, I also wrote down their exact locations. I think we can find him tomorrow. Zed took the documents. I like it. Thank you. This will be much more convenient. Ryu said proudly, this little thing? I can handle even more difficult and complex tasks. How about that? I'm capable, right? Zed looked at him. Ryu, I know you're a smart person, so you don't need to try so hard. Ryu was confused. Zed said, I'll take full responsibility for you and your sister. You're the first companions I've made. Both Ryu and Lisa shed tears. Zed said, you two, don't get emotional over something so natural. That's also a kind of illness. A girl approached them. Excuse me, Red Eyes, are you Mr. Jed Alarhan? Zed asked, how do you know me? The girl answered, what? If someone in Myers doesn't know Mr. Zed now, they must be a spy. The young Alarhan punished the fraudsters and protected the cathedral and Father Johann. The whole city is talking about it, Zed thought to himself. I was wondering why people were looking at me so strangely. I thought it was because of my eye color, but there were other reasons too. People were talking. Is that person Jed Alarhan? That person is that gentleman. Can't you speak properly? I heard if you make eye contact with an Alarhan, you'll die like that. They say he's the Lord's messenger, so it's fine. I only know Alarhans are ruthless, but I don't think they're all like that. Suddenly, there was a commotion. What's going on? Lisa grabbed Ryu in fear. Brother, I'm scared. The crowd surged towards Zed. Thank you for protecting Myers Cathedral. We will remember Mr. Zed's good deeds for generations. Thank you, Zed thought to himself. I thought I'd gotten used to this kind of situation. Honestly, this is awkward. Let's get out of here quickly. He sensed something. What? Something feels off right now. Someone in the crowd looked strange. That's one eye and white hair. Lacto Sherville stood in the crowd, staring at Zed. Zed shouted, wait, stop! He tried to push through the crowd. Wait a moment, let me through. He squeezed through the crowd, chasing that figure. Damn it. Ryu ran over. Zed, what's wrong? What happened? Zed answered, it's him. Ryu asked, you mean the person we're looking for? Zed said, he was just here, but now he's run away. Ryu, tell me the closest one among those 6 places you mentioned. Ryu answered, got it. We need to hurry. He might be planning to escape like this. If he's determined to hide, we won't be able to find him. The 3 began running. Ryu gave directions. Turn left at the end of this road. That building, room 203. Zed rushed into the room, breathing heavily. An old man was startled. It's not him. The old man begged for mercy. I'll definitely pay the rent tomorrow. Give me a little more time. Zed jumped out the window. Next location. Ryu shouted, you madman! They checked place after place, but they didn't find him anywhere. Ryu said, the next one is over there, the room on the left on basement level 1. Red energy swirled around Zed's hands. Ryu called out, Zed answered, Ryu, you go upstairs. We need to hurry, but what is this ominous feeling? The opponent is the greatest blacksmith, and he's also a fugitive. If this really is where Lacto lives, it's very likely a trap. Zed activated lightning transformation. He blocked the explosion with his hands. Lightning transformation deactivated. Immortal Gambler S rank activated. This is blue fire, Ryu shouted. What was that just now? Zed, are you okay? Zed said, damn it, Zed thought to himself. Blue fire is a superior attribute of flame. Even with ordinary fire, it's difficult to achieve this level of explosion with magical tools, but he created blue fire with just one trap. Is that even possible? Zed said, damn it, everything was blown away. If it weren't for Immortal Gambler, I would have died on the spot this time. Immortal Gambler is a trait that grants immunity to instant death damage. I know this well because I used it often in the game too. Simply put, with this trait, no one can kill me with one hit. I thought it would be an 8 or 9 ring explosion at most, but Immortal Gambler activated. I underestimated him a bit, thinking that I died once. This feeling is really unpleasant. I must catch him and definitely make him my ally, Ryu complained in the room. This is absurd. Why are we being treated as suspects? We're victims too. This isn't fair, Zed said. Anyway, we're the only ones who were present. If we can't prove the explosion was a trap, we're suspects. And Alarhan is a fire element family. Just in case, I tried to find evidence from the explosion traces, but everything was burned and nothing was left. Ryu said, then what do we do? Shouldn't we escape before the Imperial army arrives? Should I ask the Bahal family for help? The Lord there seemed nice. Maybe if I explain the situation, he'll help. Zed said, it's best not to get too involved with Bahal. Ryu asked, is it because of the Black Mirror Squad? Zed answered, yes, their reaction was very sensitive last time too. A shout came from outside. General Madden of the Myers Provincial Army is here. Jed Alarhan, come out immediately. Ryu said, they're here. Zed, are you going out? Lisa said, brother, I'm scared. Zed said, it's okay. You two stay here. I just need to go alone. Ryu shouted, alone? Wait, Zed went out. A soldier shouted, Jed Alarhan has come out. General Madden Madden ordered. Subdue him immediately. Zed showed the priest mark. Madden said, "What? Wait, everyone stand by." Madden stepped forward. "Mr. Zed, is that really the priest's mark?" Zed answered, "Yes, this is the mark given by Father Johann Chris of Myers Cathedral." Madden said, "I understand. Sorry for not recognizing it." Zed said, "It's fine. Misunderstandings can be cleared up." Madden said, "I'm the general who took over from General Pullman in Myers. Earlier there was a huge explosion in town. Your name appeared in eyewitness testimonies. Were you by chance at the scene?" Zed answered, "Yes. I was directly caught in that explosion." Madden said, "You were caught in it, so you're saying you're a victim, not a suspect?" Zed said, "Yes, exactly." Madden asked, "May I ask why you were there?" "This is a procedural question, but if you don't want to answer, you don't have to." Zed answered, "There's no reason not to answer. I was looking for someone and went in, but there was a trap set there. I was shocked too." Madden said, "I understand." Zed thought to himself, because of the priest's mark, no matter how suspicious I am, he can't easily treat me as a criminal. Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. With the help of the local garrison, it will be much easier to find the cleverly hidden Lacto. Zed spoke up. "General Madden, can you help me?" Madden answered, "I'm very sorry, but the Imperial Army cannot mobilize for private matters. Without proper justification, we cannot waste public authority." Zed said, "A reason? Then is this reason enough?" He showed the investigator's badge. Madden exclaimed, "An investigator's badge! Mr. Zed, how do you have that?" Zed answered, "Cox, the Imperial investigator gave it to me. I heard that showing this badge would get me help from the Imperial Army." Madden answered, "Of course. According to solemn Imperial law, we must cooperate with the badge holder's request as much as possible. The priest's mark, an investigator's badge. Just what kind of person is this Alarhan? Good, this isn't my private matter either. It's also to catch the criminal of the explosion case. This is exactly what the local garrison should be doing." Madden said, "Yes, please tell us anything. From this moment on, the Myers Provincial Army will assist Mr. Zed. The investigator's badge has more influence. If the priest's mark is immunity, then the investigator's badge is command authority." Zed said, "Then let's start by drawing the criminal's appearance. Please find a suitable person." Madden answered, "Yes, I'll find someone right away." Ryu poked his head out from the window and covered his mouth in surprise. Ryu said, "A terrifying person." Zed asked, "Why?" The next morning, a wanted poster was put up on the wall. Bounty of 50,000 gold coins. Provide information to informants outside the South Gate. The criminal will be wanted within 3 days. The entire town will be locked down and searched. People were talking among themselves. How vicious must this guy be to have a bounty of 50,000 gold coins? A hooded person mixed in with the crowd. Did I see wrong? No, impossible. That person knows me. This picture it's the disguised Lacto. But why exactly? These wanted posters are plastered all over the city. Lacto seems determined. Perhaps he wants to see me. If luck isn't on my side, this could be a bloody battle. Once I meet him, I'll know what he's scheming. Lacto thought to himself, I don't even know how many cities this is anymore. I'm tired of being a fugitive. Maybe it's time to end all this. I've lived long enough. Quite a crowd has gathered now. First, let me hide among them and observe. Lacto walked ahead, Zed following closely. He said, "This disguise is truly professional." Lacto suddenly stopped. Zed warned in a low voice, "Act natural or you'll attract soldiers." Lacto turned his face. "Who are you?" Zed answered, "I'm Jed Alarhan. Finally, I've met you." Lacto stopped walking. "What do you want from me?" Zed gestured. "Let's change locations first. Follow me." Zed pulled down his hood. Lacto looked at him. Zed said, "This is our first meeting." Zed looked directly at him. "I am the 7th heir of the Alarhan family, Jed Alarhan." Lacto raised his hand. A flash of green light passed and his disguise dissipated. Zed watched calmly. "I already know your name." Lacto revealed his true appearance. His eyes were sharp. "Boy, since you know who I am, why are you still looking for me?" A smile curved at the corner of Zed's mouth. "The reason for seeking a legendary blacksmith surely wouldn't be simple, would it?" Zed spoke. "I want to hire you to become the exclusive blacksmith of the Alarhan family." Lacto's eyes widened suddenly, his face filled with shock. The game and reality were completely different. One difference was items and equipment. In the game, you only needed to double-click to equip. But in reality, I had to put them on myself. I not only had to compare options, but also consider factors like comfort and weight. The magical tools sold on the market were all made for adults. So there were many variables. No matter how good the options were, if the size didn't fit, they were useless. This was exactly why I wanted to recruit Lacto. Lacto could make magical tools perfectly suited to my body, and I could get new magical tools as needed when my stats increased, as well as auxiliary equipment for different situations. I had to make him my ally. Zed said, "War horses are born to run. Swords are forged to be used. As the sole bloodline of the Cherville family, sir, what will you live for?" Lacto fell silent. Zed said, "The greatest blacksmith crafts magical tools for the greatest family. This way, Cherville's techniques can be passed down to future generations and history can continue. I believe this is the mission given to you, sir," Lacto said, "passing techniques to future generations. Continuing history, what a fantastic story. Just imagining it is overwhelming." "But my family?" Zed answered. "I know that was a false accusation. Alarhan will clear the long-standing false accusations against Cherville. With Alarhan's help, this can become reality." Lacto asked, "Do you know the full story of the Cherville massacre?" Zed answered, "I don't know the details." Lacto said, "You would help Cherville without knowing the situation. Then how can you be sure it was a false accusation?" Zed Zed fell silent. The Sherville incident was a story from long before the game scenario began, so I could only learn about it from NPC dialogues. Even in the records, it only said they plotted rebellion and were wiped out by the Imperial Army. But here, Zed smiled. Even if I don't know the inside story of the incident, I know the Sherville family very well. Lacto asked, "You know us?" Zed said with certainty. Yes, the Sherville family devoted itself to crafting high-grade magical tools. There was no reason to rebel at all. His eyes sharpened. Moreover, the Emperor has reached the realms of Sword Saint and Grand Mage. He is the supreme being standing at the pinnacle. Under the Emperor's command is the central army composed of knights and mages. Even if Araan and Bahal joined forces, they couldn't defeat him. What's more, the Emperor is immortal, the absolute ruler of this world. So the Sherville family had even less reason to rebel. I firmly believe that was a false accusation. Please tell me the truth of the incident, sir. Lacto remained silent. He let out a long sigh. Lacto spoke. "Boy, you know the Martin family, right?" Zed answered. "Of course, they're the second family among mages." Lacto nodded. "Right. They were also our main trading partners. Martin always wanted to surpass Alarhan," Zed said. "But that's completely impossible." Lacto said, "Alarhan is such a powerful existence. The problem began with the Billy family's intervention." Zed repeated. "The Billy family." Lacto continued. "They were mediocre mages originally, but suddenly rose up and stood as equals with Martin." Zed pressed, "What happened?" Lacto's expression was heavy. There was no time to explain and no opportunity. Zed nodded. "I understand. I roughly understand the situation at that time, but he still had doubts in his heart. There's one thing that concerns me greatly. Was Alarhan really completely uninvolved in this matter? If they were involved, taking Lacto away would be a terrible thing. Alarhan never traded with Sherville. They very likely viewed Sherville as a thorn in their side, because Sherville provided high-grade magical tools to other families. If the Black Mirror Squad was also involved, it would be a perfect crime without a single flaw. Knowing how terrifying the Black Mirror Squad is, the more I think about it, the more suspicious it seems." Zed interrupted his own thoughts. "I might be overthinking. I can't judge rashly." His eyes were resolute. "As long as mages are involved, Alarhan can definitely resolve it." Lacto challenged. "Can you take responsibility for your words?" Zed's eyes were determined. "I will keep my promise, so please come with me." He extended his hand. Lacto looked at that hand. He thought to himself, "I thought it wouldn't matter to just end things like this. But placing hope one last time isn't bad either. As long as Sherville's techniques and history can continue." He grasped Zed's hand. "I'm willing to go with you." Zed turned. "Then we depart immediately." Zed reflected on his gains in the south. His first companions, Ryu, Lisa, Lord Torres, and Bahal's white horse, the investigator's badge and the priest's mark, and the last bloodline of Sherville. He clenched his fist. How much are these worth in Alarhan? The corner of his mouth curved slightly upward. A magnificent golden city came into view. The western region, Golden City Neka. Ryu looked up at the city and let out an exclamation. Ryu gazed at the scene before him. "What is this?" The group walked on Neka's streets. Ryu was amazed. "It's so dazzling. I can't believe there's a place like this." Zed asked Ryu. "Didn't you come to Nika when you worked at the merchant group?" Ryu answered, "No, Nika is strictly controlled by major merchant groups. For the small merchant group I was at, it was just an unreachable dream." Lisa and Ryu pointed around. "Brother, that building is all gold. There too, and there too." Lacto looked around. "I haven't been to Nika in a long time either. This city is developing at an astonishing pace." Zed looked at him. "Have you been here before, sir?" Lacto said with a smile. "I came to travel in my later years. Although it hasn't even been 10 years, it's already changed beyond recognition." Zed was thoughtful. "The atmosphere here is quieter than in the south. Although prosperous, it's very leisurely. It feels different, but also like arriving at the capital." People around whispered, "Isn't that Bahal's white horse?" "That's impossible. Look carefully, the eyes are blue," Zed thought to himself. In any case, Bahal's white horse is too conspicuous in Neka City. Zed suggested, "Let's find lodging first." At the inn, the group settled down. Ryu asked Zed, "Aren't we going directly to Alarhan?" Zed answered, "There's still a week until the deadline. We can't waste time." Ryu looked at Zed. "Are you going out again?" Zed said affirmatively. "Yeah, I'm going somewhere alone," Zed said to everyone. "It might take several days. You don't need to worry. Wait here for me." "You too, sir." Ryu was somewhat surprised. "Not coming back today?" Zed answered. "Even a week might not be enough." Zed instructed Ryu to buy food near the inn and take good care of Pearl. "Try not to leave this area. You might get lost if you're not careful." Ryu pouted. "I'm not a child. But here, I might really get lost." Ryu watched Zed's departing figure. "Be careful." Twilight descended on Golden City Nika. Zed walked on the street. The air seemed to carry the scent of gold coins. But he thought to himself, no matter how bright a place is, darkness always exists. He looked toward a dark alley. Those who came with hope but ultimately failed probably all gather in places like this. He entered a shop with a glasses sign. The shopkeeper was greatly startled upon seeing him. He thought to himself, why would an heir of Alarhan come? But ultimately, it's an honor. Zed spoke. "Give me a pair of black lenses." The shopkeeper felt puzzled. Why the cheapest, most ordinary color? He didn't dare ask more. "Yes, I'll get them right away." Zed entered a clothing store. The shopkeeper came up. "Welcome." Zed looked around and pointed at a set of clothes. "I want that one." The tailor hurriedly waved his hands. "That's work clothes, not for sale." Zed said, "It's fine. I'll trade with this outfit." He was shocked. Zed wanted to buy a pair of shoes but was driven out by the shopkeeper. "You beggar, get lost quickly." Zed let out a long breath. He changed into worn-out clothes, looking at his reflection in the window. Perfect. I look just like a beggar. Then now it's time to meet him, the king of the back streets. Night shrouded the dilapidated back alleys. A rat scurried through the darkness. Zed sat quietly in a corner. He opened his eyes. It's time to act. He stood up and stepped into deeper darkness. A man followed behind him. Zed continued walking forward. Two burly men with clenched fists followed behind. Several burly men stood behind Zed. Zed also stopped. He sensed the gazes around him. These guys are just observing. There are exactly 7 people around me. He continued forward. Now I can only see clearly a few meters ahead. It seems it's time to act. He felt his stomach empty. Maybe it's because the clothes are thin. I'm so hungry. If I'd known it would be like this, I would have brought some dried meat. But those guys would probably steal it too. Finally, a burly man emerged from the shadows and blocked his way. Several subordinates followed behind him. The burly man spoke. "You bastard, where did you come from?" Zed remained silent. The burly man continued, not answering. "If you're new, you should act like a newcomer. Otherwise you won't survive here." Zed thought to himself, this guy's lines. He looked at the burly man before him. "Do you have food? I'm starving to death." The group was stunned. This guy asks for food the moment he opens his mouth. "Where did you put the food?" A man walked forward with a sinister smile. "Don't worry, before you starve to death, we'll kill you first." A burly man swung his fist and lunged forward. Zed dodged sharply. The burly man was startled. "This guy is pretty fast." The burly men rushed forward together. One of them roared, "This damn rat!" The burly man leaped toward Zed. Zed blocked and dodged to the side. An elbow strike. He dodged and weaved, each punch landing solidly. One man's jaw shattered. Agonizing screams. Another was sent flying. The rest were all stunned. Zed faced the remaining burly men. He revealed a cold smile. The sound of blows echoed through the alley. Soon, everything fell silent. The burly men lay on the ground moaning. One struggled to say, "This damn bastard?" Zed looked at the burly man at his feet. "My strength has increased. Just a light touch hurts them badly." Zed looked at one person and asked, "Are you okay? Does it hurt?" The burly man shouted in terror, "Damn it, what are you? A madman?" Zed said calmly. "So I'm saying, don't pick fights randomly. Just giving me a piece of bread would have been fine. Thanks to you all, I'm even hungrier now." A burly man roared, "A newcomer dares? You think you'll be fine like this? You absolutely won't survive here. Our organization will kill you without anyone knowing." Zed asked, "Is that so?" He looked down at everyone on the ground. "Then I'll just take over that organization while I'm at it." The burly men were completely dumbfounded. "What? What is this madman saying?" A flash of green light passed. A dagger stabbed straight at Zed. He dodged to the side. Kinjera's lips curved into a smile. He dodged. "This guy isn't simple." Kinjera appeared, holding a dagger. The people on the ground exclaimed, "Squad leader!" Zed looked at the newcomer. "I hit the jackpot on the first day. My plan might be able to be shortened." A man said, "Do you know who this is? This is Lord Kinjera, the legendary assassin who makes Nekka boil." Kinjera grinned sinisterly. "If you want to live, kneel and beg for mercy." Zed was dismissive. "Legendary assassin? A mere beggar squad leader dares to be so arrogant?" Kinjera roared, "This arrogant bastard." He swung his dagger again. Zed easily dodged. Kinjera thought to himself, he actually dodged my attack again. Though young, he seems very talented. If he could survive, he would definitely become strong. What a pity. Zed silently assessed. It's truly an honor to receive a talent evaluation from a world champion. Kinjera intensified his assault. But this attack will be different. Green energy erupted around his body. Zed was surprised. Mana? Kinjera was enveloped in green mana. He can control mana, at least 4 ring or above. Zed thought to himself, I originally thought legendary assassin was nonsense. It seems it's not entirely so. Assassins aren't mainstream combat power. The upper limit of their strength is obvious. But a 4-ring mage below sword saint level also deserves the word legendary. Kinjera laughed smugly. You seem very surprised. He raised his dagger. This is the fate of those who don't know their place and act recklessly. Kinjera laughed wildly. He used mana to create clones. Kinjera looked at Zed. You're not scared? Or are you scared stupid? Kinjera mocked. Let me confirm. 3 Kinjeras attacked Zed from different directions. Zed's heart jolted. Above. No, there are 3 of them. He reacted quickly, ducking down to dodge and blocking attacks. The 3 Kinjeras landed on the ground. They spoke simultaneously. You dodged our coordinated attack. Who are you? Knight or mage? Zed looked at them. Triplets. They're the assassin Kinjera triplets, Zed thought to himself, looking closely. They look very similar, but their mana is each different. They used mana to erase their presence, so I couldn't detect them immediately. With only 5 mana, what use are 100 perception points? Zed rolled his shoulders. It seems I should also bring out my real skills, the Kinjera brothers sneered. This guy is bluffing. You just got lucky and dodged twice. But you can't dodge a 3rd time. Golden lightning erupted from Zed's entire body, using magic lightning transformation. His pupils flickered with golden light. Zed looked at them. Is that so? The Kinjera brothers saw Zed's red pupils and were scared out of their wits. Red pupils. Damn it. Why would an Alarhan be here? It's a trap. Everyone run. Lightning surged around Zed's body. His trait Ruthless Challenger was activated. All attributes temporarily increased by 10 points. His mana value also increased accordingly. New magic unlocked. Lightning transformation and lightning strike. One Kinjera shouted, Scatter! If we stay here, we'll all die. Zed transformed into a bolt of lightning, instantly appearing before one Kinjera. He threw a punch. Kinjera was sent flying and crashed heavily to the ground. Another Kinjera was struck by lightning. He convulsed all over and collapsed. Zed thought, is second-tier magic this powerful? My mana is clearly only 15. Is this the power of lightning transformation? Zed looked at his own hands. He thought to himself, I completely imitated the movements from the game and the magic activated. Not needing to chant is a huge advantage. A shout came from the distance. Over here, everyone come quickly. The lightning on Zed's body dissipated. His heart tightened. Oh no, is it the city guards? The power is good, but the commotion is too big. I need to hurry. He hoisted up an unconscious Kinjera. Zed hid in a dark corner. A team of city guards arrived. A ball of light illuminated the alley. A guard discovered blood traces on the ground. There are blood traces here. He looked at the fallen Kinjera. Could this guy have run away? More guards surrounded them. They looked at this tragic scene. A guard cursed under his breath. In the shadows, a pair of red pupils quietly watched everything. Zed hid in the darkness. He thought to himself, if possible, I originally wanted to quietly resolve this matter. Zed thought, there's no choice. He walked out from the shadows. The guards were immediately alert. Who's there? He pointed at the mess on the ground. Aren't you planning to clean this up? The guards saw his red pupils clearly. It's an heir of Alarhan. They immediately bowed deeply. We apologize for our earlier rudeness, the guard captain explained. We heard an explosion sound while patrolling and are searching for the culprit, a guard asked hesitantly. But you're not young Master Tunda, Zed thought to himself. Tunda should be Arahan's 6th heir, right? Zed answered calmly. I'm the 7th heir, Jed Alarhan. Of course they don't recognize me. I was kept in confinement the whole time. The guards hurriedly apologized. We're truly very sorry. Zed pointed toward the depths of the alley. If you're looking for the explosion culprit, I saw them flee that way. Go chase them quickly. The guards bowed again. Thank you for the clue. We'll chase them right away. They quickly departed. Zed stood alone in the alley, resolved with just a few words. My status in Alarhan City seems to have absolute authority. Not bad. He walked to the unconscious Kinjera's side. He reached out to check the other's breathing. He said, fortunately still alive. The power of lightning strike is stronger than expected. He hoisted Kinjera onto his shoulder. A voice came from the darkness. Heir of Araan, you've finally come. Zed turned to face the source of the voice. Show yourself. The Kinjera brothers knelt on the ground. They lowered their heads. Please forgive our earlier rudeness. We harbored murderous intent toward an heir of Alarhan. We sincerely repent. One Kinjera pleaded, could you show great mercy and spare our brother? They placed their daggers on the ground to show submission. Zed looked at them. One Kinjera said, please spare our brother. This won't happen again. Zed looked at them coldly. An assassin's tears, how interesting. Assassins actually have such deep brotherhood. You take away others' lives yet want to preserve your own brother's life. One Kinjera said, trembling. We only learned assassination to survive. That's right. We only kill those bastards who do terrible things to us commoners like animals. I swear we've never killed innocent people, Zed countered. But you just tried to kill me. Another Kinjera explained. That's because this is our home. Sometimes people want to seize the back alleys. We've had many companions die because of this, so we overreacted. We truly committed a capital offense, Zed thought to himself. In Nekka City, besides the surface forces, there must be many people who want to obtain underground power, Zed asked. Then what you just said is true? You haven't killed innocent people? The Kinjera brothers answered in unison. Yes, we can swear on our brother's life, Zed assessed. If it's true, that's quite admirable. Those kinds of commissions don't earn much money, right? Kinjera said. What we truly want is for our family and brothers to live safely. The master who taught us assassination also always emphasized this point. A gray-haired man taught the young Kinjera brothers. Killing is indeed evil, but for commoners trampled by nobles, the Kinjera brothers are their only hope. Zed proposed a condition. The Kinjera brothers raised their heads. Zed said, take me to see your boss, and then I'll help you heal your brother. The Kinjera brothers were shocked. What? They fell silent. Sorry, that's impossible. We can't betray our companions to save our lives, Zed explained. I want to meet your boss to buy information. I have no intention of harming him. Don't worry, one Kinjera said excitedly. Everyone uses the same words to approach us. But our boss has never sold information even once, Zed said calmly. I know, the Kinjera brothers asked in confusion. You know, Zed continued, even if the deal doesn't work out, I won't harm your companions. I swear in Alarhan's name. One Kinjera refuted him. Zed said, what? Because it's not a knight's oath, you can't believe it? Another Kinjera explained. It's just that people like us find it hard to believe nobles' words. Zed thought to himself, that's fine too. If they accepted immediately, I'd actually doubt their sincerity. There's no choice. Zed extended his hands. Bind me. The Kinjera brothers froze. What? Zed raised both hands. You can hold a knife to my throat, blindfold my eyes. This seems to be the only way to make you believe me. But Zed looked at the person on his shoulder. But if you still don't trust me like this, I won't hand this guy over to you either. I believed your words. You should also show trust. The Kinjera brothers fell silent. One Kinjera finally spoke. Understood. We'll take you to see the boss, then we'll blindfold your eyes. They blindfolded Zed's eyes with cloth and bound his hands. Zed thought to himself, now it's time to meet the king of the back streets. 2 hours later, the group still traveled through the back alleys. Zed thought to himself, I keep feeling we're going in circles. Zed asked, are you looking for the Black Mirror Squad? Zed suddenly stopped. The Kinjera brothers also stopped. Zed spoke. If so, don't waste your effort. Just take me there directly. Do you think the Black Mirror Squad doesn't know your boss's location? Zed continued. You still think the Black Mirror Squad can't completely grasp the scope of your forces? Zed turned toward them. You don't seem to understand Alarhan very well. The Black Mirror Squad I've experienced not only knows your boss's location, but also knows how far the scope of your forces extends. Kinjera fell silent. Zed commanded, so take me to see your boss. One Kinjera asked in surprise. Could the Black Mirror Squad be nearby? Zed answered. I don't know either. One thing is certain. No matter how strong you are, you can't even touch the Black Mirror Squad's boot heels. I'm not looking down on you. It's just that the Black Mirror Squad is an existence of a different dimension. Kinjera fell into silence. Okay, I understand. They continued forward. They came to a door. We've arrived. They removed Zed's hood. One Kinjera shouted into the door. Boss! A man wearing glasses was reading a book. He asked without looking up. What is it? Kinjera pointed at Zed. He says he wants to see you. The man with glasses said, Did you forget the rules? This is Eddie, king of the backstreets. Kinjera said sorry, explaining that he wanted to talk to the boss. Zed thought to himself, so this was the king of the backstreets. Eddie said coldly, Cut the crap and throw him out immediately. Eddie's two men were about to make their move. Zed spoke up, Wait, he pulled out a bottle of glowing liquid. Make him drink this. Kinjera took the bottle. What is this? Zed explained. It's holy water. Hurry and make him drink it. Since you kept your promise, I should keep mine. Zed thought to himself that although it was a bit wasteful, there was no other choice. This was the only way to heal him immediately. Kinjera said gratefully, Thank you. They immediately fed the holy water to their injured brother. Zed looked toward Eddie. I want to make a deal. Eddie closed his book. Don't bother me. Get lost. Zed suddenly snatched Eddie's book. Eddie flew into a rage. You bastard, how dare you? When he saw Zed's face clearly, Alarhan, why would someone from Alarhan be here? Eddie turned to the Kinjera brothers. I trusted you. Is this how you betray me? The Kinjera brothers hastily explained. Betray? Absolutely not. This person promised he wouldn't harm the boss or our companions. Eddie sneered. How many times have we heard that kind of bullshit? Nobles are all bastards. Zed looked at him calmly. Eddie, king of the backstreets. A genius among geniuses. With a photographic memory, Eddie pushed up his glasses. You're young, but you're not Tunda Alarhan. Your face is unfamiliar too. You're Alarhan's abandoned youngest son, the one who was locked up. Eddie pointed at Zed. Zed said, That's right. Quite surprising that you know about me, Eddie continued. So you want to make a deal? But I don't want anything, Zed countered. How would you know without even listening? Eddie scoffed. Noble thoughts are too easy to guess, offering gold coins or clearing commoners' names. Am I wrong? Zed remained silent. Eddie snorted. Just as I thought. Zed thought to himself that Eddie had challenged official positions repeatedly with his exceptional intelligence, but was repeatedly thwarted due to his lowly birth. After that, his personality became twisted. He believed all nobles in the world were stupider than him, just as Zed had seen in the game. Zed spoke. The payment for this deal isn't money, nor is it clearing your name. Eddie waved his hand impatiently. Zed sat down, placing his hands on his legs. What I'm giving you is information. I'll buy information from you with information. Zed's eyes gleamed with red light. Zed sat before Eddie. The payment I'll give you is information. Eddie assessed. You're an interesting person. Trading information for information, that's exactly what I want, Zed said. That's the only thing you want, isn't it? Eddie asked. How do you know? Zed thought to himself that he had no choice but to understand him. Encountering him in the mid-game was like encountering a hidden character. Zed asked, Do you remember everything you've seen once? Eddie answered, I'm smart, but I don't jump to conclusions. Zed looked at the book in Eddie's hands. You seem to like reading books, but there's only this one here. That means you throw books away after finishing them. Eddie chuckled. Good eye. What else did you see? Zed said. You're interested in making deals with me? Eddie asked. Is that so? Zed answered. I can tell from your posture. You turned your body toward me. Eddie froze. Eddie leaned back in his chair. Fine, I'll hear what you have to say. This time investment seems reasonable enough, Zed stated his demand. I want everything about Alarhan, especially information about my brothers, Eddie asked. Because of the internal conflict? Information is both money and sometimes a shield, but you forgot the most important point. What information will you use to trade? Zed answered. Information you don't know, Eddie retorted. I won't know it before I hear it. You know I know most things. Zed said, You tell me about my brothers first. Eddie stood up excitedly. What kind of deal is this? Your information might be worthless, Zed responded calmly. Same for me. When it comes to Alarhan, would I know less than you? Eddie scoffed. Absurd. You came to me because you're scared, aren't you? Zed said. When I came, I did think maybe there was something I didn't know. But if you don't agree to this way of trading, then forget it. Eddie's fingers twitched. Zed thought to himself that the foundation of a deal was understanding the other party's needs. He understood him well, but Eddie knew nothing about him. A weirdo obsessed with information. Should he push him a bit more? Zed stood up. You don't seem interested in the deal. I'll be going then. Zed turned to leave. Eddie watched him silently. Zed thought to himself that even if they didn't trade now, it was fine. Thanks to the Kinjera triplets, he had met him quickly and saved time. Eddie would contact him first. No need to rush, a Kinjera's voice called out. Excuse me, young master. His brothers stood behind him. One Kinjera bowed in gratitude. Thanks to the holy water you gave us, our youngest brother recovered immediately. That didn't seem like ordinary holy water. Thank you very much, he continued. Thank you for keeping your promise. I'm ashamed that I distrusted you just because you're a noble, Jed answered. There are occasionally decent people among nobles. I'm not someone who breaks promises, one Kinjera said excitedly. I've never seen a noble like you. If it were other nobles, they probably wouldn't care about our youngest brother's life or death at all. If I may be so bold, what is your honorable name? Jed answered. Jed Alarhan. The Kinjera brothers bowed deeply. Thank you. I will remember this for the rest of my life, young master Jed. Jed thought to himself that the bonds and loyalty behind them meant they wouldn't betray their companions. Perhaps they were better than he had imagined. Jed looked at Kinjera in the distance. They were still there. Jed asked, You're called Kinjera, right? One Kinjera answered, Yes. That's what people call us. Jed thought to himself that for assassins, fourth ring was quite an achievement. And there were 3 of them. Jed thought to himself that if he made them his people, they would be very helpful in future internal conflicts. Jed looked at the Kinjera brothers. Follow me. The Kinjera brothers were confused. Jed returned to Eddie. Eddie said, You came back. Eddie thought to himself, of course, putting on airs was useless for someone like him. Information about his brothers was his lifeline. Eddie continued, What are you here for? Didn't you just leave pretending not to be interested? Jed sat down. I want to buy the Kinjera triplet assassins. Eddie was shocked. Jed said, I'll pay with information. Eddie raised his hand. No, wait, you came back for those guys, not for information about your brothers. Jed answered, I don't need information about my brothers. No matter how I think about it, I'd be at a disadvantage. Eddie was confused. At a disadvantage? He clenched his fists. Eddie sighed. Eddie spoke. You want to buy the 3 Kinjera brothers, but they're squad leaders in our organization. I'm the boss, Jed answered. I'm prepared to pay any reasonable price, Eddie said. The reasonable price you're thinking of will be much more expensive than you imagine, Jed asked. Then what's your price? Eddie stated his terms. Everything you experienced when you left the confinement center, how did you escape, and what did you do after? I need at least that much. Eddie smiled. Money doesn't matter. If it can satisfy my curiosity, this information is enough. The abandoned youngest son's return is enough to arouse curiosity, but because it would expose a shameful past, you can't easily speak of it either. Jed spoke. Your capacity is smaller than I imagined. Eddie stood up in shock. What? My capacity is small? Jed said. I thought you'd demand something more impressive, Jed said calmly. People live within their own limitations. Eddie flew into a rage. I've had enough. He grabbed Zed's collar. You bastard. You just have good birth, no abilities whatsoever, just good bloodline. Jed looked at Eddie coldly. Eddie continued. If you keep spouting nonsense with that big mouth of yours. Zed's eyes flickered with red light. Eddie saw those eyes and trembled all over. What is that in your eyes? He involuntarily released his hand. The Kinjera brothers rushed forward. Boss, please stop. He's an heir of Alarhan. Eddie cleared his throat. Sorry, I got carried away just now. Eddie said. Then what are your terms, sir? Zed asked. Who is the person in front of you? Eddie answered. An heir of Alarhan. Sir, did I say something wrong? Zed said. That's right, Alarhan. If I were you, I'd think 3 times before using a noble. Now is the time. Eddie was confused. Use? How to use? You mean have me use you? Zed explained. I know your obsession with information, but the information you can obtain from the shadows is limited. There's no helping it. Zed continued. You still don't get it. Eddie said. No, you haven't told me anything, sir. Zed said. Don't stay in the shadows. Come into the light. Zed looked at him. I'll help you. Eddie was shocked. That's impossible. You have no idea what you're saying. Zed proposed terms. I'll provide you with a building in a good location and let you open a detective agency there. Since nobles are the ones moving the world, you must deal with them to obtain more information, right? Eddie retorted excitedly. Don't think I can't rise up because I lack money. I'm a commoner. I can't buy or sell buildings, Zed answered. I'll be the building's owner. Not you. You'll just be a tenant operating a business there. Eddie said. What? Zed continued. I'll also station members of Alarhan's Mahodan to provide security. Are these terms enough? Eddie was stunned. Zed said. I'm inviting you to be a partner. I'll help you do what you want to do, and in return you give me information. How good would it be for us to help each other? Eddie thought to himself. I could get the information I want. And Mahodan members too. Can I really trust this? He asked, stammering. Will you really provide a building and station Mahodan members? Zed answered affirmatively. Really. I never break my word. The Kinjera brothers standing behind him nodded frantically. Eddie's heart surged. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Major events among nobles, beggars' information was mostly insignificant. If Mahodan members were stationed here, this was simply a huge diamond fence. He absolutely couldn't miss it. Eddie extended his hand. All right then, I'll team up with you. Zed grasped his hand. Good, you've thought it through. Zed leaned closer to Eddie. But you know deals have deposits, right? Eddie asked confused. Deposit? Zed stated his demand. Information about my brothers and the Kinjera triplets. Eddie sighed. Zed smiled. That's the deposit you'll pay. Zed rode on his white horse. Finally, the magnificent Alarhan family's grand estate appeared before his eyes. The group slowly approached. Ryu looked at Zed worriedly. Zed, you didn't sleep last night either, did you? Are you all right? Zed said. You should worry about yourself, Ryu. Ryu said with a smile. I'm just too excited. Zed thought to himself that he had spent the whole night memorizing the information Eddie gave him. Each piece was shocking enough. His brother's allied forces in the city, expense records, even servants' personal information. He really didn't know where Eddie had collected all this from. If he gave him wings, he would fly even higher. What remained now was to buy time to grow stronger in Alarhan's territory and survive his brother's internal conflict. Today was crucial. How he handled things today would completely change his situation. Zed said, "Let's go in." Pearl's hooves stepped onto the estate's grounds. A golden obelisk carved with runes stood tall. Guards guarded the golden gates. One guard shouted loudly, "Halt! Dismount and identify yourself." Another guard stopped him. "It's young Master Zed. We received advance notice." Zed dismounted. "I've returned by the family head's order. Lead the way." The guard stopped him. "Wait, the people behind you can't enter," Zed answered. "They're my companions. I vouch for their identities." The guard insisted. "Sorry, without the family head's permission, outsiders cannot enter." Zed thought to himself, damn it. Things got complicated from the very first step. Although there were ways to force entry, breaking the rules on Alarhan's turf didn't seem like a good choice. Lacto stepped forward. Zed said, "Sir, please wait a moment. I'll be right back." Lacto said, "Don't worry about us. Take care of yourself." Lacto continued, "An old man's intuition isn't reliable, but I have a bad feeling about this." Zed answered, "Don't worry. Nothing will happen." Zed turned to the Kinjera brothers. "Kinjera, I'm counting on you," the guard urged. "Let's go, young master. The family head is waiting for you." Zed followed the guard. "Lead the way." He looked at his companions behind him. "I must take responsibility. I need to stay alert." He took a deep breath. "Don't be nervous. I've prepared as much as I could. What moves mages is pragmatism. Focus on that. I may have accidentally entered Alarhan's body, but from now on, I need to act like a true Alarhan to survive. Alarhan's seventh son. A mage who values pragmatism. I must play these roles well to win the family head's favor." The massive doors slowly opened. A voice came from inside. "Enter." The family head sat on his throne. "Youngest son." Zed knelt down in salute. "I greet the family head." He felt his body trembling. "Body, don't tremble." He clenched his fists. The family head spoke. "How does it feel not returning to the family for so long?" Zed answered, "Exactly the same as before." The family head asked, "What do you mean by exactly the same?" Zed raised his head. "Family head, your powerful aura is the same as always. And that bone-chilling cold." The family head laughed loudly. The vibration of his laughter made Zed uncomfortable. Just the vibration of his laughter. "My ears were buzzing and my vision started to blur." The family head's voice echoed in his mind. "It sounds like you can feel your father's aura." Zed thought to himself, how could I possibly fathom an archmage's realm? One of only 2 archmages in the Empire. The one who killed all his brothers and ascended to Alarhan's throne. Zenedin Alarhan. Zenedin said, "You've changed a lot since I last saw you. In my memory, you were a weak child." Zed said, "The word weak doesn't suit Alarhan." Zenedin laughed. "Yes, that's right. My child could never be a waste who can't even sense mana." Zenedin spoke. "I heard you awaken lightning aura." Zed's heart jolted. Zenedin asked, "How much do you know about that power?" Zed answered, "I know it surpasses the existing 4 major attributes." Zenedin said, "In Alarhan's history, there has never been a precedent for obtaining power other than fire. How did you acquire lightning aura?" Zed thought to himself. Interested in lightning aura. I didn't expect that. Alarhan's bloodline possesses infinite possibilities. This isn't strange, Zenedin asked. "Weren't you surprised after obtaining lightning aura?" Zed answered, "I heard it's a power that might appear once in 100 years. Such a blessed power should naturally belong to Alarhan." Zenedin laughed again. "You only say the right things." Zed felt his stomach churning. Every time he laughed, it felt like his internal organs were twisting. "Please stop laughing." Zenedin stopped laughing. "I haven't laughed in a long time. I called you here because of lightning aura. I want you to research and develop it. If you reach a meaningful level, it will be more valuable than any record," Zed thought to himself. So adding this rare power of lightning aura to his arsenal, he wants to use this youngest son who just escaped death. That's fine. If he has plans for me, he won't kill me right away. Zed lowered his head. "I will follow the family head's orders," Zenedin said. "Before that, I must point out your misconduct. I ask you, didn't you know the slave merchant DeVito had ties with our family?" Zed answered, "I knew." Zenedin slammed his fist on the armrest. "Then why did you execute that slave merchant and even use those pests from Bahal?" Zed thought to himself. The madman showed his true colors. "All right, the real game starts now." Zed said, "I didn't do anything harmful to the family. The slave merchant had to be eliminated sooner or later, because they went against the Emperor's goals. I believe in the long run they would damage the family's interests," Zenedin retorted. "Your words contradict themselves. Slave merchants provided massive long-term benefits. They would drain the South's resources." Zed thought to himself, as expected. "Now I need to choose my words carefully to convince the family head." Zed said, "Family head, I believe in pragmatism there is a distinction between improper profits and proper profits." Zenedin questioned. Are you saying profits from slave trading are improper? Zenedin said disdainfully. Absurd. Profit is profit, Zed thought to himself. I'm 15 now, so I act stubborn like a 15-year-old. Zenedin will judge this as a mistake a young person would make, Zed said. Why would a top imperial family accept dirty money, even if it's the same currency? Alarhan should only possess the most brilliant gold coins. Zenedin fell silent. Sophistry, Zenedin said. Fine. No matter how young and foolish you are, you should know Bahal is our sworn enemy, Zed answered. Bahal came by the Emperor's order. Our paths coincidentally overlapped. I didn't accept help, Zenedin roared. You dare deceive me! You received Bahal's invitation and accepted a white horse as a gift, yet you say you didn't accept help? Zed said, family head. I don't understand this situation. He clenched his fists. Zenedin said, what? Zed explained. I was kidnapped, not invited. I displayed Alarhan's pride before the Bahal family head. I brought back spoils from the enemy's heart, not a gift. Why do you scold me instead of praising me? They lost their exclusive property, the white horse, to me. Zed looked at the family head. And an Alarhan riding Bahal's white horse, doesn't that elevate our family's reputation? He must believe it. That 15-year-old Zed genuinely thought this matter was praiseworthy. A voice came from the throne. Son, Zenedin's voice was full of murderous intent. Don't deceive me with your flowery words. Fury burned in his eyes. Zed's whole body went cold. Sweat slid down his forehead. Damn, it didn't work on him, Zenedin warned. If there's a next time you lie, you'll pay the price for those lies. Zed knelt on one knee. Zenedin continued, however. You're not entirely wrong. About deserving praise rather than blame, you have a point. Zed felt confused. He knew I was lying to him, yet let me off. Why? Zenedin said, all right, the conversation ends here. Now let's hear your requests. Zed fell silent. Zenedin asked, what are they? State your wishes. Zed thought to himself that although he was confused, he needed to get something out of this. Zed said, I hope to receive all the operational funds that should have been sent to the small manor previously, and permission for the people I brought to stay within the manor. Lastly, assign me Mahodan members like my other siblings. Zenedin answered, members will be assigned to you, but their management will be entirely your responsibility. Zed said, yes, I understand. Zed thought to himself that Mahodan members were neutral at first, but once assigned to him, his siblings would start interfering. There would be traitors too. I guess that's what their management is your responsibility means. Maintain and protect my people, Zenedin asked. As for the people you brought, you mean that old man, 3 dirty assassins, and those 2 beggar siblings, right? Zed answered, yes. As you know, that old man is Lacto Sherville. I plan to have those 2 siblings be my butler and maid, and use those assassins as messengers. Zenedin interrupted him. Sherville is not allowed in. He's a traitor and should be executed immediately and sent to the Imperial Palace. Zed thought to himself, that's not what he meant. If he really wanted to send him to the palace, he would have already done so. He must be testing me to see how much I actually know. Zed spoke. Family head, I want to ask you something. Was Alarhan involved in the Sherville family's rebellion incident? Zenedin asked, what's your reason for thinking so? Zed answered, I learned that Sherville didn't trade with Alarhan, but specifically with the Martin family. And furthermore, Zenedin laughed. So you're saying I might be bothered by those bug-like bastards? How amusing. Martin became the Matosek's second in command, but he's just a loser, not even worth a fraction of Alarhan's power. Is it necessary to guard against a struggling insect? Zed thought to himself. So this means Alarhan wasn't involved. Thank goodness. It seems I didn't bring Lacto into enemy territory. Zed said, then please take in Lacto Sherville. Zenedin refused. No, an imperial traitor cannot be brought into family lands. Zed said, you must know they were framed, so please clear the Sherville family's name. Zenedin asked back, give me a reason why I should do so. Zed answered, Lacto Sherville is the greatest magic tool craftsman. Alarhan must naturally possess him. If you take him in and clear his name, you'll gain the reputation of saving innocent victims while further strengthening the family's power. Zed thought to himself that he didn't know other details, but Zenedin was probably quite pleased that he found and brought Lacto. This was inevitable. Zenedin said, fine, I'll take him in, but I won't clear his name. Since you brought him, you'll resolve this matter yourself. Zed lowered his head. Yes, I will follow the family head's orders. Zed thought to himself, see? Zenedin didn't directly interfere. Actually, this was better. From now on, I could make Lacto completely mine. This also gave him an excuse to leave the family territory. Zenedin said, you may leave now. Zed answered, yes. Zed turned to leave. Zenedin watched Zed's departing back. A man emerged from behind him. Family head, Mahodan captain, Callus Ruol. Zenedin asked, what do you think of him? Callus answered, the same as you're thinking. He's suspicious, no doubt. On the surface, he looks like a child, but inside it's as if even the eldest prince wasn't that confident. Zenedin said, didn't you see him cunningly trying to deceive me? What a bold fellow. Callus asked, is that why you let him off? I thought you would punish him. Zenedin chuckled. Because that child's eyes were too desperate. Those eyes showed he would do anything to get what he wanted. Zenedin continued, being merely a genius isn't enough. The one who can lead Araan in the future is someone who transcends the realm of genius. I look forward to this child's future actions. I think I need to put him on the same level as his other siblings. I must send the youngest son to the spirit temple. Set an appropriate date. Crows circled above the dilapidated manor. The group walked toward the manor. Ryu exclaimed, cleaning this place will definitely be painful. The white horse let out a light snort. The Kinjera brothers stepped forward. Master, please rest. Leave everything here to us, Zed said. No matter how many times I hear them call me master, I just can't seem to get used to it. Lisa wiped the windows. Ryu and the Kinjara brothers were cleaning. A man approached. Good morning, young master. Zed was clearing weeds. The Mahodan members arrived. 20 of them. Not bad. Zed asked, how long have you been members? One man answered, we all joined recently, within the past 3 months. Zed asked, then you must be a 5th ring mage. The man answered, yes, that's correct. Zed thought to himself that they were all newcomers, which was a bit disappointing, but it made sense. Because all the other members had been poached by his siblings, only newcomers remained. They seemed to be thinking they'd chosen the wrong side. Zed said to them, anyway, I'm glad to meet you all. Let's work well together from now on. The man nodded. Yes, but what are you doing right now? Zed answered, cleaning. The manor is a mess, the man asked. But why is the young master doing it himself? Zed looked at him. I'm cleaning my house. Do you expect me to just sit around doing nothing? The man said, yes, but for work like this you should order your subordinates. Zed thought to himself, speaking of which, this was perfect. Zed said, you all help too. The man was stunned. Us too? Zed said, of course. Don't you belong to this manor now as well? The man hesitated. That's true, but how could we? Zed smiled slightly. So you're saying you can't do what I'm doing? I'm tired of this noble and commoner nonsense. The man quickly said, no, young master, we'll do it right away. He thought to himself, of course we'll do it, you bastard. Zed asked, who here is a water mage? 2 people raised their hands. Zed said, good. You use water to clean the floors. Zed asked again, who's a wind mage? 1 man answered, I can use wind magic. Zed said, then you go outside and blow the dust off the roof. Control your power well, don't break anything. Water spheres condensed in the air. 1 Mahodan member complained, I didn't learn magic to do this. Zed commanded coldly, shut up and get to work. 2 members hastily cast spells. Yes, young master. Water flowed and washed the floors. Soon the manor was completely renewed. Zed assigned rooms to everyone. Ryu and Lisa, you use this one. Elder, you use that one. Lisa shouted excitedly. Brother, our room is amazing. Lacto said with a smile. This is too good for an old man. Ryu asked Zed, is there food? Zed froze. You're right. I was so focused on cleaning that I completely forgot. Ryu said, I searched the entire kitchen. As I expected, there's no food at all. Zed thought to himself. The food we have now is far from enough. What should I do? Who would have thought I'd worrying about food in a noble household? Ryu suggested, let's go to the city. Lisa objected, in that case, what about money? Ryu thought to himself, this was a problem. Everyone must be hungry. Zed thought silently. He asked, the nearest place from here is Tunda's manor, right? A Mahodan member answered, yes, that's correct, but he suddenly realized something. Don't tell me you want to go to young master Tunda's place. Zed asked. Is there a reason I shouldn't go? The member said nervously. Yes, it's best to find another way. An uninvited sibling visiting another sibling's manor is an act of declaring war. Zed smiled. Is that so? Perfect. I was planning to go meet him right away anyway. A man roared, why do you always bring me this kind of garbage? He first flipped the dining table. Plates shattered all over the floor. He continued roaring, these things won't even answer when I'm speaking. I'll kill them right now. 2 servants knelt on the ground trembling. A woman approached. Young master, they are your servants. You must treat them well. Tunda glared at the servants. It's because you're too good to these guys that they're so arrogant. Grace, teach them a lesson. Grace answered. Then, young master, you shouldn't be a picky eater. Your health is also important. If you don't break the habit of always eating only what you like, I'll prepare a healthy menu for you. Tunda said, but I still hate onions. If you bring them to me again, I'll kill those bastards. Grace thought to himself, what a troublesome brat. Has the illusion magic worn off already? I'll have to try a stronger one tonight. A servant rushed over. Miss Grace, we have big trouble. Grace asked. What is it? The servant answered. Outside. Young Master Zed has come. Grace was shocked. What? Coming uninvited in the middle of the night, this is a declaration of war. She immediately ordered. Summon all members immediately. How many people did he bring? The servant stammered. Young Master Zed came alone. Zed rode alone on the white horse Pearl, slowly approaching the manor. Grace asked, Young Master Zed came alone? Alone, are you sure? The servant answered. Yes, he's outside right now. Zed had already walked into the dining room. The servant, Grace, and Tunda were all greatly shocked. Zed looked at the dining table. You're having dinner. Tunda's Mahodan members surrounded him. Zed looked at them. Look at these guys. They saw me yet don't even greet me. A woman stepped forward. Good evening, young Master Zed. By the way, what are you here to do? Zed answered. You must be the butler here. Grace stepped forward. Zed looked at her. Aren't you going to greet me? Zed's eyes gleamed with red light. Grace's heart jolted. Grace thought to herself, how is this guy so confident? He's just a child who doesn't even need to be guarded against. Didn't they take him away after awakening his mana? Grace frowned. Zed asked, so, are you still not going to greet me? Grace fell silent. Grace finally spoke. Welcome, young Master Zed. I am Grace Monet, young Master Tunda's butler. Grace thought to herself. Acting like you're the one in power here must make you quite pleased. Grace felt a pressure. Zed said, you're carelessly releasing your aura. Grace thought to himself, he's no longer the waste I knew. What on earth happened? Not only did he come alone, but with this attitude, he must have something to rely on. Grace saw the badge on Zed's chest. The priest's mark. Tunda roared, look at this guy. Why aren't you greeting your brother? Are you crazy? Do you know where you've crawled to? Zed answered calmly. I have nothing to say. You're just a puppet anyway, aren't you? Tunda froze. What? Puppet? You just spoke disrespectfully to me. Zed asked. Why? Does this bother you? Tunda roared. Of course it bothers me. I'm your brother. Tunda was burning with rage. Fine. Coming here means war anyway. I learned a new spell recently. I should try it on you, and then you'll naturally call me brother. Flames ignited in his hands. Grace stepped forward to stop him. Young master, please stop. Tunda pushed her away. Move aside, Grace. I'm going to teach that rude little brother a lesson. A voice commanded. I told you to stop. Grace grabbed Tunda's wrist. The flames extinguished in her hands. Tunda looked at her in horror. Why did you do that? Didn't you hear him disrespect me? He mocked me, called me a puppet. Grace said, Young master, I'll explain everything later, so please be quiet now. Grace smiled. I apologize for the young master's rudeness, Zed said. At least the butler reacts quickly enough. Grace thought to himself, the priest's guarantee is the emperor's guarantee. If there's a problem with his identity, according to imperial law, an investigator would be dispatched to Alarhan. And if an investigator stepped into family territory, my mana circuits would twist shut. This is why the Alarhan family head so despises the emperor. Grace thought to himself, can't confront him directly. First send him back properly. Grace asked, Young master Zed, what brings you here? Zed said, interesting. A mere butler, you're too presumptuous. Zed answered, my manor has no food right now. I'd like to request some from you. Grace sighed. She said to her subordinates, bring all the remaining meat and bread. Zed mounted his horse. Grace asked, are you finished with your business? Zed answered, that's all for today, but starting tomorrow we'll be meeting more frequently. He waved his hand. Grace gritted her teeth. Damn it. Just you wait, Jed Alarhan. The Mahodan members exclaimed when they saw the food. Zed said, Earth Mage, dig a pit. Fire Mage, start a fire. 2 members answered in unison. Yes, sir. 1 member said excitedly. How long has it been since we had an outdoor barbecue? A huge piece of roasted meat sizzled over the fire. 1 member said, isn't this the first time since joining Alarhan? Another answered, right. Mages prohibit outdoor barbecues. Another member said, come on. Starting fires to roast meat was originally night culture. It's natural for us mages to view it as taboo. They suddenly realized their slip of the tongue. Sorry, we misspoke. Zed asked, do mages really prohibit outdoor barbecues? 1 member explained, yes. Knights consume massive amounts of physical energy, so they eat meat anytime, anywhere. Zed said, so you can't eat this delicious food just because it's night culture? Zed thought to himself, what kind of nonsense is this? I've barely played mage characters. 1 member said, they're natural barbarians. We as noble mages. Zed asked, so you're not eating? The member quickly said, what? No, it's not like that. Zed sat by the fire. You all live too wearily. Eat what you want to eat. Why bother worrying about such things? From now on, don't worry about unspoken rules or taboos here. At least in my manor, I won't care about such things. Zed continued, do what you want to do. As long as you do your job well, I won't hold you responsible for anything. The members were deeply moved. Zed said, looks like it's completely cooked. Let's eat. Everyone cheered. Zed thought to himself, strike while the iron is hot. Since he declared war last night, he needed to push forward now. The next morning, a man was pleading. No, you can't. This building is the only property my late father left me. Zed said to him, I know the deed is in your name, but the actual owner is Tunda. Zed rode on the white horse. The man was surprised. Zed thought to himself that Alarhans usually don't put property in their own names, because even a simple investigation would expose it to other brothers. He was planning to exploit this. A subordinate said to the man, if we keep making the young master wait, we won't escape his wrath. Does this look like a simple property transaction? Zed thought, this isn't just a simple property sale, this is a signal flare declaring a power struggle. The man stammered, I don't have the documents. Zed answered, it's natural that young Master Tunda has the documents. I've prepared for this. Zed pulled out a document. As long as we have a sales contract and notarize it at City Hall, sign here. I'll pay double the building's price and guarantee your safety. But if you don't sign, you'll die here. The man asked trembling, will you really guarantee my safety? Zed said affirmatively, I always keep my promises. I swear in Alarhan's name. The man sighed. He picked up the pen and signed the contract. I've signed. Zed took the contract. Good. From today on, I'm the owner of this building. At NECA's City Hall, an official looked at the contract. This is a sales contract. The building owner's authorization has been confirmed. Zed said, will you process this transaction immediately? Douglas Hooper answered, as long as it's a legal transaction, once the balance is paid, there shouldn't be a problem. Zed exclaimed, what a good system. NECA's mayor, Douglas Hooper, said with a smile. Yes, the deeds too. There were too many theft cases. We needed this dual management system so no one would be wronged. Zed thought. Someone wrong? Would someone really be wrong because of this transaction? The mayor looked at Zed. But young Master Zed is quite unique. Zed asked, in what way? The mayor answered, Alarhan heirs usually don't buy buildings in their own names. Don't you know the reason? Zed said, yes, I know. But that's irrelevant to me. There's no reason to create loopholes by setting up proxies. A commotion came from outside. Let me go. Do you know who I am? Get out of my way. Move aside immediately. Zed thought to himself, the wronged party has arrived. Grace burst in with fury. The mayor roared, Grace, don't you know using mana is prohibited here? Grace retorted, absurd. Isn't the mayor the one breaking the rules? Zed asked. Rules? Grace glared at him. Are you asking because you don't know? That building belongs to young Master Tunda. Do you expect me to stay silent after being stabbed? Zed answered. I don't know what you're talking about. The building's registered owner is Warren Beatty. Grace threatened, you've made a big mistake now. How do you plan to handle the consequences? Do you have the confidence? Zed said. You're the one who's mistaken. What gives you the right to talk so big? Don't you understand the situation? Grace's whole body emanated mana. As young Master Tunda's butler and a mage of the Monet family, I guarantee you'll pay the price for today's actions. Zed chuckled. Now you're even threatening me. Grace glared at him. I'm warning you too. Flames ignited in Zed's eyes. Whether it's revenge or repaying kindness, I'll return it tenfold. Don't forget the Alarhan family's motto. A red aura emanated from his whole body. Cross me and you'll lose everything.